First day of school, the cold female CEO angrily cornered me and threw an adorable little girl at me. Your daughter, hold her yourself. Looking at the little girl who somewhat resembled me, I was instantly dumbfounded. No way. My Barrett is still brand new. Where did I get a daughter from? But what I didn't know was, this adorable little girl really was my daughter, and she had time traveled from the future. This story has to start from a few days ago. A little girl suddenly skipped into the lobby of the Shen group, hugged Chen Mengxi's leg and called out, "Mommy." Everyone present was stunned. That little girl actually called CEO Shen mommy. CEO Shen is the eldest daughter of the Shen family in Haicheng. More importantly, 365 days a year, CEO Shen never takes a day off. Yet she has a child. Chen Mengxi quickly came to her senses. She gently pulled the little girl away and squatted down. The cold aura around her instantly became gentle. She smiled and asked softly, "Little girl, you can't just call anyone mommy. If you miss your mommy, how about I have this big sister take you to find her?" As soon as these words were spoken, the assistant behind her widened her eyes. No way. Where did my Ice Queen CEO go? The little girl tilted her head, her voice soft. "Mommy. Why won't you let Nai Nai call you mommy?" As she finished speaking, Nai Nai's small, fair face was full of confusion. She didn't understand why mommy wouldn't let her call her mommy. Doesn't mommy want Nai Nai anymore? Thinking of this, the little girl pouted, feeling extremely wronged. Seeing this, Chen Mengxi felt a little flustered. But for some reason, seeing the little girl in front of her looking so wronged, her own heart ached as well. This feeling was very strange. But one thing was certain. She absolutely couldn't have a child, because in her 26 years of life, she had never been in love. Although she knew plenty of rich young masters, she looked down on all of them. However, this little girl in front of her really looked like her younger self, as if they were cast from the same mold. Moreover, from the very first glance at this little girl, she felt a magical connection in her heart. "Mommy, is it because you don't want Nai Nai anymore?" Nai Nai saw that Chen Mengxi was silent. Her eyes reddened as she looked at her, looking pitiful. It was incredibly heart-wrenching. Seeing the little girl's pitiful appearance, Chen Mengxi's heart tightened. She unconsciously started to coax her. "Nai Nai, I am really not your mother." Before she could finish, Nai Nai let out a wail and burst into tears. "Mommy doesn't want Nai Nai. Nai Nai has to find Daddy, so Daddy can spank Mommy at night." When Chen Mengxi heard this, she let out a small laugh. She was about to say something else, but her assistant spoke up. "CEO Shen, the speech at Haicheng University is starting in half an hour. If we don't leave now, we might be late." Hearing this, Chen Mengxi sighed softly. She stood up, looked at the 4 receptionists, and ordered coldly, "Watch Nai Nai. If her parents don't come soon, then call the police." After giving her instructions, Chen Mengxi glanced at Nai Nai, who was still crying loudly, feeling uneasy. But she didn't stop and instead strode outside. When Nai Nai saw her mommy leaving, her crying immediately softened. She turned her head slightly, her tear-filled eyes watching her mother's back. She sniffled, her small face filled with grievance. Chen Mengxi felt the gaze from behind her. Her heart felt inexplicably uncomfortable. Just as she was about to step out the main door, she suddenly stopped. Under her assistant's puzzled gaze, she turned around. She strode towards Nai Nai, and at the same time, called out gently, "Nai Nai, come to mommy." The moment the words left her mouth, everyone around was stunned. They looked at Chen Mengxi in disbelief. At that moment, Chen Mengxi was also stunned. The words had slipped out almost reflexively, without any thought. But she didn't offer any explanation. Hearing her words, Nai Nai wiped away her tears and ran quickly towards Chen Mengxi. Chen Mengxi bent down and picked Nai Nai up, looking at the pitiful girl in her arms. A smile appeared on her face. As if possessed, she pinched the little girl's cheek. Nai Nai pouted, let out a soft huff, and turned her head to the side. "I am angry now. You'd better coax me." Look was very cute. Chen Mengxi's eyes crinkled into a smile. She extended a slender finger to tickle the little girl's chin. Nai Nai shrank back, pouting and burying her head in her neck. Chen Mengxi didn't feel any aversion at all. On the contrary, she quite enjoyed being close to this little girl. This made even herself feel it was unbelievable. Chen Mengxi carried Nai Nai and got into the back seat. Her assistant closed the car door for her, then sat in the passenger seat. In the car, Chen Mengxi reached out to wipe the tears from Nai Nai's face and asked gently, "Nai Nai, why did you come looking for mommy all by yourself? Where's Daddy?" Nai Nai shook her head, her voice childlike. "Nai Nai doesn't know either. I just walked out the door and I was here." Hearing this, Chen Mengxi fell silent. She looked up at the assistant in the passenger seat. The assistant only felt a chill run down her spine. She quickly handed over a tablet and said, "CEO Shen, we just checked the security footage. This child seems to have appeared out of thin air." Chen Mengxi took the tablet. She quickly watched the entire footage of Nai Nai's appearance. Just as the assistant said, Nai Nai seemed to appear out of thin air. 1 second later, she was in the lobby. The 2 words, time travel, appeared in her mind. Thinking about it, it seemed too unrealistic. But the natural feeling of closeness she felt when she first met Nai Nai couldn't be fake. This made her frown. But before she could speak, Nai Nai raised her small, chubby hand to smooth her frowning brow. Chen Mengxi looked at the little girl in front of her, momentarily dazed. She didn't say anything for a moment. Nai Nai also looked at her mother. Seeing no reaction, she tilted her head with a puzzled expression. Why isn't mommy kissing Nai Nai? When daddy did this before, mommy would always hug daddy and kiss him nonstop. With that, she actively planted a kiss on Chen Mengxi's cheek. The assistant in the front seat heard this and covered her mouth to stifle a laugh. Who knew CEO Shen had such a feminine side? Wait a minute, what if CEO Shen decides to silence me permanently? Thinking of this, she couldn't help but shiver. She wished she could be deaf right at this moment. At this moment, Chen Mengxi was also extremely shocked that she could have such an infatuated side. Almost immediately, she extinguished this thought. Clearly, she didn't believe it. After all, she didn't place much importance on family affection. One could even say she was indifferent. She believed that, even if she had a child and a husband, she wouldn't change. Although she thought this, she couldn't help but be curious about the daddy in Nai's words. Clearing the chaotic thoughts in her mind, she gave an order. Investigate if Nai is someone's illegitimate child. Compared to time travel, she was more inclined to believe Nai was someone else's illegitimate child. But looking at the little girl in her arms, she inexplicably didn't want to believe that Nai was someone else's illegitimate child. After a moment's thought, she gave another order, to the hospital first. Just as the assistant was confused, Chen Mengxi's voice sounded again. Assistant Chen notified Dr. Zhang to arrange for a DNA test, postpone the Haicheng University event by 15 minutes. Hearing this, Assistant Chen's eyes widened. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. Before she could react, Chen Mengxi looked up and asked, HM, do I need to repeat myself? Hearing this, Assistant Chen suddenly snapped out of it and shook her head. No need. CEO Shen, he'll arrange it right away. Chen Mengxi nodded slightly, then looked at the little girl in her arms and asked gently, Nai, what's your full name? And how old are you this year? Mu Xiao Na, Mu, as in Mu Xiao Na, Xiao, as in Mu Xiao Na, and Nei, as in Mu Xiao Na Nai. Nai replied with a smile. At the same time, she held up 6 fingers. Nai is 4 years old this year. Chen Mengxi chuckled softly. Her eyes filled with adoration. She reached out to touch the little girl's forehead and said, So, does Nai know her parents' names? Of course Nai knows. Dad's name is Mu Xie. Mommy's name is Chen Mengxi. When she mentioned her parents, Nai's face was full of reliance and joy. It was enough to see how much her parents doted on this little princess, which made a hint of envy flash in Chen Mengxi's eyes. This was something she had never felt before, but almost immediately, the envious emotion was buried deep in her eyes. Mu.ca. Chen Mengxi whispered softly. She felt like she had heard this name somewhere before, but she couldn't recall it at the moment. But she was sure that she didn't know this man. She looked at Assistant Chen and ordered, Assistant Chen, go investigate a man named Mu Xie, probably in his 20 seconds. Send their photos to my phone. Yes, CEO Shen. Assistant Chen quickly replied. Chen Mengxi really wanted to know what kind of man could conquer her. Thinking of this, she suddenly remembered what Nai had said earlier. That man would spank her. Could he be a domestic abuser? No way. No matter how bad her judgment of character was, she would never fall for a domestic abuser. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but swallow. Mommy, when are we going to find Daddy? Nai rubbed her forehead against Chen Mengxi's cheek. Her voice was soft. She smiled and nodded, but didn't answer right away. After a moment's thought, she said, Mommy can take you to find Daddy, but Mommy has a few questions for Nai. Nai absolutely must not lie. Okay? As soon as Nai heard this, she nodded her head like a chicken pecking at rice. Chen Mengxi cleared her throat softly. Her voice carried a tension that even she didn't notice. Nai, does Daddy often spank Mommy? Asking this question, her heart also tensed up for no reason. Without thinking, Nai nodded her head adorably and said in a childish voice, Daddy spanks Mommy every night. He spanks Mommy until she screams. Sometimes Mommy even leaves Nai with Grandma and Grandpa just to find Daddy to get spanked. Before the little girl could finish, Chen Mengxi had already covered her mouth. At the same time, she finally understood why. It was spanking at night and couldn't help but blush. At this moment, Assistant Chen in the front seat suddenly raised the partition. The next second, the partition was lowered a little, and a voice sounded at the same time, CEO Shen, we didn't hear anything. With that, the partition was quickly raised again. Chen Mengxi coughed dryly, a little flustered. She quickly changed the subject. Nai, do Mommy and Daddy get along well? Mommy and Daddy get along very well. It's just that they argue a little sometimes. But Mommy always makes Daddy kneel on the washboard, just like Grandma. Except Grandma makes Grandpa kneel on the washboard. Hearing this, Chen Mengxi burst out laughing. It seems I still have a high status in the family. For some reason, she really wanted to meet her future husband now. Even she herself didn't realize that subconsciously, she seemed to have quietly accepted the fact that Nai was her future daughter. Not long after, The car slowly stopped at the hospital gate. The three of them had just entered the hospital and were heading towards the DNA testing center. A moment later, Chen Mengzai and the others arrived at the DNA testing center. Dr. Zhang happened to have everything prepared. When he saw Chen Mengxi holding a little girl, he was stunned. Before he could speak, Chen Mengxi spoke first. Dr. Zhang, please help me and this little girl with a DNA test. Rush it. I want the results this afternoon. Dr. Zhang blinked, then suddenly reacted. He nodded and replied, Okay. Chen Mengxi didn't stay long. She turned and left, getting in the car to head straight to Haicheng University. At the same time, in the auditorium of Haicheng University, Yang Wei put his arm around my shoulder and said excitedly, Musier, let me tell you some good news. I heard that for this freshman orientation speech, the school invited the CEO of the Shen Group to attend. I said distractedly, What's so great about the CEO of the Shen Group? Yang Wei shot me a look and said, You really don't pay attention to the outside world. It's normal that you don't know. Let me tell you, the Shen family is the top wealthy family in Haicheng. Most importantly, this Chen Mengzi is drop-dead gorgeous. She's a famous beauty in Haicheng, and she's only 26. Come on. How many beauties are there online? Drop-dead gorgeous? How many of them are real? This one is probably fake too. It's good enough if she's not ugly. If she's really as drop-dead gorgeous as you say, then I grew up huffing gas. Yang Wei pouted. He decided not to argue about this anymore. He took a letter out of his pocket and gave it to me, while giving me a sly smile. I looked at the letter Yang Wei handed me. My face showed surprise. I clenched my butt cheeks. I quietly scooted to the side, pulling up my zipper along the way, and said persuasively, Yang Wei, although I am very charming, it's impossible between us. Hearing this, Yang Wei was stunned. No way, big bro. What are you thinking? This is from our class, President Jiang Ying. She asked me to give it to you. Hearing these words, I let out a sigh of relief and cursed, Damn you. If you're giving me a letter, just give it. Why are you giving me that sly smile? Do you know how scary that is? With that, I snatched the letter and without looking, crumpled it into a ball and stuffed it into my pocket. Yang Wei was speechless. Seeing my actions, his eyes filled with confusion. He spoke up. Mu Kei, you're in university now. Are you still not planning to find a girlfriend? Why? Such a beautiful class president, and you're not moved at all? I was about to say something when the auditorium suddenly erupted in a commotion. I saw a stunningly beautiful woman carrying a little girl standing at the door. If I could marry her, even if you made me live in a mansion and drive a luxury car, I would be willing. Hearing this, Yang Wei shot me an annoyed look and said, Hey, so you just don't want to suffer at all, right? I chuckled softly. I averted my gaze and said, Just kidding. It's fine to just think about it. Just then, my phone vibrated twice. I looked down. It was a message from Jiang Ying, asking me to meet her outside. I sighed softly. I stood up, preparing to sneak out. Yang Wei beside me saw this and asked curiously, Where are you going? To cut off a rotten peach blossom, I replied casually. Just as I was stealthily preparing to slip out the back door, a pair of eyes caught my figure. Mommy, that's Daddy. Nai said, looking at my back. She shouted loudly. Chen Mengxi had just finished greeting the school leaders and was about to leave. Hearing this, she immediately looked in the direction Nai was pointing and saw a handsome back disappear through the back door. She gave a signal with her eyes to the assistant beside her, then quickly left the auditorium. Nai, you didn't see wrong, did you? Chen Mengxi carried Nai and chased after him. Nai's face was full of confidence. That's Daddy. Nai didn't see wrong. Chen Mengxi looked at assistant Chen beside her. Immediately have someone investigate. The person named Mu Xie at University A. Send me a photo immediately. Assistant Chen nodded in acknowledgement, then took out her phone to send someone to investigate. At this time, I had no idea someone was following me. Following Jiang Ying's message, I went into the cherry blossom grove. From a distance, I saw Jiang Ying wearing a white JK uniform. She had light makeup on and was very beautiful. But unfortunately, in my heart, there wasn't the slightest ripple. I was about to politely refuse her when Jiang Ying spoke first. Mu Kei, I like you. I've liked you since high school. At this moment, Chen Mengxi, carrying Nai, had just arrived and happened to hear Jiang Ying's words. For some reason, a strange feeling welled up in her heart. Her delicate eyebrows furrowed unconsciously. Nai looked at her daddy in the distance. Then she looked at the mommy holding her. The 4-year-old girl didn't know how to read expressions yet, but she could feel that mommy was very angry. Although she didn't know why, it must be daddy's fault. After a moment's thought, she said in a clear voice, Mommy, don't be angry. Tonight, well, make daddy kneel on the washboard. As for me, a chill suddenly ran down my spine for no reason. I felt a vague sense of unease. But I didn't pay it too much mind. Gathering my thoughts, I was about to refuse her. But Jiang Ying seemed to have realized something. She gave me no chance to speak at all. She turned and quickly left. I sighed, and also turned to leave. The corner of Chen Mengzi's mouth curved into a cold smile. She carried Nai Nai and strode out of the school. After just a few steps, she suddenly realized, am I Nai Nai's mother, or not, is still unknown. What am I being jealous for? Although she thought this, her heart still felt inexplicably uncomfortable. It felt like her favorite toy was being stolen by someone else. Mommy, aren't we going to find Daddy? Nai Nai watched her daddy walk in another direction and couldn't help but ask. Chen Mengxi dotingly pinched Nai Nai's little nose. Be a good girl. Nai Nai, how about we go find Daddy tonight? Nai Nai nodded without hesitation. At this moment, Assistant Chen handed over a phone. CEO Shen, there's only one student named Mu.ca at University A. He's still a freshman. He's also the top scorer of the college entrance exam in High City. Chen Mengxi took the phone. On it was a picture of me playing basketball. The young man in the photo had deep-set features, sword-like brows and star-like eyes. Very handsome. It's just that he looked a bit dorky, especially those eyes. They were filled with the innocent brightness of a university student. This made her lips curl unconsciously. She held the phone in front of Nai Nai and asked, Nai Nai, is this a picture of your daddy? Nai Nai happily nodded her little head. She recognized him at a glance. The man in the photo was her daddy. The corners of Chen Mengzi's mouth lifted slightly. No wonder this photo was a candid shot. It seems this young man is quite charming. Go investigate. I want all of his information. Not long after, Chen Mengxi brought Nai Nai back to her Seaview penthouse apartment. Little Nai Nai took off her shoes and socks and walked barefoot on the floor. She familiarly ran into the kitchen, took a carton of yogurt from the fridge, and then pattered out to the living room, turned on the TV, and sat on the sofa. A series of fluid movements, not at all restrained, just like it was her own home. Chen Mengzi stood in the entryway, blinking her eyes. Now she was convinced that this little girl was her daughter. She smiled, looking at the little girl in the living room. For some reason, her heart was filled with satisfaction. She went to the kitchen and cooked a large bowl of noodles, adding a little sesame oil, and then brought it out. Nai Nai, time to eat. Hearing her, Nai Nai ran to the dining room and obediently sat down on a chair. Chen Mengxi looked at the cute little girl in front of her. The smile on her face deepened a few shades. She took a bowl, served some noodles, and placed it in front of Nai Nai. Little Nai Nai looked at the bowl of noodles in front of her. The smile on her face also faltered. She pushed the bowl towards her mother. Mommy, you eat. Nai Nai's not hungry, but her little tummy growled inopportunely. The atmosphere was a bit awkward. Nai Nai giggled. She picked up the spoon next to her, ate a bite of noodles, and swallowed with difficulty. She didn't forget to praise, Mommy's noodles are delicious. Chen Mengxi heard Nai Nai's insincere compliment and smiled helplessly. Her cooking skills were average, but they couldn't be that hard to swallow, right? However, she only took one bite. The next second, the bowl of noodles was in the trash can. Very clearly, she had overestimated her own cooking skills. She had to text Assistant Chen, telling her to bring 2 meals over. She couldn't let the little girl go hungry. Not long after, Assistant Chen brought 2 meals. Nai Nai was probably very hungry. She ate in big mouthfuls. Her cheeks puffed up, stuffed with food. Chen Mengzi's heart ached a little. Yet she also found it amusing. Assistant Chen held a tablet and reported, CEO Shen, this is all the information on Mr. Mu. Chen Mengxi looked at the tablet. Mu CA, 18 years old. Father, Murong Hao. Mother, Fu Yanji. Sister, Mu Yulu. Seeing Fu Yanji's photo, she was stunned. Fu Yanji, she knew her. She was very familiar with her, because she was her homeroom teacher for all 3 years of high school. No wonder the name Muka sounded so familiar. Wait a minute. In other words, in the future, I am going to marry my teacher's son? Reaching this conclusion, she felt a little dizzy. She vaguely remembered back in 11th grade, because of some matter, she seemed to have even babysat her teacher's son for a day. Just as she was in a daze, Nai Nai pointed at the photo on the tablet and said happily, Mommy, that's a picture of Grandma and Grandpa. But Grandma and Grandpa look so young in the photo. Chen Mengxi smiled and patted the little girl's head. Good girl. Nai Nai, after a while, Daddy and Mommy will take Nai Nai to visit Grandma and Grandpa. Okay? Just then, the phone received a message. Assistant Chen looked at the tablet and suddenly said, CEO Shen, the DNA test results are in. Chen Mengxi took it and glanced over it. It clearly stated a maternal relationship. 99.99%. She wasn't surprised by this at all. On the contrary, she felt a little happy. In the future, I could give birth to such an adorable little girl. Right after that, she looked at Assistant Chen beside her and instructed, don't let them spread rumors at the company. Yes, CEO Shen. Oh, right. CEO Shen's meeting this afternoon. Before she could finish, Chen Mengxi cut her off. Postpone it. Reschedule. Without a second thought, Assistant Chen nodded in agreement. At this moment, Nai Nai patted her full belly. Mommy, I am full. When are we going to find Daddy? Chen Mengxi immediately fell silent, a hesitant look on her face. This was truly a bit awkward. If it were any other man, she probably wouldn't have so many reservations. But Musie was her teacher's son, and he was only 18 now. Most importantly, she had even held him when he was a child. She even saw him when he was naked. How was she supposed to bring this up? Could she just go straight to his house and say, "I am your future wife, and you're my husband. This is your daughter"? It was too embarrassing. Anyway, she couldn't bring herself to say it. "Mommy." Little Nai Nai planted a kiss on her cheek, her sweet voice wheedling. Chen Mengzi looked at Nai Nai's big, round, pitiful eyes, and her heart softened. She nodded in agreement. "Okay. Well, go find Daddy right now." Hearing this, Nai Nai clapped her hands excitedly, her face full of anticipation. The three of them quickly drove to an apartment complex not far from Haicheng University. They found Building 6, Unit 2. Took the elevator to the 6th floor. Room 606. Standing in front of the door, Chen Mengzi suddenly felt shy. But before she could react, Nai Nai had already raised her hand and knocked. At the same time, she shouted loudly, "Daddy." Chen Mengzi smiled and shook her head. She had to face it eventually. After all, he was Nai Nai's future father. With my hair a bird's nest and my eyes half open, I opened the door. A flash of disgust appeared in Chen Mengzi's eyes, but she still quickly sized me up. She had to admit, this young man was quite handsome. He was even more handsome in person than in the photo. Little Nai Nai saw me and immediately stretched out her arms, calling sweetly, "Daddy." I rubbed my eyes. I couldn't help but widen them. The CEO of the Shen Group, Chen Mengzi. I blinked, my face full of astonishment, but I quickly reacted, muttering a sentence. This must be a dream. How could the CEO of the Shen Group possibly appear at my doorstep? It'd better go back to sleep for a bit. After saying that, without giving them a chance to react, I slammed the door shut with a bang. Chen Mengzi looked at the closed door, a little angry. This young man looked so dazed. How on earth did he manage to trick me, and even made me willingly bear him a daughter? Fine. 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 She gritted her teeth. As a CEO, no one had ever dared to shut the door on her. Chen Mengzi handed Nai Nai to Assistant Chen. "Nai Nai, Mommy has to talk to Daddy alone in a bit. Nai Nai must not eavesdrop, okay?" Nai Nai immediately covered her ears and replied loudly, "Mommy, Nai will absolutely not eavesdrop." Chen Mengzi smiled. She warmed up a little. She had learned Sanda and Muay Thai. Kicking open a door was still very simple. The next second, she lifted her leg and kicked. After a loud bang, the door fell down. I heard the commotion. I abruptly turned around, only to see my door had been kicked down by this woman. Chen Mengzi retracted her leg. She dusted off the non-existent dirt on her body, and then looked at me as if I were trash. I met her gaze, which was like she was looking at trash, but I actually felt a little thrilled. Why is that? Is it? When did I become such a pervert? No. Is this really the time to be thinking about this? Of course not. My door. I screamed with a horrified expression. Chen Mengzi paid it no mind and strode right in. Assistant Chen beside her quickly turned and scurried in after her. Seeing her walk in, I backed away a few steps and stammered, "Hey, what do you think you're doing? This is illegal trespassing. Watch out, or I'll call the police." Chen Mengzi looked unconcerned, glancing at me coldly. Seeing she wasn't scared at all, I snorted softly. Raise a dog for 1,000 days to use it for one moment. "Neilong, get her." Hearing the command, Neilong immediately bared his teeth at Chen Mengzi. Before I could even feel proud, Chen Mengzi just indifferently glanced at the silly dog beside me. Neilong was immediately startled, like a mouse seeing a cat. He tucked his tail between his legs and cowered in the corner. I looked at Neilong cowering in the corner. I lifted my foot and kicked his butt, scolding, "You useless fatso." Right after that, I looked at Chen Mengzi. Before I could speak, Chen Mengzi spoke first. "Can we talk properly now?" I looked at the door lying on the ground and fell silent, but very quickly, my survival instinct took over my brain. I nodded my head repeatedly, afraid I'd be too late. Seeing this, Chen Mengzi gave a sweet smile. She walked straight to the living room sofa and sat down. Assistant Chen, holding Nai Nai, sat down beside her. Seeing me still standing there dumbfounded, she raised an eyebrow. Her tone was calm. "Are you planning to stand there and talk to me?" Hearing that, I gave a forced laugh and stiffly walked over and sat down on the adjacent sofa. Seeing this, Chen Mengzi averted her gaze. At the same time, she glanced at the silly dog cowering in the corner. Neilong sensed her gaze and lowered his head a bit more. With his tail between his legs, he tiptoed out to the balcony. He went into his cage and even closed the door. Chen Mengzi looked at Nai Nai, who was being held by Assistant Chen. A gentle smile immediately appeared on her face as she said, "Nai Nai, go on and greet him, sweetie." Seeing this side of Chen Mengzi, I couldn't help but widen my eyes. No way. This woman changes her attitude way too fast. If I were to marry her, wouldn't she lecture me like a son? Before I could think too much, Nai Nai took her hands off her ears. She looked at me and called out sweetly, "Daddy." I blinked my eyes. I looked at the little girl beside her, then pointed to myself and explained with a smile, "Little one, I think you've made a mistake. How could I be your dad?" Although I said that, I felt very happy inside. even fulfilled. I had an urge to hug this little girl. Hearing this, Nainai's face filled with grievance as she looked at Chen Mengzi. She said in a sad voice, "Mommy, does Daddy not want Nainai anymore?" She remembers Daddy wasn't like this. Daddy used to love Nainai a lot. Does he not want Nainai now? Seeing Nainai was about to cry, Chen Mengzi immediately felt her heart ache. She cupped the little girl's face and comforted her with a smile. How could that be? Nainai is so adorable. How could Daddy not want you? Daddy is just playing a game with you. Really? Nainai looked doubtful. Chen Mengzi nodded very seriously. Of course it's true. But seeing the little girl like that from the side, I suddenly felt a discomfort in my heart. This feeling was so hard to understand. For a moment, it made me a little flustered. Chen Mengzi gently tapped the little girl's nose. Right after, she looked up at me. I met her gaze, and just felt a chill run down my spine. It seemed like there was an aura of killing intent surrounding me. This made me feel like I was on pins and needles. What are you doing? This is a society governed by law. Do you think that just because you're rich, you can bully an honest person? Chen Mengzi rested her chin on her hand. She had the urge to punch her husband to death. She took a deep breath, telling herself she couldn't do it. He's my future husband. Endure. 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 Suppressing the anger in her heart, she exhaled and said, Nainai is our daughter from the future. I know you might not believe it, but this is the truth. With that, she took out her phone and opened a save video. She placed it in front of me. The video showed Nainai suddenly appearing in my company's lobby this morning. I saw Nainai suddenly appear in the Shen Group's lobby. My face showed utter astonishment, but I quickly reacted. What if this video is edited? Before I could say it, Chen Mengshi had already guessed my thoughts. She glanced at her assistant. Assistant Chen understood. She quickly took 2 documents out of her bag and placed them on the table. One of them was a DNA test report. The other was a health checkup report. She continued speaking. The security footage is real. I have no reason to lie to you. This is the DNA test report for me and Nainai, and here is my health checkup report from last month. I've never had sexual intercourse, nor is there any record of childbirth. I reacted very quickly. Although my family has some money, it's nothing compared to the Shen family. This woman in front of me really had no reason to lie to me. So, this little girl in front of me is really my daughter. To be precise, she must be my future daughter. Seeing I was silent, Chen Mengshi thought I didn't believe her. So she continued, if you don't believe me, you can go get a DNA test. If you don't want to accept her, I can raise my child on my own. Before she finished, I cut her off with a serious tone, who said I don't want her. She is my daughter. After saying that, I looked at the little girl. I cleared my throat and said gently, Nainai, come here. Hearing this, Nainai jumped off the sofa and rushed straight into my arms, her eyes filled with a smile. I hugged her tightly. Looking at the little girl in my arms, my heart melted. Bad daddy. I want a kiss. Before I could say anything, Nainai pouted coquettishly. Without thinking, I gave her a peck on the cheek. How should I put it? This feeling is so strange. I woke up from a nap, and suddenly, I am a father. Shen Mengxi watched the father and daughter interact. A little unhappiness rose in her heart. Realizing this unhappiness, she herself was startled. She shook her head and said, we should still go to the hospital and get a DNA test first. After saying that, she thought for a moment and added, don't worry, you don't have to pay for the test. Hearing that, I snorted softly and said with an arrogant look, no need. I've got money. As I spoke, I took out my phone. I opened a payment app. The balance clearly showed 20.9 yuan, but the next second, a message popped up. Dear Sloppy Dog, your Penguin Music package has expired. It has been automatically renewed for you. 14.9 yuan has been deducted from your balance. Seeing this message, I just felt like my world was collapsing. The semester just started, and all my money is gone already. At this moment, Assistant Chen beside me spoke up to remind me, Sir, the cost of a DNA test is at least 2,000 to 2,500 yuan. The balance on your phone doesn't seem to be enough. I was stunned for a long moment. Then I quietly called my mom. A little embarrassed, I stood up and went out to the balcony. The call connected quickly. Before my mom could speak, I spoke first. Mom. You little brat, are you a money-swallowing beast? Fu Yanji's voice on. The other end was quite annoyed. But I didn't mind at all. I said indifferently. Well then, get ready to be a grandma. As soon as I said that, the other end of the line went silent for a moment. I then handed the phone to Nainai. Nainai happily took the phone and called out sweetly, Grandma. Fu Yanji was just about to start scolding. When she heard the sweet voice of a child, she rolled her eyes. She said annoyedly, don't pull these stupid tricks on me. Go play somewhere else. Regarding what I said, Fu Yanji clearly didn't believe me and hung up immediately, but she still transferred 2,000 yuan to me. When it came to her son, she understood him well. Although he was a bit of a spendthrift, it was just for buying games, sneakers, and things like that. She didn't mind too much. She just asked out of habit. She didn't believe this little brat would dare to bring her a grandson or granddaughter. Daddy. Grandma hung up. Nainai looked at the disconnected phone, then looked at her dad and said, As soon as she finished, the WeChat red envelope notification suddenly sounded. I smiled and gently pinched her nose, praising, "Nainai is such a good girl." As I spoke, I took the phone, put Nainai down, and said, "Nainai, go play with mommy for a bit first. Daddy will make you some delicious food later. Okay?" Hearing she would get to eat food made by her dad, Nainai happily nodded. She gave me a peck on the cheek and said cheerfully, "Okay." After saying that, the little girl ran into the living room. She threw herself into Chen Mengxi's arms. As for me, I didn't rush out. Instead, I called my old man. This time, the phone rang for a long time. Just as it was about to disconnect, someone finally picked up. I spoke in a very reasonable tone. "Old man, cough up some money. You little brat, aren't the family's finances all in your mother's hands? You're asking me for money?" Murong Hao said irritably. "All right then ill just have to tell mom that you've been secretly hiding a slush fund." Before I could finish, Murong Hao cut me off with a laugh. "My good son, we're not strangers. We can negotiate anything. How much do you need?" When he said those last few words, his voice was filled with the sound of grinding teeth. I didn't mind at all and said with a smile, 2,000. 2,000. You brat. Are you crazy? Your mom only gives me 200 yuan a week for allowance. Am I supposed to give you my life? Before he could continue, I cut him off. If mom finds out that dad steals my New Year's money every year, my good son, 2,000 is too little. It should be 2,500. You're in university now. You have to treat yourself a little better. Spend what you need to spend. Don't save money for this old man. With that, he hung up immediately, reluctantly transferring 2,500 to his unfilial son. A few minutes later, the WeChat notification sounded again. Only then did I satisfyingly accept it. In less than 10 minutes, I had made 4,000 yuan. In the living room, Chen Mengzi looked at my back. Her expression was indescribable. The balcony wasn't very soundproof, and Nainai didn't close the door when she went out, so she had heard the conversation between the father and son very clearly. I walked into the living room. I waved the phone in my hand and said with a smile, "Let's go." Chen Mengxi frowned slightly. She looked me up and down and said, "You're planning to go out dressed like that?" I scratched my messy, nest-like hair. I looked down at my clothes and gave an embarrassed laugh. "Wait for me for 15 minutes. With that, I ran straight to my bedroom. I started to get ready. Chen Mengxi held her forehead and instructed Assistant Chen beside her, "Contact someone to come and reinstall the door." Assistant Chen nodded in response. "Yes, CEO Shen. I'll arrange it right away." After that, Chen Mengxi began to observe this small apartment. Although the apartment was small, it was very cozy. Compared to her high-end apartment, it felt more like a home. Looking around, her eyes caught sight of a local dog in the cage. Recalling its cowardly appearance from earlier, she couldn't help but chuckle. Nainai also saw Nailong in the cage. She asked with a confused expression, "Mommy, why is Naiduan so dirty?" As she spoke, her little hand pointed at Nailong in the cage. Chen Mengxi immediately guessed. Naiduan was the dog Nainai raised, so she smiled and explained, "Silly girl, that's not Naiduan. That's Naiduan's mother." "Then where is Naiduan?" Nainai nodded her little head and continued to ask. "Naiduan is still in Nailong's belly. He hasn't been born yet. Wait a few more years. Naiduan will be born. For now, how about you let Nailong play with you?" she patiently explained. Nainai was a little sad, but it didn't last long. Although she couldn't play with Naiduan later on, she had Nailong now. Not long after, I came out of the bedroom. My hair wasn't completely dry yet. A few strands of hair were still dripping water. Chen Mengxi looked up and saw this scene. Her heart skipped a beat. Unexpectedly, when he was serious, he was actually quite handsome. I pouted and asked, "What's wrong?" Hearing my voice, Chen Mengxi snapped back to reality. A faint blush silently spread across her cheeks, but her expression was extremely calm. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "It's nothing. Let's go." Nainai held out her little hands to me, whining, "Daddy, carry me." Hearing her, I smiled without a second thought. I took Nainai from Chen Mengxi's arms. The movement was so natural, as if I had done it many times before. Chen Mengxi cleared her throat lightly and said, "Assistant Chen will stay here and look after things. Someone will come to install the new door later." I smiled and nodded. Then the three of us took the elevator down to the first floor. I carried Nainai and walked in front, with Chen Mengxi walking beside me. Her gaze would occasionally sneak a peek at the man, who was younger but a whole head taller than her. She was now even more curious about herself. Why would she fall for this younger man? I naturally noticed her gaze, that occasionally glanced over, but I just thought she was looking at Nainai. Although I am very confident in my own looks, I am not so narcissistic as to think I could make a female CEO worth billions fall for me. But as soon as I thought about her being my future wife, and even giving me such an adorable daughter, the corners of my mouth couldn't help but curve into a smile, just as I was secretly feeling delighted. Nainai, who was leaning on my shoulder, reached out her hand. She cupped Chen Mengxi's face and said in her childish voice, "Mommy, why do you keep sneaking glances at Daddy? Look at Nainai too." As soon as these words were out, Chen Mengzi's already rosy face became like a ripe apple. It was incredibly charming. She shyly picked at her nails. She never expected her small actions to be exposed by her daughter. An indescribable feeling of embarrassment rose in her heart. I tilted my head slightly to look at Chen Mengzi beside me. Chen Mengzi met my gaze and quickly looked away. She cleared her throat and said, "Don't overthink it. I just feel that Nainai and you look very similar." Hearing this, I lifted Nainai up into the air. I frowned and thought, "Nainai looks 70% like you. It's as if she was cast from the same mold as you, except for these big eyes, small mouth, and eyebrows. I really can't see any resemblance to me." Chen Mengzi took a deep breath, clenching her fists. She ignored me and strode out of the apartment complex. Nainai and I watched her back, then looked at each other. Our eyes were filled with confusion. "Daddy, it seems like Mommy is angry. Looks like Daddy will have to kneel on the washboard again tonight." Nainai sighed. She looked like a little old lady. I heard her words, and almost immediately caught the keyword, kneeling on the washboard. No way. As a Sigma male, how could I possibly kneel on a washboard in the future? Impossible. Absolutely not. Leaving the apartment complex, the driver next to the car quickly opened the back door. Chen Mengzi bent down and got in. I put Nainai in the back seat first. The little girl obediently sat up straight by herself. She even patted the seat next to her. "Daddy, sit." I obediently sat down. The space inside the car was spacious. A light fragrance lingered in the air. The scent made my heart flutter a little. Chen Mengzi gave a cold command, "To the hospital." The driver nodded, then raised the partition. The car slowly started moving. It gradually merged into the traffic. The car fell silent for a moment. I looked at Chen Mengzi. Hesitating for a bit, I couldn't help but ask, CEO Shen." Hearing this, Chen Mengzi slowly turned her head. She looked at me with a calm gaze, seeming to transform back into the female CEO, who was decisive in the business world. Seeing her icy demeanor, I still asked the question on my mind, "Do you think our future selves know that Nainai came back?" Hearing this, Chen Mengzi also realized their daughter suddenly disappeared. Their future selves must be worried sick, but she was also helpless. She looked up at me. For a moment, she didn't know how to answer. The two of us stared at each other. The atmosphere fell into an odd silence again. For a moment, it made both of us a little awkward. Nainai looked at her parents' awkward expressions. Her big eyes were full of confusion. She thought to herself, "Why aren't Mommy and Daddy kissing anymore? Mommy usually loves to kiss Daddy. What's wrong now?" A while later, the car stopped steadily at the hospital gate. I carried Nainai out of the car first. Chen Mengzi followed closely behind. Chen Mengzi frowned slightly. She raised her hand to block the glaring sun. "This way." She pointed towards the hospital lobby and walked ahead. I answered with a sound and hurriedly followed with Nainai in my arms. Chen Mengzi glanced at the father and daughter. She felt like she was taking her son and daughter for a checkup, not her husband and daughter. You couldn't blame her. After all, I was only 18 at the time and dressed very youthfully, standing next to the mature and charming Chen Mengzi. It really did feel like a mother with her son. Chen Mengzi reined in her thoughts and stopped overthinking. She headed straight for the DNA testing center. Very quickly, the three of them arrived at the DNA testing center. At that moment, a somewhat surprised voice called out from nearby, "Mu CA." A woman in a white lab coat, a doctor, was looking at me with a shocked expression. I blinked. I never expected to meet my older sister, Mu Yulu, here. But before I could even explain, Nainai in my arms called out sweetly, "Auntie." Hearing this auntie, Mu Yulu froze completely. She looked at me, then looked up at the DNA testing sign. She felt like the sky was falling. "You're only 18. How do you already have a daughter this big?" Mu Yulu looked at me with an expression of disbelief. I quickly started to explain, "This is very complicated. I can't explain it clearly to you in a short time. Nainai is my future daughter." Mu Yulu glanced at me. She looked at me as if I were an idiot. "Do you think I am a fool?" At that moment, Chen Mengzi, who was beside me, spoke up. "You go ahead and take Nainai for the DNA test first. I'll explain to your sister." I looked at Chen Mengzi. I thought for a moment, my sister should be able to handle the shock, right? After a moment of silence, I no longer hesitated. I carried Nainai towards the testing center. After the father and daughter left, Chen Mengzi looked at Mu Yulu. She said a bit shyly, "Let's talk in your office." Mu Yulu nodded, not refusing at all. Her office wasn't very big. The air had a faint smell of disinfectant. Mu Yulu closed the door and questioned CEO Shen. "What on earth is going on?" Chen Mengzi said calmly, "Nainai is the future daughter of me and your brother." Mu Yulu frowned slightly, clearly not believing her. She would rather believe that I was being kept by Chen Mengzi. Chen Mengzi handed over the two documents. "If you don't believe me, you can look at these two reports first." Mu Yulu skeptically looked at the DNA test report. It clearly stated the result confirmed a mother-daughter relationship. Her brain immediately froze. Mu Yulu's hand, holding the report, trembled slightly. "Is Nainai really from the future?" Chen Mengzi nodded. "I know this is hard to believe, but it's the truth." Mu Yulu looked at the two reports in front of her. Her mind was a complete mess. What was happening right now was completely beyond her scope of understanding. Not long after, The office door was pushed open, and I walked in carrying Nainai. Mu Yulu suddenly pulled me back, dragging me out of the office. With a slam, the door was closed, blocking the view inside. Mommy, why did Auntie and Daddy go outside? Chen Mengxi stroked the girl's head. Daddy and Auntie have something to talk about. Daddy will be back in a bit. Mu Yulu scrutinized me with a sharp gaze. Her tone was somewhat stern. Tell me the truth. Are you being kept by her? Acting as a fake dad for someone? Dark lines appeared on my forehead. I looked at my sister with a speechless expression. Have you been reading too many domineering CEO novels? What kind of thoughts are filling your head? Today is also my first time meeting CEO Shen. We didn't know each other at all before. I already told you our family isn't short on money. How could I sell myself out for money? Mu Yulu didn't say anything, but she was about 30% convinced. I continued. Wait for my and Nainai's DNA test results. Won't everything be clear then? Mu Yulu stared at me for a few seconds. All right, I'll bring the report to your apartment tonight. In the office, the little girl sat on the chair, happily swinging her little legs. Seeing Mu Yulu walk in, Nainai immediately flashed a sweet smile. She called out clearly, Auntie. Hearing this soft voice, Mu Yula's heart involuntarily softened a few degrees. A rare, gentle smile appeared on her face. Good girl, Nainai. Tell Auntie, what's your name? Nainai tilted her little face up. Her voice childish. My name is Mu Xiaonai. I am 4 years old. Mu Yulu pinched Nainai's cheek, adoring her so much she couldn't let go. Nainai is so good. Can Auntie come visit you tonight? Hearing this, Nainai's eyes immediately lit up. She nodded her head repeatedly like a chicken pecking at grain. Yes, yes. As she spoke, she gave Mu Yulu a peck on the cheek. Being kissed by the little girl, Mu Yula's heart was filled with joy. The smile on her face became even more doting. Her gaze was indescribably gentle, but when her gaze fell on me, the smile immediately vanished, and her gaze became sharp again. My sister's swift change in attitude made the corner of my mouth twitch. I could only give an embarrassed laugh. Sis. Well, be leaving then. Mu Yulu nodded casually. I quickly picked up Nainai and then took Chen Mengxi's hand. I hurried out of the office. Goodbye, Auntie. Nainai waved goodbye to Mu Yulu. The smile returned to Mu Yula's face as she waved at Nainai. She watched us leave. And I have to say, Nainai's eyebrows and eyes really did have some resemblance to Chen Mengxi. Chen Mengxi looked at the hand that was holding hers. Not only did she not pull it away, but she unconsciously tightened her grip a little. In this moment, she seemed to feel a strange emotion. When we got to the car, I let go of her hand and opened the back door. I looked at Chen Mengxi, gesturing for her to get in first. Chen Mengxi froze on the spot again. A flash of disappointment crossed her face, but she quickly composed herself. She went straight into the car, and I followed closely behind. Nainai's little head rested on Chen Mengxi's lap. Her short legs rested on my lap. Her face was filled with a happy smile. Chen Mengxi couldn't resist gently pinching the little girl's nose, which made Nainai giggle. Seeing this scene, I felt a sense of peaceful years passing by. I glanced at Chen Mengxi. I couldn't help but ask, just now, your sister. It seems like you know her. Chen Mengxi's voice was calm as she nodded. Last month's health checkup was arranged by your sister. I had an epiphany. No wonder she had such a big reaction when she saw me and Chen Mengxi with Nainai at the testing center. This is a continuation of the previous line, reigning in my thoughts. I looked at Nainai. A gentle smile unconsciously appeared on my face. What delicious food does Nainai want to eat tonight? As soon as she heard about food, Nainai immediately perked up, her little legs kicking. She looked up with her small face, her bright eyes twinkling at me. Sweet and sour pork ribs. Nainai wants to eat sweet and sour pork ribs. I was amused by my daughter's adorable appearance. I reached out and lovingly pinched her little nose. You little glutton. Okay. Well, have sweet and sour pork ribs tonight. After saying that, I looked towards Chen Mengxi. I said a little unnaturally, CEO Shen, what do you want to eat? Chen Mengxi's voice was still faint. Anything is fine. Also, you don't need to call me CEO Shen. Then can I call you Mengxi? After saying that, I felt a little nervous. After all, I had never been in love before. I didn't know how to act around the opposite sex. I couldn't possibly treat my future wife the same way I treat my mom. Chen Mengxi's eyelashes fluttered slightly, and she hummed in acknowledgement. It was as good as a silent agreement. We quickly arrived at the apartment. I'm going to buy groceries. Take Nainai back to the apartment first. Before Chen Mengxi could answer, Nainai quickly said, Daddy, Nainai wants to go too. I smiled and patted her head. Be good, Nainai. Daddy will be back soon. Nainai didn't answer. She just looked up at Chen Mengxi and gently shook her arm. She looked so pitiful. Chen Mengxi had no resistance to this at all and spoke without thinking. Let's all go together. We have nothing else to do anyway. Hooray. Mommy. A kiss. Chen Mengxi smiled helplessly. She gave the girl a peck on the cheek. I cleared my throat lightly. Let's go. I skillfully led Nainai and Chen Mengxi through the various stalls, but Chen Mengxi had clearly never been to a market before. She walked beside me with a confused look on her face. She couldn't believe that a distinguished CEO like herself would one day be unable to get a word in. Meanwhile, Nai was beside me asking about everything. I patiently explained everything to her. Then I took them to a supermarket. Why are we at the supermarket? Chen Mengzi asked, confused. To buy clothes for Nai, of course. Otherwise, what will she wear after her bath tonight? Hearing this, a smile bloomed on Chen Mengzi's face. She didn't expect this young man to be so thoughtful. Seeing the pretty clothes, Nai's eyes lit up. Pulling the two of them forward, the little girl quickly took a liking to it. A little bunny pajama set, which I thought was quite cute too. But when I saw the price, I was shocked. You can't be serious. A set of pajamas costs 1,000 yuan. The entire outfit I am wearing doesn't even add up to 500. Nai didn't even look at me. Instead, she looked straight at Chen Mengzi and acted cute. Mommy, Nai wants to be a little bunny. Chen Mengzi smiled and took down the pajama set. She held it up to the little girl to check the size. Then she picked out a larger set of pajamas. Without looking at the price, she handed it to me. I took the pajamas. I suddenly felt that being a female CEO's boy toy wasn't so hard to accept after all. After that, the two of them bought a few more daily necessities and toys, and then we went home together. When we got to my door, the new door had already been installed. I looked at the newly installed brown smart door. I couldn't help but be startled. This is too extravagant. Wait a minute. If she breaks my house, doesn't that mean I saved money on home repairs? Thinking of this, I couldn't hold back the smile on my face. Chen Mengzi's eyebrows furrowed slightly. My husband isn't an idiot, is he? Isn't it just a new door? Assistant Chen quickly came forward and said, CEO Shen, the door has been reinstalled. You just need to register your fingerprints. Chen Mengzi nodded slightly. She signaled for the father and daughter to register their fingerprints. I obediently held Nai and finished registering our fingerprints. Chen Mengzi, who was next to me, suddenly stepped forward. Very naturally, she also registered her own. I have to work and don't have much time to take care of Nai. When the time comes, I'll bring Nai here. I didn't say anything more about this. After all, she is the girl's mother. Besides, I have to go to school. I don't have much time to take care of Nai, so this burden naturally has to be shared more with Chen Mengzi. Seeing that I said nothing, Chen Mengzi breathed a sigh of relief. She looked at Assistant Chen beside her. Deduct the cost of the door from my personal account, then have the driver take you home. Assistant Chen smiled knowingly and nodded. Chen Mengzi saw her off and casually closed the door. I took the ingredients to the kitchen and started cooking. Nai ran to the balcony and dragged Nailong out. Chen Mengzi stood in the entryway watching this scene. An indescribable feeling of happiness welled up in her heart. This was the first time in her life she had felt a sense of family. This made her feel it was a bit unreal, like a dream that would vanish in the next second. Mommy, come play with me. At this moment, Nai sweetly called out to Chen Mengzi. A smile appeared on Chen Mengzi's face. The mother and daughter sat on the floor playing with puzzles. Hearing the cheerful laughter from the living room, I couldn't help but curiously look out into the living room. When I turned around, I saw Nai snuggling in Chen Mengzi's arms. And at this moment, the setting sun happened to shine on Chen Mengzi, painting her with a gentle halo. The Chen Mengzi at this moment was no longer cold as before. Her whole being became gentle, her face filled with a smile. This warm scene momentarily left me stunned. Chen Mengzi looked up. She saw me in a black apron, staring at her blankly. A smile formed on her lips, and an indescribable look appeared in her eyes. Just how desperate must I be to have taken notice of me? A flustered look appeared on my face. I frantically turned back to wash the already clean vegetables one more time, pretending to be very busy. Seeing this, Chen Mengzi couldn't help but let out a soft chuckle. About half an hour later, I brought out the final dish and placed it on the table. Time to eat. Hearing this, Nai and Chen Mengzi stopped playing. They got up and quickly ran towards the dining room. Watching the mother and daughter run towards me, a sense of pride welled up in my heart. I've been busy for so long, it seems it was all for this moment. Nai quickly climbed onto her chair, swinging her short legs. She sat waiting for dinner. At this point, Chen Mengzi spoke up. Nai, come here and wash your hands first. Nai pouted at me cutely. Daddy, Nai is hungry. But before I could speak, Chen Mengzi's expression turned serious. She called out, Nai. Seeing this, my gaze immediately shifted towards Nailong in the living room, and I muttered to myself, oh dear, Nailong hasn't been fed yet. As soon as I said that, I walked towards the living room. Nai pouted. Very reluctantly, she jumped off the chair and followed Chen Mengzi into the kitchen to wash her hands. After feeding the dog, I returned to the dining table. Just as I was about to sit down and eat, a glare shot towards me. My hand holding the bowl and chopsticks froze. I immediately understood. I stood up, went into the kitchen to wash my hands. Chen Mengzi shook her head. Now she knew where my bad habit came from. After washing my hands, I returned to the dining table. Nai couldn't wait any longer. She skillfully used a spoon to scoop up a piece of sweet and sour pork ribs into her bowl and began to eat ravenously. Seeing this, Chen Mengzi couldn't help but let out a soft chuckle. Then she picked up a piece of rib for herself. She had originally thought my cooking skills were just average, but it was surprisingly delicious. It could even rival some master chefs. I didn't expect her skills. She looked at me, about to give a compliment. Then she saw me eating with my head down like a starving man. The full bowl of rice was already half gone. Now she knew why we were father and daughter. The way Nai Nai ate was truly a miniature version of me. This gave her a bit of a headache. It seemed that apart from her face, Nai Nai didn't resemble her in any other way. This won't do. Her daughter is so adorable. She can't be like her father and become an idiot. Thinking of this, she put down her bowl and chopsticks. Nai Nai and I looked up. We looked at Chen Mengzi in confusion. Chen Mengzi's voice became a bit more serious. Eat slowly. No one is going to fight you for it. Nai Nai and I looked at each other. We couldn't help but burst out laughing. I explained embarrassedly, I just graduated from high school. I am still not used to it. Pay attention in the future. Definitely pay attention. Chen Mengzi helplessly held her forehead. She sighed softly. Why do I feel like I am not just raising a daughter, but also another son? But she didn't say anything more and continued to eat. With Chen Mengzi's advice, my daughter and I ate much more politely this time. Before long, the three of us finished eating. My cooking was very good. Nai Nai ate half a small bowl, and Chen Mengzi rarely ate a bowl and a half. Normally, she doesn't eat much. Even when she's hungry, she only eats a little over half a bowl. Today, she ate a bowl and a half. This surprised even herself. After that, she took Nai Nai to rest in the living room, while I cleaned up the dishes in the kitchen. It basically took 2 or 3 minutes. I put the dishes away, dried my hands, and walked out of the kitchen. I looked at the clock on the wall. It was only 8:10. I looked at Chen Mengzi and asked, Mengzi, it's still early. Do you want to go walk the dog together? Of course, if you're busy, I can go with Nai Nai. Before I could finish, Chen Mengzi interrupted. Okay, it's a good way to digest the food. I didn't expect her to agree so readily. I was stunned for a moment. I took the leash from the cabinet in the entryway. I skillfully put it on Nai Long, who was sitting by the door wagging his tail. Nai Nai also trotted over and looked up at me, her eyes sparkling. She asked, Daddy, are we taking Nai Long for a walk? That's right. Does Nai Nai want to come? Yes. Nai Nai nodded vigorously and took the initiative to hold Chen Mengzi's hand. Chen Mengzi looked at her daughter's small hand taking hers. Her heart warmed, and she held on a little tighter. 3 people and 1 dog left the apartment complex, taking the elevator downstairs. At the riverside at night, the breeze was cool. I held Nai Nai's hand with one hand, and held Nai Long's leash with the other. Nai Long happily sniffed the grass by the roadside. The river breeze blew through Chen Mengzi's hair. She tilted her head to look at her daughter, who was skipping beside me. The corners of her mouth lifted slightly. An evening like this kind of companionship, made her tense mood unconsciously relax. It seemed like we were really a normal family of 3, enjoying some leisure time after dinner. After walking for about half an hour, Nai Nai's pace slowed. She tugged on my pant leg, her childish voice laced with fatigue. Daddy, Nai Nai can't walk anymore. I smiled and bent down. Then Daddy will carry you. Okay? Okay. Nai Nai immediately held out her little hands happily. I easily lifted her onto my back. I held her little bottom firmly. Seeing this, Chen Mengzi very naturally took Nai Long's leash from my hand. She walked silently beside the 2 of us, holding the leash. When we got back downstairs to the apartment, Nai Long seemed tired from playing too. He obediently entered the elevator. Once inside our home, Chen Mengzi spoke softly to Nai Nai, who was on my back. She was about to doze off. Nai Nai, let's take a bath. Nai Nai sleepily hummed in agreement. Chen Mengzi then carried her into the bathroom. Soon, the sounds of water and the cheerful chatter of the mother and daughter could be heard from the bathroom. Mommy, here are some bubbles for you. So many bubbles. Before long, Nai Nai's little eyelids began to droop. She let out a delicate yawn, her little head nodding. She was clearly sleepy. Chen Mengzi looked at her daughter's adorable sleepy state, and the corners of her mouth couldn't help but curve into a gentle smile. She wrapped Nai Nai in a large bath towel and carried her out of the bathroom. Looking at her wrapped up like a little cocoon, Nai Nai had almost fallen asleep. I spoke up. It's late. Maybe tonight. Let Nai Nai sleep with me. Before Chen Mengzi could reply, Nai Nai in her arms suddenly opened her drowsy eyes. As if she had suddenly woken up, her voice thick with sleep, she said with surprise, That's great. Nai Nai can sleep with Mommy and Daddy. As soon as she said this, the atmosphere became a little strange. My ears felt a little hot, and my gaze unconsciously shifted away. Chen Mengzi's movements as she held her daughter also stiffened. An unnatural blush appeared on her face. She coughed lightly. She nodded slightly, not refusing. Then she carried Nai Nai and followed me into the room. The room wasn't very big, but it was clean and tidy. There was a faint scent of soap in the air. She changed Nai Nai into the newly bought little tiger pajamas, then placed her on the bed. She happily rolled around on the bed, but soon ran out of energy. I sat down on the edge of the bed and gently patted her tummy. Chen Mengzi watched my somewhat clumsy movements. Her gaze softened a little. Neither of us spoke. We just quietly watched Nai Nai. Before long, Nai Nai fell into a deep sleep, her breathing even and long. I stopped my movements, carefully withdrawing my hand. The two of us looked at each other. We tiptoed out of the room and sat on the sofa. For a moment, no one spoke. The situation at this moment really felt a bit like a normal married couple, enjoying the quiet moment after their child has fallen asleep. Just then, a sudden knock came from the door. I jumped, immediately realizing who it was. I quickly stood up and went to open the door. Muyula's gaze swept over the brand new door. She asked doubtfully, "Why did you change the door?" Chen Mengzi's kick from this afternoon flashed through my mind. I forced a smile and said, "The old door had some problems, so I just replaced it." Muyulu didn't think much of it. She walked straight into the apartment. As soon as she looked, she saw Chen Mengxi sitting on the sofa. There wasn't much surprise on her face. "Is Nai asleep?" Chen Mengxi and I nodded at the same time. Muyulu walked to the sofa and sat down. She took a folder out of her bag and handed it to me. I opened it and looked. It was a paternity test report. It clearly stated that Nai and I have a father-daughter relationship. Seeing this result, I wasn't surprised at all. After all, the blood connection is hard to explain. Chen Mengxi also glanced at the report. Although she already knew the result, a strange feeling still stirred in her heart. Muyula's gaze swept across our faces. Her tone carried a bit of helplessness and disbelief. "So Nai really is from the future?" I nodded. "Things have come to this point. Besides this explanation, there doesn't seem to be a more reasonable one." Muyulu took a deep breath. Although she had mentally prepared for a long time, it still felt very unreal. "So, what are you two planning to do next?" I blurted out, almost without thinking. "Raise her, of course. What else can we do?" Chen Mengxi's eyes lit up, and she glanced at me. Then she also nodded in agreement. Muyulu sighed. "I guess that's the only way." "So, about Mom and Dad, you're not planning to tell them, don't?" "Absolutely not. Don't you know our mother's temper? She definitely wouldn't believe that our daughter is from the future. She would 100% think I was fooling around outside, got someone pregnant, and then abandoned them. If Mom finds out about this, all 3 of my legs will be broken." Hearing me say this, Chen Mengxi, who was beside me, pictured her former teacher in her mind. She couldn't help but laugh out loud. The teacher's fiery personality really hasn't changed at all. But she also started to worry secretly. If the teacher knew that this former student of hers had seduced her son, would she break her legs too? Thinking of this, Chen Mengxi couldn't help but shiver. I looked at Chen Mengxi suspiciously, not understanding what she was laughing about. Muyulu looked at her brother's cowardly appearance. It was both frustrating and funny. All right. I'll definitely keep it a secret for you two, but you probably can't hide this for long. You two figure it out for yourselves. Think of a way to deal with it soon." After speaking, she gave us a meaningful look. Then she stood up to leave. "Okay, you two get some rest." She couldn't help but sigh inwardly. My little brother's life is pretty much over. She knew her brother's nature better than anyone. A strong woman like Chen Mengxi could probably keep him in line. Originally, she wanted to advise me to stay away from Chen Mengxi, but in the future, we would be husband and wife. It's impossible to force a separation. "Little brother, you'll just have to fend for yourself." She closed the door. Only Chen Mengxi and I were left in the entryway. We could immediately smell the faint fragrance on each other. For a moment, it was a bit awkward. Chen Mengxi hesitated for a moment, then asked softly, "Don't I look familiar to you?" I froze. I looked at her with a blank expression. "What?" Seeing my completely blank and unfamiliar expression, hugging Nai, a flicker of disappointment passed through Chen Mengxi's eyes. She quickly hid it, shaking her head gently. She knew I had definitely forgotten everything from our childhood, so she changed the subject. "It's getting late. I am going home now. I'll come see Nai tomorrow morning." I nodded unconsciously, then came to my senses and said, "It's so late. How about I take you home? It's not safe for you to go alone." Chen Mengxi raised an eyebrow and retorted, "You'll take me home? What if Nai wakes up?" I immediately fell silent. I really hadn't thought of that. Chen Mengxi chuckled softly and said, "All right, you go on back. I'll be fine by myself." Hearing this, a flash of imperceptible disappointment crossed my eyes. I hummed softly. Chen Mengxi saw the subtle change in my expression. The corner of her mouth almost imperceptibly curved into a faint smile. After washing up, I returned to the room. I looked at Nai sleeping soundly on the bed. Her small body was curled up. There was a sweet smile on her lips. My heart melted. I gently lay down on the other side of the bed, trying not to make any noise. On the other side, Chen Mengxi returned to her Seaview penthouse apartment in the city center. She looked at the vast, brightly lit house, but it felt incredibly empty and cold. An indescribable loneliness welled up in her heart. Unconsciously, the image of Nai's small, sleeping face appeared in her mind, along with my disappointed expression. Thinking of that, the corners of her mouth couldn't help but lift slightly. The next day, Chen Mengxi woke up very early. After a simple wash-up, she immediately drove to a breakfast shop, bought some buns and soy milk, and then drove to the apartment. She carried the breakfast, unlocked the door with her fingerprint, and smoothly pushed it open to enter. The house was very quiet. Chen Mengxi stood in the entryway and looked around. I wasn't in the living room, nor was that little figure. It was very clear. The two of us, father and daughter, were still sleeping in. She smiled helplessly and habitually pulled open the shoe cabinet. Only then did she remember that she didn't have any slippers here. Last night, I only remembered to buy clothes and slippers for Nainai. I completely forgot that she needed a pair too. For some reason, she felt a little unhappy, but she quickly suppressed her feelings. She placed the breakfast on the dining table. At the same time, she took out her phone to call Assistant Chen. I am working from home today. Bring my laptop here later. Assistant Chen on the other end replied, yes, CEO Shen. Also, bring me a pair of women's slippers. She hung up the phone. Chen Mengxi looked towards the closed bedroom door. She took a step towards the bedroom, but then suddenly stopped. Is it not a good idea to just go straight in? After all, he's still sleeping inside. But on second thought, I am Nainai's mother. Isn't it natural to go in and see my child? Thinking this, she decided not to knock anymore. Turning the doorknob, she walked straight in. On the bed, one large and one small figure lay sprawled out. Nainai was sleeping right on the pillow, with one chubby little foot resting on my face. As for me, my whole body was spread out like the character Da, big, taking up half the bed. The corner of Chen Mengxi's mouth unconsciously lifted slightly. A hint of helplessness flashed in her eyes, but it was mixed with a gentle smile. She bent down and removed Nene's little foot from my face, then casually smoothed the slightly messy hair on Nene's forehead. Her fingertips touched her daughter's tender cheek. She couldn't resist giving it a light pinch. Her heart immediately softened. She couldn't help but whisper, "This sleeping posture of yours. No wonder your parents didn't let you sleep with them." Nainai seemed to feel the pressure on her cheek. She sleepily opened her eyes, which were still a bit hazy. Seeing Chen Mengxi right in front of her, she was first stunned for a moment, then her little mouth pouted. Thick with sleepiness, she aggrievedly held out her small arms. "Mommy, hold me. I want a hug." Her soft, sweet voice carried a hint of coquettishness. Chen Mengxi's heart melted instantly. She bent down and hugged the little girl. The next second, she kissed Nene's rosy cheek. The little girl immediately giggled. Her small hand wrapped around Chen Mengxi's neck, rubbing against her cheek. "Mommy." Her soft, sweet, childish voice called out "Mommy" repeatedly. Hearing it made Chen Mengxi's heart bloom with joy. This was a feeling she had never experienced before, causing waves of satisfaction to rise from the bottom of her heart. I was woken up by the noise, rubbing my sleepy eyes. I saw Chen Mengxi holding Nainai and sitting by the bed. The big one and the small one were interacting intimately. Chen Mengxi was especially gentle today, with an added touch of tenderness. She gave off the vibe of a gentle, intellectual older sister. This left me momentarily dazed. It would be great if I could marry such a beauty. She's my daughter's mother, so it should be fine. Why are you here so early? Chen Mengxi raised an eyebrow and retorted, "It's already past 8 o'clock. Is that still early?" Hearing that number, I suddenly grabbed my phone to check the time. The screen clearly showed 8:40. Holy crap, I couldn't help but curse. I am done for. I have an 8 a.m. class. I let out a cry of alarm. I quickly threw off the covers and jumped out of bed. Ignoring everything else, I rushed into the bathroom at top speed. A chaotic flurry of washing up sounds followed. Nainai was startled by me, her little face wrinkling. She looked aggrievedly at Chen Mengxi. "Mommy, what's wrong with Daddy?" Chen Mengxi couldn't help but let out a soft chuckle. She patted Nainai's back comfortingly and said gently, "It's nothing. Daddy is just late for class." Nainai nodded, half understanding. She blinked her big eyes towards the bathroom. A moment later, I rushed out of the bathroom. My hair was soaking wet, and my clothes were a bit messy. Clearly, I was in too much of a hurry to get ready properly. But even so, it didn't affect my handsomeness at all. Instead, it added a bit of vitality and the dynamic energy characteristic of youth. I picked up my backpack from the floor and said, "Nainai, Daddy has to go now. Be good and listen to Mommy at home, okay?" Nainai obediently nodded. "Nainai will be good. Bye-bye, Daddy." She blew me a kiss. My heart instantly melted from her cuteness. Without thinking, I kissed Nainai on the cheek. Then I looked up at Chen Mengxi, but the words on the tip of my tongue felt a bit too shy to say. In the end, I just said vaguely, I'll leave Nainai to you then." Chen Mengxi watched my fleeing back. The smile on her lips deepened a little. Her smiling face was also tinged with a faint blush. After that, she carried Nainai to wash up. Then they started to eat breakfast. Nainai sat in her high chair, looking at the hot buns and soy milk on the table. She couldn't help but drool. Chen Mengxi saw her like this, and chuckled, gently pinching her little nose. "You little glutton. Eat up." Nainai eagerly picked up a bun and took small bites. Chen Mengxi looked at her adoringly. Her heart was filled with happiness and contentment. On the other side, I ran all the way to the lecture hall building. Panting, I reached the back door of the classroom. I saw that it was already full of students inside, and a gray-haired figure was standing at the podium. I felt a bit guilty. I bent down, intending to sneak in through the back door. But just as I pushed the door open a crack, an old but powerful voice rang out. "The student sneaking in at the door. What are you doing?" As soon as the words were spoken, all eyes turned to me. I froze. Slowly, I raised my head, meeting the sharp eyes of the old professor on the podium. I am screwed. The old professor pushed up the reading glasses on the bridge of his nose. He looked me up and down and asked, "What's your name?" I looked embarrassed. "Muka." Hearing this name, A smile appeared on the old professor's face. I know you. The top scorer of this year's college entrance exam, right? I became even more embarrassed and could only chuckle twice. I didn't dare to reply. The old professor looked at me like this, his smile deepening a little, and said slowly, I remember your parents were in my class back then. They never dared to be late even once. As soon as he said this, I was completely dumbfounded. My parents were in this old professor's class, and just as I was spacing out, the old professor slowly added another sentence. It seems I'll have to call and ask your mother tonight how she raised you. All right, find a seat and sit down. I broke out in a cold sweat. Great. Just great. So great. There's hope for this life yet. Seeing Yang Wei winking at me from the corner, I reluctantly went over and sat in the empty seat next to him. As soon as I sat down, he leaned in and lowered his voice, his face full of a gloating smile. You're really something. So bold. Skipping Professor Xu's class in the very first week of school, I glared at him and casually grabbed a bun from Yang Wei's desk, aggressively stuffing it into my mouth. Hey, what's wrong with you? Yang Wei asked curiously. It's not because yesterday you fell in love with Chen Mengxi at first sight and went home to practice your skills too hard, did you? I looked at him like he was an idiot. Yang Wei didn't mind at all and said with a grin, seriously? What could possibly make a top student like you late for class? I was silent for a moment, then lowered my voice. You're not wrong. This really is related to Chen Mengxi. Holy crap! Yang Wei's eyes immediately widened. The pen in his hand almost fell to the ground. Hey, did you become a sugar baby? Let me tell you, we might be poor, but we have dignity. Unless she gives you 100,000 a month for pocket money. Otherwise, it's not worth it. I was speechless. What sugar baby? Let me tell you, she and I have a 4-year-old daughter. Last night, the two of us were putting our daughter to sleep. I forgot to set an alarm, so I overslept. Yang Wei's jaw dropped. He was stunned for 3 seconds. Then, as if had heard the most outrageous joke, he burst out laughing. He grabbed the remaining bun on the table and stuffed it right into my mouth. All right, buddy. I know you've been single for a long time, but even your daydreams should be a little more realistic. A 4-year-old daughter. Snap out of it. I mumbled while chewing the bun and shrugged. If you don't believe me, fine. Of course, Yang Wei couldn't believe what I said. If he and Chen Mengxi really had a daughter, then he would be a second-generation rich kid. He changed the subject. Oh, right. Did Jiang Ying really confess to you yesterday? I nodded and replied. I rejected her. Awesome. Yang Wei immediately beamed with a brilliant smile. He excitedly threw his arm around my shoulders. I knew it. You're my best bro. Before I could say anything, Professor Xu on the podium pushed up his reading glasses. His gaze landed precisely on me and Yang Wei. You two students in the back seem to be having a nice chat. How about I invite you both up here to share your great insights with everyone? Whoosh. Everyone's eyes focused on us once again. Yang Wei and I quickly shrunk back, lowering our heads, wishing we could bury our faces in our books. For the rest of the class, neither of us dared to make another small move. It was like sitting on pins and needles. We barely managed to wait until the school bell rang. Yang Wei and I breathed a sigh of relief, almost at the same time, a look of having survived a disaster on our faces. But before we could fully catch our breath, student Mu Xie, come with me to my office. After gathering his textbooks, Professor Xu looked at me and said casually, Great. Now you won't have to go home for over half a year. Yang Wei was stunned for a moment. Then, an exaggerated look of grief appeared on his face. He reached out to pat my shoulder, pretending to wipe away a non-existent tear from the corner of his eye. Bro, rest in peace. I'll help you spend all the money on your meal card. I speechlessly pushed his hand away and stubbornly followed Professor Xu to his office. Coming out of Professor Xu's office, I found out that he actually knew my maternal grandfather, but I didn't know that as soon as I left, he immediately snitched on me to my mom. Seeing me come out, Yang Wei immediately walked over and said, My friend, you're finally out. Professor Xu didn't do anything to you, did he? I shook my head. It's fine. Professor Xu is a nice guy. Besides, he's an old friend of my grandpa's. Yang Wei was stunned for a moment. My God, you actually have this kind of connection. All right, let's go. The two of us had just taken a few steps when two girls walked towards us from the opposite direction. One was wearing a white one-piece dress, which accentuated her fair skin. The other was wearing a black JK uniform, full of charm. Yang Wei was so excited his eyes were glued to them. As for me, I glanced once and lost interest. I admit these two girls are very beautiful, but compared to my Mengxi, they're still far behind. All right, stop staring. Let's go. You really have no taste. Yang Wei shot me a dissatisfied glare. This is the famous campus belle of our university's arts department. The one in white is named Chu Yu. The one in black next to her is Shia Signing. Before Yang Wei finished his introduction, I had already walked a good distance away. Right now, I really don't want to look at anything. I just want to hurry home and see Nai Nai. I wonder what Nai Nai is doing at home. Is she listening to her mom? Does she miss her dad? Seeing me walk away without looking back, Yang Wei hurried after me. Just as the two of us and the two girls passed each other, the girl in the white one-piece dress paused her steps almost imperceptibly. Her gaze fell on my retreating back. Her delicate brows furrowed slightly. A flicker of restraint and confusion passed through her eyes. It's him. Chu Yu remembered very clearly. Yesterday morning, Chen Mengxi had followed this boy from a distance, holding a lovely little girl in her arms. That little girl even looked a lot like Chen Mengxi. So what exactly is their relationship? Yu, what are you looking at? You look like you're in a daze. Xia signing next to her waved a hand in front of her eyes. It's nothing. Chu Yu paused for a moment, pretending to ask casually, do you know the boy who just walked by? He looks a bit familiar. Xia signing looked in the direction she indicated, and only saw the retreating figures of me and Yang Wei, our great campus belle. Has the iron tree finally blossomed? Have you set your sights on a junior? What nonsense are you talking about? Chu Yu shot her a glare. I just feel like I've seen him somewhere before. Xia signing teased. A handsome boy. Huh? Everyone looks familiar to you. All right. I won't tease you anymore. His name is Mu Ke. He's a newly enrolled freshman, and he's also this year's top scorer in the university entrance exam. Chu Yu looked at my retreating figure, her gaze lingering, lost in thought. Seeing her like this, Xia signing couldn't help but tease her. He's long gone. Are you still looking? Your soul has flown away with him. Chu Yu snapped back to reality. An imperceptible, unusual expression flickered across her face. She shook her head lightly, about to turn and leave. Hey, weren't we supposed to find someone? Xia signing pulled her back. She said, a little puzzled. A faint smile touched the corners of Chu Yu's mouth. I've found him. Hearing this, Xia signing's eyes widened. Found him? Don't tell me you came here specifically to find that Mu Ke. Chu Yu didn't answer directly, just smiled. She turned and walked in another direction. No way. What's this situation? Do you like him? On the other side, Yang Wei nudged my shoulder and said, Mu Ke. Chu Yu's gaze just now. She kept looking our way. With my 10 years of experience reading romance novels, I am 80% sure she likes you. I said irritably. I don't have that much charm. Maybe because I am this year's top scorer on the entrance exam, the new students pay more attention to me. She probably just took a few extra glances. Yang Wei pouted. He changed the subject. Oh, right. There's no class this afternoon. Want to go to the internet cafe and play a few rounds? Not going. I have to go home. After all, I have a wife and daughter waiting at home, who has time to play games. Yang Wei didn't think much of it. He waved goodbye to me. At this moment, in the apartment, Nai was rolling around with the fluffy Nai Long. On the sofa, not far away, Chen Mengxi was handling work on her laptop. Her gentle gaze would occasionally glance at her daughter playing. A warm smile touched the corners of her mouth. Mommy. Nai suddenly lifted her little face, asking in her childish voice, when is daddy coming home? Nai is hungry. Chen Mengxi glanced at her wristwatch. It was almost 12 o'clock. I still hadn't returned. She unconsciously reached for the phone on the coffee table, wanting to ask if I was coming home for lunch, but her action paused. She only just remembered that she hadn't saved my phone number yet. Chen Mengxi rubbed her temples. It seemed she could only cook lunch herself. She closed her laptop and walked towards the kitchen. Mommy, are you going into the kitchen? Nai saw her mother's actions and immediately remembered the noodles her mom made yesterday for lunch. A flash of imperceptible panic crossed her big, round eyes. She quickly scrambled up from the rug, ran to Chen Mengxi on her short legs, and tugged on the hem of her clothes with her small hand. Mommy, Nai isn't that hungry. Nai can wait a little longer for daddy to come home. Chen Mengxi looked at her daughter's sensible appearance, feeling warm inside. She thought Nai felt sorry for her, not wanting her to go through the trouble of cooking. She gently stroked a stray lock of hair on her daughter's head. Good girl. Nai. Daddy probably has something to do. Mommy will cook quickly. Go play with Nai Long for a little while. Okay? Watching her mother's back as she entered the kitchen, Nai sighed softly, her little brows furrowed. Nai's poor tummy is done for again. Chen Mengxi opened the refrigerator door and found there weren't many vegetables she recognized. She then silently closed the fridge door and finally opened the kitchen cabinet next to it. After searching around, her gaze landed on a packet of dried noodles in the corner. This made her visibly happy. She took out the dried noodles, added water, turned on the stove, all in one smooth motion. Not long after, a pot of hot noodle soup was ready. Chen Mengxi carefully carried the pot to the dining table. Nai, come and eat. Nai sat in her high chair, looking at the bowl of completely plain noodles, and frowned again. Her small mouth was tightly pressed, showing no intention of picking up her spoon. Chen Mengxi also served herself a bowl, seeing her daughter not touching her food. Why aren't you eating? Just as she finished speaking, the apartment door opened, and I walked in carrying several bags. You're back. I bought some groceries. Came back a bit late, Daddy. Nai's eyes immediately lit up. She slid off her chair and ran over to hug me on her short legs. She lifted her little face, her voice sweet and clear, and called Daddy again. My heart melted in an instant. I bent down and picked her up with one arm. Did Nai listen to Mommy? Did you miss Daddy? Nai Nai happily planted a big kiss on my cheek and said in her childish voice, Nai was very good today. Seeing the affectionate father-daughter scene at the door, Chen Mengxi smiled faintly. I thought you weren't coming home for lunch, so I just made some noodles. I glanced at the noodles on the table and nodded. It's okay. Noodles are good too. We can cook these for dinner. I gently put Nai Nai down and carried the grocery bags into the kitchen, putting away the vegetables, meat, and fish into the fridge one by one. After tidying up, I returned to the dining table. I served myself a full bowl of noodles, ready to eat. Nai Nai watched me get the noodles, her big eyes filled with pity. She reached out her small hand and gently tugged on my clothes, her voice sad. Daddy, I am sorry. My hand holding the chopsticks froze. I looked at my daughter with confusion. Then I looked at Chen Mengxi next to me. Chen Mengxi was also bewildered. She didn't understand why Nai Nai would say that. Why is Nai Nai apologizing to Daddy? Nai Nai looked down at her bowl of noodles, saying nothing. I was a bit confused, but the next second, I knew why Nai Nai had to apologize. I swallowed the bland and somewhat stiff noodles in my mouth. Nai Nai, Daddy forgives you. Promise me, next time, even if you're starving to death, don't let Mommy cook. Okay? Nai Nai nodded her little head seriously. Chen Mengxi frowned slightly, picked up her chopsticks, and tasted some of the noodles. The taste was indeed bland. The noodles were a bit hard, but it wasn't that inedible, was it? She looked at me, her expression unhappy. Weren't you a big eater as a child? Why are you so picky now? Right after, she suddenly realized. Just now, Nai Nai had pulled her back, not letting her into the kitchen, saying she wasn't hungry. It turned out she wasn't feeling sorry for her, but was simply complaining that her cooking wasn't good. And here she was, touched by the little girl just a moment ago. Her mouth said she was waiting for Daddy, but her heart had its own calculations. Chen Mengxi still wouldn't give up. She looked at me and asked, is it really that bad? I looked at her somewhat unnatural expression. With my strong survival instinct, I shook my head. It's not that it's bad. It's just that there's a lot of room for improvement. Chen Mengxi was suddenly amused by my cautious demeanor. I am not very good at cooking. It's okay. I'll cook from now on. I'll make sure you and our daughter eat well and live well. Who had been eavesdropping with her ears perked up, heard me say I would cook myself. Her eyes immediately sparkled like two little stars. She sat up straight and patted her little tummy that had just claimed not to be hungry. Daddy, Nai Nai is hungry now, she said in her childish voice. Okay, Daddy will go cook right now. After saying that, I turned and walked into the kitchen. Chen Mengxi watched my busy figure in the kitchen. The corners of her mouth curved up unconsciously. Soon, the sizzling sound of stir-frying came from the kitchen, accompanied by an enticing aroma that filled the living room. Nai Nai's little nose twitched, taking a deep sniff. Her small mouth unconsciously pursed. Her little face was written all over with 3 words. I want to eat. Chen Mengxi looked at her daughter's gluttonous appearance and smelled the increasingly tempting aroma in the air. She couldn't help but feel her appetite stir. Very quickly, I brought the last dish out of the kitchen. Time to eat. Nai Nai looked at the table full of food, her eyes sparkling. She immediately climbed onto her high chair herself and picked up her small spoon, eagerly waiting to start eating. Chen Mengxi picked up a mouthful of scrambled eggs with tomato. The eggs were soft and smooth, the tomatoes perfectly sweet and sour. The seasoning was just right. She then tried the stir-fried eggplant with minced pork. The eggplant was soft and flavorful. It went very well with rice. She looked at me with some surprise. Do you always cook this well? I was serving food for Nai Nai and looked up when I heard her. A smug look appeared on my face. It's just so. Practice makes perfect. I paused for a moment, as if remembering something. I didn't used to cook before. It's mainly because when I was a kid, I had an unforgettable experience. After I finished, Chen Mengxi immediately looked curious. Before she could ask, I continued. When I was little, my parents went to take care of my grandpa. My older sister was at school. My mom found an older sister to look after me. I could only eat the food she cooked. As I said this, a horrified expression appeared on my face, full of disgust. That taste was truly indescribable. I still remember it now. From then on, I was determined to change things. I started clinging to my dad to learn how to cook. I looked at Chen Mengxi and added half-jokingly, speaking of which, that older sister's cooking skills could really be compared to my mom's. The smile on Chen Mengxi's face stiffened slightly. Older sister? Bad food? It can't be. Isn't the person he's talking about me? She remembered it was also her first time learning to cook back then. She was clumsy. It seemed like she made noodles or fried rice. She couldn't remember the specifics, only that the taste really wasn't very good. So the older sister with bad cooking skills he mentioned, the one who left him with a psychological scar, was her. Chen Mengxi felt her cheeks grow a little hot. An indescribable feeling rose in her heart. She forced a somewhat stiff smile. Is our mom's cooking really that bad? She meant my mom, also her future mother-in-law. Before I could answer, Nai Nai beside me immediately raised her small spoon. Grandma's cooking is really bad. Last time we went to Grandma's house, the braised pork Grandma made was all black. Nai Nai couldn't even bite it. As she spoke, she nodded her little head vigorously, her expression extremely serious. I looked at my daughter and couldn't help but laugh. Chen Mengzi silently lowered her head and ate. After the meal, I said to Chen Mengzi, I don't have class this afternoon. If you're busy, I can look after Nai Nai. Hooray, Nai Nai wants to play with daddy. Nai Nai happily threw herself at my legs, her eyes sparkled. I smiled and patted Nai Nai's head, bending down to pick her up. Hearing this, Chen Mengzi's hands, which were typing on the keyboard, paused. Her gaze towards me carried a hint of vigilance. For some reason, she remembered the girl who confessed to me yesterday. This made her feel inexplicably upset. Her voice betrayed no emotion. Are you trying to get rid of me? The smile on my face froze. No, of course not. I just thought you seemed busy. Before I could finish, Chen Mengzi interrupted. Is that so? I thought you wanted to get rid of me, so you could go on a date with the girl who confessed to you yesterday. I immediately thought of Jiang Yingying, my eyes widening. I looked at Chen Mengzi in disbelief. How did you know? Chen Mengzi remembered that she had followed me yesterday while holding Nai Nai. Her confidence immediately dropped by a third. She averted her gaze, her tone a bit unnatural. You don't need to know how I know. She paused. When she looked at me again, her eyes were calm. She said in a cold voice, logically, I shouldn't interfere with your private matters, but now that Nai Nai is here, I hope you can be mindful of the influence. While Nai Nai is here, I hope you won't date. I hurriedly explained. The girl from yesterday is my class monitor. She confessed to me, and I was going to reject her, but she ran off before waiting for my answer. I had no chance to refuse at all. Besides, I never intended to date in the first place, and now with Nai Nai, it's even more impossible. I paused. When I said that just now, it was because I saw you were so busy with work. I thought you were swamped. I didn't mean to drive you away. Hearing my explanation, Chen Mengzi's inexplicable annoyance silently vanished. So that's how it was. He never even considered accepting that girl's confession, much less dating. Realizing she had misunderstood me, Chen Mengzi's cheeks warmed up unconsciously. She felt a little embarrassed. The thing she said just now sounded a lot like she was picking a fight for no reason. Thinking back now, even she was surprised that such words could come out of her mouth. Just as Chen Mengzi was feeling embarrassed, the phone beside her rang. She breathed a sigh of relief and quickly answered. It was Assistant Chen. She seemed to transform back into the CEO she was before. Okay, I understand. It'll be right over. She hung up. She stood up, grabbed her handbag, and looked at me and Nai Nai. There's an urgent matter at the company. I need to attend a meeting. Then she bent down and hugged Nai Nai's small, soft body. Nai Nai, be good. Listen to daddy at home, okay? Mommy will be back soon. Nai will be good and listen to daddy. Chen Mengzi's gaze rested on my face. She seemed to want to say something, but in the end, she just pressed her lips together and didn't say it. Then, she left the apartment with somewhat hurried steps. I watched her back quickly disappear behind the door, a look of confusion on my face. Her reaction just now clearly showed she had misunderstood something. There's nothing wrong with what I said, right? Why would it make her think that way? 2.5 hours later, Chen Mengzi and Assistant Chen walked out of the meeting room one after another. The points just mentioned in the meeting. Summarize them. Send them to the department heads this afternoon. Yes. President Shen. Assistant Chen placed the documents in her hand on the desk and turned to leave. But Chen Mengzi suddenly called her back. Her gaze was a bit distracted. She avoided Assistant Chen's eyes and asked, So, I have a friend. She seems to have misunderstood her husband about a few things. Then she realized she was overthinking it. Now she feels a bit awkward and doesn't know what to do. How should she make up? As she said this, her earlobes grew slightly warm. Assistant Chen almost couldn't hold back her laughter. She had followed her boss for so many years, and really didn't know President Shen had any friends. So, this friend of President Shen was her. Thinking of this, she asked weakly, President Shen, did you misunderstand your husband? Hearing this, Chen Mengzi was like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. She immediately denied it in a hurried tone. It wasn't me. It's a friend of mine, a really close friend. Chen Mengzi looked at the face of Assistant Chen, who was trying to hold back her laughter, and her ears grew even hotter. All right, you can go out first. Assistant Chen tried to stifle her laughter as she walked to the door, but still couldn't resist turning back to add, President Shen. Actually, if there's any misunderstanding between a husband and wife, just talking it out is fine. Or apologize. After all, as the old saying goes, couples quarrel at the head of the bed and make up at the foot. Chen Mengzi also thought it made sense. Although they weren't a couple yet, they would be in the future. An image immediately appeared in her mind, her apologizing to me. But the very next second, another image appeared in her mind, me teaching her a harsh lesson. No, men all change. I can't give him any leeway. Besides, since when did she, Chen Mengzi, have to stoop to apologizing to someone like this? She scratched her head in frustration. Her gaze fell on the computer screen in front of her. As if possessed, she typed a few words into the search bar. Misunderstanding between lovers. How to reconcile. The search results were varied. Communicate, apologize, give gifts. There was even flirting and more exercise in bed. Seeing this, her face turned as red as a ripe apple. She covered her face, ignoring the words that made her adrenaline spike. Finally, her gaze settled on the 3 words, give a gift. This method of buying something seemed feasible. It could express her apology without having to say those 3 difficult words. Chen Meng's eyes lit up slightly. She felt this idea wasn't bad, but what to give? She carefully tried to recall and realized she knew very little about me. What did I like? What did I normally use? She didn't know. After thinking and thinking, she couldn't come up with anything. Chen Mengshi had to give up. She temporarily set the thought aside and refocused on her work. On the other side, I took Nai Nai and Nai Long and played to our heart's content all afternoon in the neighborhood park. By the time we got home, it was 4 p.m. I was thinking about dinner. I wondered if Chen Mengzi would be home for dinner and was about to ask. But then I suddenly remembered that I didn't have her contact information. I looked at Nai Nai and asked gently, Nai Nai, shall we go pick up mommy from work? As soon as Nai Nai heard we were going to pick up mommy, she immediately jumped up from the sofa. All her previous fatigue vanished. Nai Nai wants to go pick up mommy. I smiled at my daughter's happy expression. I took the extremely excited Nai Nai's hand and left the apartment. We hailed a cab and went straight to the Shen Group. I led Nai Nai into the company's grand lobby. Hello. Excuse me. Is CEO Chen Mengshi in? I am looking for her. The receptionist smiled. Excuse me. Sir, do you have an appointment? I shook my head. No appointment. I am a friend of CEO Shen. My name is Musier. The receptionist maintained her smile, but her tone became a bit distant. I am sorry, sir. If you don't have an appointment, we can't let you go straight up. Why can't we go up? Nai Nai wants to find mommy. Hearing that she couldn't go up, Nai Nai's little face immediately fell. She tugged at the corner of my shirt. Her voice was filled with clear disappointment. I patted her head and explained. Be good. Nai Nai, we can't just barge into mommy's workplace and disturb her. Let's wait for mommy to get off work. Then well, see her, okay? Nai Nai nodded as if she understood, mumbling softly, okay then. Well, wait here for mommy to get off work. At this moment, a sharp-eyed receptionist recognized Nai Nai. She remembered the little girl she saw at the company gate yesterday. She then connected it to the man, who said he was a friend of CEO Shen. A guess immediately formed in her mind. She didn't dare to delay. She picked up the internal phone and quickly dialed a number. Hello? Is this Assistant Chen? Downstairs, there's a gentleman surnamed Mu with the little girl from yesterday, asking to see CEO Shen. Assistant Chen on the other end heard a gentleman surnamed Mu and the little girl from yesterday, and immediately reacted. She hung up the phone and immediately headed towards the CEO's office. Chen Mengshi looked at her slightly flustered assistant at the door and frowned slightly. What's the rush? CEO Shen, Mr. Mu and the young miss are here. They're in the lobby downstairs. What? Chen Mengzi almost stood up reflexively. She walked around her desk and headed out. Just thinking that her daughter might be waiting downstairs, her steps unconsciously quickened. Assistant Chen immediately grabbed Chen Mengzi's phone, coat, and handbag and followed. She didn't believe that after meeting her husband and daughter, CEO Shen would stay to work. The elevator dinged, arriving at the first floor. The elevator doors slowly opened. Chen Mengshi was the first to step out. Her eyes quickly scanned the lobby. Assistant Chen, holding her coat and bag, followed closely behind. Right near the entrance, she saw the backs of one big and one small figure. Just as they were about to go out, Nai Nai, Chen Mengzi's heart skipped a beat, and she called out subconsciously. The small figure stopped abruptly. Then she quickly turned around and saw her mother. Nai Nai's little face immediately bloomed into a bright smile. Mommy. Nai Nai's sweet voice rang out. She let go of her father's hand and took quick, short steps, pitter-pattering towards Chen Mengzi. Chen Mengzi strode forward to meet her, bending down just as her daughter threw herself into her arms, firmly catching the child's small, soft body. Hugging her tightly, a smile appeared on her face, and I also walked over. I stopped in front of them, looking at the mother and daughter hugging each other tightly. With a gentle gaze, Chen Mengzi stood up straight while holding Nai. Her eyes fell on my face. The earlier embarrassment didn't seem to have completely faded, but her tone was much calmer. Why did you two come here? My eyes flickered slightly. I looked at my daughter and explained. This afternoon, Nai kept mentioning it. She said she wanted to pick you up from work. That's not it. Nai, in her arms, immediately refuted it. Her little head shook like a rattled drum. It was Daddy who said he wanted to pick Mommy up from work. Chen Mengzi's gaze shifted back to me, catching the fleeting awkwardness on my face. An indescribable sense of joy welled up in her heart. The corners of her mouth couldn't help but lift slightly. Exposed by my daughter on the spot, I felt a little embarrassed. The tips of my ears turned slightly red, and I gave a light cough. Avoiding Chen Mengzi's teasing gaze, I explained. I just wanted to come over and ask, are you coming home for dinner tonight? Chen Mengshi didn't answer immediately. She just looked at my slightly flustered appearance. The smile on her face deepened. Giggle. Nai looked at her father's expression and couldn't help but giggle in Chen Mengzi's arms, helpless and amused. I glanced at my daughter. I thought to myself, this precious daughter of mine really knows how to side with outsiders. Nai Nai immediately sensed her father's dissatisfaction. Her little head burrowed into the crook of Chen Mengzi's neck, hugging her mother's neck tightly, her voice full of coquettishness. Mommy, look, Daddy is glaring at me. Chen Mengzi immediately wiped the smile off her face and looked up at me. Her eyes clearly showed she was taking her daughter's side, as if silently blaming me for bullying her daughter. The receptionists standing not far away, and the employees passing by were all stunned, looking at each other. Their eyes were filled with shock and doubt. Is this really our CEO Chen? The one who is usually so stoic and never smiles? Her powerful aura, and a gaze that could freeze people? How did she turn into such a gentle wife? Chen Mengzi noticed the receptionist's stares. A hint of coldness returned to her face. She turned to look at the people at the reception desk and said coldly, from now on, they don't need an appointment when they come. Just let them come straight up to find me. The receptionist hurriedly nodded in unison. Chen Mengzi's gaze shifted to Assistant Chen beside her. Assistant Chen immediately understood, took a step forward, and handed over the phone, coat, and handbag to her. Just as Chen Mengzi was about to reach out and take them, let me. I naturally reached out and took the coat and handbag. Chen Mengzi glanced at me and didn't refuse. After all, he is her future husband. What's wrong with him carrying her bag? At this moment, she felt that having a husband like this was quite nice. We walked out of the Chen group. The car was already waiting outside. In the car, Chen Mengzi tilted her head slightly to look at me. A blush appeared on her face. She took a deep breath and said, about what happened at noon. I misunderstood you. I am sorry. Her voice wasn't loud, carrying a barely perceptible stiffness. Although it was just a few simple words, but for Chen Mengzi, it seemed to have taken a lot of effort. I was slightly taken aback. Then I smiled and said, it's okay. It was also my fault for not refusing immediately. The more I said that, the more embarrassed Chen Mengzi felt. She tried to change the subject. It's still early now. Let's take Nai to buy some clothes first. Yay, buying pretty dresses. Nai immediately got excited and hugged Chen Mengzi's neck. Mommy is the best. Chen Mengzi was amused by her daughter. The awkwardness in her heart dissipated quite a bit. Not long after, the car stopped at a large, luxurious shopping mall. The three of us entered the mall together. A wide variety of goods and exquisite displays caught our eyes. A faint, pleasant fragrance wafted through the air. Chen Mengzi was clearly very familiar with this place. She led us directly to the escalator up to the third floor. The third floor was the children's clothing section. Every store was decorated, like a fairy tale world. When Nai saw these beautiful clothes, her eyes lit up. Mommy, look. That dress is so pretty. Chen Mengzi smiled and nodded. It's very pretty. Let's go in and take a look. The sales clerk immediately gave us a warm welcome. Welcome. What can I help you with? Pick a few for my daughter. Dresses and casual clothes. Nai couldn't wait and ran over. In front of a rack of puffy dresses, her small hand gently touched the soft tulle fabric. Her eyes were filled with adoration. My gaze fell on a pink and blue dress. The design wasn't bad, and the material looked very comfortable. But when my eyes scanned the price tag, my whole body froze for a moment. I blinked my eyes in disbelief. A child's dress costs 20,000. But looking at Chen Mengzi's expression, it was completely normal. Right. She's the CEO of the Chen Group, with assets in the hundreds of billions. This little bit of money is nothing to her. Wait a minute. I am her future husband. Does that also mean I am very rich? Just as I was thinking. Nai, wearing a brand new light yellow dress, ran out like a happy little butterfly. Straight to my feet. Daddy. Look. Do I look pretty in this dress? She looked up. The hem of the dress swayed gently with her movements, further accentuating her small, rosy, and adorable face. I stared in a daze. These eyebrows, these eyes, this demeanor. She is simply a miniature version of Chen Mengzi. Beautiful. Our Nai looks beautiful in anything. Hearing that, Nai was even happier, giggling as she twirled around. Chen Mengzi watched her daughter's joyful appearance. Her eyes were also filled with a smile. She nodded at the sales clerk beside her. Wrap this one up. The sales clerk hurriedly replied. Her face was full of a professional smile. At the same time, at the other end of the third floor of the mall, she is signing linked arms with Chu Yu. Yu, come help me look. My little niece's birthday is coming up. I have to pick out some decent clothes for her. You have good taste. Help me decide. A faint smile touched the corner of Chu Yu's lips. I can help you pick out clothes, but you have to agree to one thing for me. What is it? Don't tell me it's about asking about Mu-ca. Chu Yu smiled non-committally. You don't need to worry about that. Just tell me if you'll help or not. Help. Of course, it'll help. Our Yu has finally fallen for someone. I definitely have to help. Leave it to me. Xia Signing shook her head helplessly, not explaining further. The two of them walked into the adjacent, also luxuriously decorated, children's clothing store while talking and laughing. Xia Signing enthusiastically began to choose, occasionally picking up a small dress or a small coat to ask for Chu Yu's opinion. Chu Yu answered absently. Her eyes casually swept across the store, picking out styles that might suit the little girl. Suddenly, Her gaze caught a familiar figure. In the store opposite them, that woman had a graceful figure and a cold temperament. Even from a distance, you could feel the distinct sense of detachment about her. It was Chen Mengzi. Chu Yu frowned slightly, a flash of doubt in her eyes. Why is Chen Mengzi here? Just as she was wondering, the next second, a little girl toddled over to Chen Mengzi's side. She lifted her small face, her voice clear and bright. Mommy, mommy. Look. Do I look pretty in this dress? Chu Yu's gaze instantly froze. Mommy? Since when did Chen Mengzi have a daughter? Why didn't she know anything about it? Chu Yu's heart was in turmoil. Her eyes were locked on the two people opposite her. Chen Mengzi was bending over gently, adjusting the little girl's dress, her brows filled with tenderness. Although she and Chen Mengzi had only met a few times, she had always worn an icy expression. How could she have such a look on her face? Just as she was indescribably shocked, the little girl in the pretty dress turned around again. Facing another direction, she called out clearly, Daddy, you think it's pretty too, right? Along with this call, my smiling figure appeared in Chu Yu's line of sight. I squatted down. I seemed to say something else, which made the little girl giggle. Daddy. Muke. Chu Yu just felt her mind buzz. As if she had been hit hard by something, her mind went blank for a moment. She widened her eyes in disbelief, looking at the harmonious and happy family of three. They actually have a child? As soon as this thought came up, it was quickly denied by herself. That's not right. Chu Yu forced herself to calm down and quickly analyzed. Muko is only 18 years old now, and this child looks to be at least 4 or 5 years old. The timeline doesn't match at all. Besides, Chen Mengzi doesn't even have a boyfriend. No. Or rather, she doesn't even have any friends. How could she have had a child? Moreover, if Chen Mengzi really had a child, something this big, there's no way there wouldn't be any news in the circle. Could it be an adoption? This speculation seemed to be the only reasonable explanation. Yes, it must be an adoption. Only this could explain it. But adopting a child, then what is their relationship now? Chu Yu's thoughts raced. Her eyes also became deep. No matter what the situation is, the relationship between these two is more than hers. Much more complex and intimate than she imagined. The corner of her mouth lifted slightly. This is getting interesting. Yu. What do you think of this one? Shy Signing came over holding a small pink coat. Seeing Chu Yu staring blankly at the opposite side, she couldn't help but wave a hand in front of her eyes. Hey, what are you staring at? Have you lost your soul? Chu Yu came back to her senses. She quickly concealed the complex emotions in her eyes. She casually averted her gaze and looked at the clothes in Shy Sining's hands. Nothing, she replied nonchalantly. Her tone didn't reveal any abnormality. I just thought I saw someone I knew. I was a little surprised. Shy Sining didn't think much of it. Her attention returned to the clothes. Then quickly help me look at this one. Would it suit my little niece? The color is a bit pale. Children with fair skin can try something brighter. Chu Yu changed the subject expressionlessly, pointing to another rack. That goose yellow little dress over there doesn't look bad. The material is also comfortable. Let's go. Take a look. As she spoke, she pulled Shy Sining towards them, completely averting her gaze from the store opposite. On the other side, Chen Mengzi picked out a few more casual outfits for Nai Co. Chen. The total is 61,800. The smiling sales clerk announced the total price. Chen Mengzi didn't even blink. She took out a black card, her movements smooth and natural. I looked at that number, my heart shaken once again. A few sets of children's clothes cost an ordinary person's salary for a year or even 2 years. Looking at Chen Mengzi, I couldn't help but sigh inwardly. I still know nothing about the world of the rich. After paying, Chen Mengzi directly told the staff to have someone deliver the items to my apartment. Let's go. Chen Mengzi took Nai's small hand and led the way out of the children's clothing store. In her hand, Nai was holding a small teddy bear doll the staff had just given her, while her other hand was held by her mother. She skipped happily. Mommy, where are we going next? Chen Mengzi glanced at me and said in a calm tone, let's buy something for your dad too. For Daddy? Nai looked up at me with her little face. What do you want to buy, Daddy? I was also a bit puzzled. But before I could ask, Chen Mengzi had already led us up to the 4th floor. Chen Mengzi's purpose was very clear. She went straight to a bespoke suit shop. The shop's decor was understated yet luxurious. A neatly dressed employee immediately approached us upon seeing us. His attitude was respectful but not fawning. Take his measurements. Chen Mengzi tilted her head and instructed the employee. I finally understood why Chen Mengzi had brought me here. I instinctively took half a step back and refused. There's no need. I have clothes to wear. This kind of suit is obviously not cheap just by looking at it. If my mother saw this, it'd definitely be in for a round of questioning. Chen Mengzi seemed to have expected my refusal. Her eyes turned a little colder, and she was about to speak, when a female voice, tinged with mockery, came from the side. I was wondering who it was. Turns out it's the great CEO Chen, gracing us with her presence. A woman in a stunning red dress with exquisite makeup walked in. Her gaze swept over Chen Mengzi and me, finally resting on Nai, who was being held by Chen Mengzi. The corner of her mouth lifted into a teasing smile. I never thought our CEO Chen was so capable. Not only hiding a pretty boy in a golden house, but even her daughter is this big already. What good fortune indeed. This voice wasn't loud, but it carried a clear, provocative tone. The speaker was none other than the eldest daughter of the Yang Group, Yang Ziyue, the Yang family and the Chen family. Although they cooperate in business, as the heirs of the two families, Chen Mengxi and Yang Ziyue have not gotten along since childhood. One could even say they were like fire and water. When Chen Mengxi heard these words from Yang Ziyue, her cold eyes immediately darkened. However, an unexpected scene occurred. Nai Nai, who was being held by Chen Mengxi, the moment she saw Yang Ziyu, her eyes suddenly lit up. She pulled her hand away from Chen Mengxis and ran towards Yang Ziyu with her short, pitter-pattering steps. Godmother, a sweet, childish voice echoed in the quiet tailor shop. The mocking smile on Yang Ziyu's face immediately froze. Looking at the little girl hugging her and smiling brightly, she froze completely, her mind blank. Godmother? Who? Her. Chen Mengxi was also completely stunned. Watching her daughter hug Yang Ziyu and call her so affectionately, she was dumbfounded. I was also full of astonishment. I looked at Yang Ziyu, then at Nai Nai, then at Chen Mengxi's unpleasant expression. For a moment, I couldn't grasp the situation. Just then, the door to the inner room was pushed open, and a man in a bespoke suit, looking dapper, walked out. Sis, what do you think of this suit? Yang Wei said halfway through his sentence. His voice suddenly stopped. He unconsciously widened his eyes, only to see a little girl hugging his sister's thigh tightly. Sis, whose kid did you kidnap? As soon as he finished speaking, he seemed to sense something and glanced over. When he saw me standing next to Chen Mengxi, he froze on the spot. He absolutely didn't expect to see me here. I was stunned for a moment. Then my eyes darted back and forth between Yang Wei and Yang Ziyue. Then I pointed at Yang Ziyue and looked at Yang Wei. She's your sister? Yang Wei's face twitched. He forced a smile that was uglier than crying. He nodded stiffly. Yes, she's my sister. I rushed in front of Yang Wei and grabbed his collar. My voice carried an irrepressible anger. You bastard. You've got some nerve. Since middle school, you've always been bumming my toilet paper. When we went to the internet cafe overnight, you'd always say you were short 2 yuan to trick me out of my internet fee. When you ate instant noodles, you had to have a sausage, and you always stole mine. I spoke quickly and urgently, clearly at the peak of my anger. The most ridiculous thing is that you brat, every week, you'd run over to my house to freeload, and you ate more heartily than anyone. Now you're telling me your sister is the eldest daughter of the Yang Group? You're a rich second-generation kid. Good friend. Good friend. Yang Wei put on a fawning expression. Listen to my explanation first. Give me a chance. There's a big misunderstanding here. I glared at Yang Wei, even angrier. This bastard has been pretending to be poor for so many years. He really thinks he's an actor. Fine. I'll give you a chance. You'd better explain it to me clearly. Yang Wei breathed a sigh of relief and was about to speak. Chen Mengxi's cold voice rang out. Let's find somewhere to talk. It's not convenient here. Yang Ziyu immediately nodded in agreement. I'd also really like to know, since when I gained a goddaughter. With that, she tentatively patted Nai Nai's head. The little girl immediately nuzzled against her palm, calling godmother even more sweetly. When Yang Ziyu heard this godmother, her heart softened, and the corners of her mouth unconsciously curved into a smile. But she quickly suppressed it. She looked at Chen Mengxi and snorted lightly. Nai looked at this one, then at that one. In the end, she happily took Chen Mengxi's hand with one hand and tightly held Yang Ziyu's finger with the other. Taking her short little steps, she led the way out of the store, humming an off-key tune. Although Yang Ziyue disliked Chen Mengxi, she wouldn't take it out on a child, so she had no choice but to let the little girl lead her forward. While Yang Wei and I followed the three of them. Yang Wei leaned close to me and lowered his voice. Hey, what's the situation? Why are you shopping with Chen Mengxi and bringing a child along? You're not, like, being a stepfather, are you? I glanced at him and snorted coldly, ignoring him. Seeing that I didn't deny it, Yang Wei immediately felt he had guessed correctly. A pained look appeared on his face. Bro, you've had it rough. But don't worry. I am the young master of the Yang Group now, a true rich second-generation kid. You don't have to rely on a woman anymore. Your brother here will support you for life. I raised an eyebrow and glanced at him. For real. But before Yang Wei could puff out his chest and guarantee it, Chen Mengxi, who was walking ahead, suddenly stopped. She turned around. Her cold gaze shot straight towards Yang Wei, and she said in an icy tone, "There's no need. My husband, I will support him myself." As soon as these words came out, the air seemed to freeze again. Yang Ziyu and Yang Wei almost simultaneously widened their eyes. An embarrassed smile appeared on my face, and my ears felt a little hot. I averted my gaze a little unnaturally. I didn't expect Chen Mengxi to say that, although it was most likely because of Nai Nai. I still felt inexplicably happy. Chen Mengxi also froze. What did I just say? How could I have unconsciously blurted out what was in my heart? But the words were already out. She took Nai's hand, pretending like nothing had happened, and said, "Let's go." Yang Ziyu looked down at the little girl who was tightly holding her finger without letting go. Then she looked at the expressionless Chen Mengzi, and in the end, said nothing and followed them out. The group went to a private room in a coffee shop. The five of them sat facing each other. Yang Ziyu's and Yang Wei's gazes barely left me and Chen Mengzi, as well as Nai, who was sitting obediently between us. Yang Ziyue got straight to the point. "What on earth is going on?" Chen Mengzi didn't answer immediately, but turned to look at me, her eyes questioning. I met her gaze, and suddenly felt like the head of the family. I unconsciously straightened my back. I looked at Yang Wei and Yang Ziyu and said, "You've seen everything. There's no point in hiding it. Besides, she's going to be Nai's godmother in the future." After getting my approval, Chen Mengzi nodded. She looked at the Yang siblings and said calmly, "Her name is Mu Xiao Nei, and her nickname is Nei. She is Mr. Mus and my daughter." What? When Yang Ziyu and Yang Wei heard this, they nearly jumped up from the sofa. Yang Wei's eyes widened. His finger pointed back and forth between me and Nai. His voice also changed. "Daughter? No? You're only 18. How can you have a daughter this big? What kind of joke is this?" Facing Yang Wei's shock, I smiled. I patted Nai's head and said, "It's not a joke. Nai is indeed our daughter, but she came from the future." Yang Wei blinked, looked at Nai, and fell silent. Nai felt his gaze and smiled at him. In a soft voice, she asked, "Uncle, have you still not found a girlfriend yet?" Yang Wei was stunned. What does this mean? Am I still a single dog in the future? Before he could react, Nai climbed onto the table. She patted his shoulder and said in a worldly wise manner, "Uncle, it's okay. In the future, I'll let Nai Long play with you more. That way, you won't be lonely anymore." Hearing this, Yang Wei's face was full of black lines. He looked up at me, only to see me snickering at the side. Seeing this, I also patted his shoulder and said with a sigh, "Tonight, just take Nai Long home with you to bond. Your mom." Yang Wei cursed upon hearing this. Yang Ziyu glanced at Yang Wei. She rubbed her temples, looking speechless. How can this little brother of mine be so stupid? He believes anything. She sighed and spoke up. "Chen Mengzi, even if you want to hide the child's identity, you should at least make up a more normal reason," saying she time traveled from the future. Not even a fool would believe that reason. Chen Mengzi looked at Yang Ziyu's expression. Her cold voice rang out again, calm and unruffled. Nai is my daughter. I have no need to lie to you about this." Her gaze was direct, looking straight at Yang Ziyu. She didn't look like she was lying. Yang Ziyu opened her eyes and met Chen Mengzi's gaze. Then she looked down at Nai sitting there obediently. The little girl was eating a small cake bite by bite, with a little cream on her face. She looked very innocent and pure. Yang Ziyu found herself believing it 30%. That's right. Chen Mengzi had no reason to make up such an absurd lie to deceive her. But this truth was truly too hard to believe. She looked at Nai and fell silent. Chen Mengzi lifted her coffee cup and took a small sip, and continued. As for being Nai's godmother, she hesitated, looked at Nai, and then continued. "If you don't want to, I won't force you." As soon as these words were spoken, Yang Ziyu breathed a sigh of relief. She was about to say okay directly, but when she saw Nai blinking her big, round eyes at her, the words got stuck in her throat. The atmosphere in the room became a little awkward again. I looked from one person to the other. I felt that I couldn't let these two women continue their standoff. I cleared my throat, and my gaze shifted to Yang Wei beside me as I asked, "Hey, how did you suddenly become the young master of the Yang group?" Yang Wei scratched his head, his face showing some embarrassment and helplessness. "It's a long story. Actually, I only found out a few days ago." He sighed and said, "To put it simply, it's that, after my mom divorced my dad, my mom discovered she was pregnant with me. She originally intended to tell my dad, but it turned out my dad had quickly married that young lady. At that time, my mom was disheartened, so she felt there was no need to say anything anymore. She decisively raised me on her own." Yang Wei's voice deepened, carrying a hint of barely perceptible bitterness. After hearing that, the corner of my mouth twitched, and I lowered my voice to ask, "Hey man, they found you. They don't have any ulterior motives for you, do they? Like taking a kidney or something?" "What are you talking about?" Yang Ziyu frowned and glared at me. Then she spoke up to explain. Dad actually always felt guilty towards Yang Wei's mother, but he absolutely didn't know about Yang Wei's existence. I also just happened to investigate and find out what happened back then, not too long ago, and I just told him. The atmosphere in the room was a bit heavy. I looked over at Yang Wei, with a bit more worry in my eyes. Just as I was about to say something, Chen Mengzi's cold voice suddenly rang out, breaking the silence in the room. "It's getting late. We should go." She stood up, without looking at Yang Ziyu and Yang Wei, and directly reached out. One hand grabbed me, and the other pulled Nai, who had finished her cake, and was playing with an empty milk cup. Both Yang Wei and I were stunned. Yang Ziyu was also a little surprised and looked up, but Chen Mengzi didn't give them time to react. She led one big person and one small person towards the door. As Nainai was being pulled away, she didn't forget to turn her head back and wave vigorously at Yang Ziyu. Her clear voice rang out, "Goodbye, godmother." Yang Ziyu looked at the girl's innocent and pure smile. Hearing the words godmother, her heart softened. Chen Mengxi's steps didn't pause. She pulled me and Nainai straight out of the private room of the coffee shop. After leaving the coffee shop and walking for a bit, Chen Mengxi stopped. She took out a card from the small bag she was carrying and held it out in front of me. I froze, looking at her unconsciously, not understanding why. "Huh? What are you giving me this for?" Chen Mengxi looked at me, her gaze calm. Her tone was firm. "This is my supplementary gold card. You take it." I was even more baffled, blinking my eyes. "My man. I'll provide for him myself." Chen Mengxi's face flushed slightly as she spoke again, pushing the card forward. Only then did I react. I quickly waved my hands and explained, "No. I was just joking with Yang Wei earlier. How could I spend your money? I am serious. Besides, I am your wife. So what if you spend my money?" Chen Mengxi's voice was still calm, but she had no intention of taking the card back. Seeing that I wasn't taking it, she pulled my hand and stuffed the gold card into my palm. I held the card, looking at Chen Mengxi, momentarily at a loss for words. Chen Mengxi seemed a little unnatural. The rims of her ears flushed a faint, hard-to-notice red. She didn't look at me anymore, coughed lightly, and let go of my hand. She turned and took Nainai, who was watching them curiously from the side, and strode forward. I stood, rooted to the spot, looking down at the gold card in my hand, then looked up again at Chen Mengxi's departing back. A strange feeling suddenly arose in my heart. Am I being kept now? I couldn't help but touch my nose, but the corners of my mouth couldn't help but curve up. Hey, the feeling of being a kept man seems pretty good. When we got home, as soon as I entered, I voluntarily put on an apron and went into the kitchen to start preparing dinner. Meanwhile, Chen Mengxi played with Nainai in the living room. Occasionally, from the living room, our daughter's clear laughter could be heard, and Neilong's excited whimpers. Not long after, the three of them finished dinner. Nainai quickly found Neilong's leash in the corner, pattered over to the door, and squatted down. She looked at me and Chen Mengxi with an expectant gaze, and said in her childish voice, "Daddy, Mommy, Nainai wants to take Neilong out to play." Neilong cooperatively wagged his tail, letting out an expectant whimper from his throat. Chen Mengxi looked out the window. It was still early, and the night breeze was gentle, a perfect time for a walk. She nodded and looked at me. Of course, I had no objections and replied with a smile, "Okay, let's all go walk Neilong together." After that, the family of three took Neilong for a leisurely stroll along the small path in the residential area. The streetlights cast a warm glow. Everything seemed so quiet and beautiful. After walking a bit, I looked at Chen Mengxi walking shoulder to shoulder beside me, then at Nainai skipping ahead while walking Neilong. After a moment of hesitation, I still opened my mouth to ask, "Mengxi, what do you think about Nainai's situation? Should we find some time to tell your parents? I mean, Nainai's maternal grandparents?" But as soon as I finished speaking, Chen Mengxi beside me stiffened slightly. The gentle expression on her face instantly vanished, replaced by an icy coldness. The corner of her mouth lifted into a faint, cold smile. Her tone was indifferent and distant. "There's no need." I clearly noticed the change in her tone. That sudden coldness made me feel like I had fallen into an ice pit. I turned my head to look. The streetlight outlined the profile of Chen Mengxi's delicate face, but it was now covered with a layer of unapproachable distance. The doubt in my heart grew even stronger, but I wasn't foolish enough to press the issue right now. Silence spread between the two of us. I wanted to say something, to comfort her, but I didn't know where to start. I raised my hand. My arm stopped midair. My gaze fell on her somewhat slender shoulders. Hug her. As soon as the thought appeared, my courage faltered. If I really hug her, will she jab me with her elbow? Will she punch me? I hesitated greatly. My raised hand faltered, and then was gently lowered again. I composed myself and raised my hand again, the movement even slower than before. If you look closely, you could even see my hand trembling slightly. From the corner of her eye, Chen Mengxi noticed the movement beside her. She saw me raise my hand and then lower it again, that cautious look, wanting to touch but not daring to. She couldn't help but find it a little funny. What a coward. As for me, I gathered my resolve, and my arm rose once more, before I could make my next move. Chen Mengxi suddenly reached out, grabbed my hand, and placed it directly on her own shoulder. I froze. I still hadn't processed what had just happened. Chen Mengxi had already moved half a step closer to me, tilting her head slightly. She gently rested her head on my shoulder. Her soft hair brushed against my neck, carrying a faint fragrance. My entire body stiffened instantly. I could feel the softness and warmth coming from my shoulder, and my breath was filled with the scent of her pure hair. My mind went blank for a moment. I unconsciously followed her forward, but because I was too tense, my limbs weren't quite coordinated as I walked. I started walking with my right arm and right leg in sync. Chen Mengxi clearly felt the stiffness of my body and my clumsy steps. The corner of her mouth couldn't help but curve up slightly. She leaned on my shoulder, listening to my somewhat ragged breathing next to her ear. Her mood suddenly improved quite a bit. Just then, Nainai, walking Nailong, turned around and saw her mother leaning on her father's shoulder. The little girl smiled and held her small hands out to me, sweetly saying, "Daddy, carry me." I looked at my daughter's adorable expression, and the corners of my mouth couldn't help but curve up slightly. I bent down slightly and picked her up with one arm. Nainai, held in her father's arms, imitated Chen Mengxi's earlier posture, placing her little head on my shoulder and nuzzling comfortably. She let out a series of giggles. Her eyes sparkled as she looked at Chen Mengxi, as if showing off that she was being carried by her dad. Chen Mengxi watched her daughter's small action of imitating her, and a smile appeared on her face. The gloom in her heart unconsciously dissipated. For some reason, she felt a little dissatisfied. She unconsciously let out a soft huff. Woof woof. At this moment, Nailong looked at the three of them and barked twice in dissatisfaction. Then, he walked in circles around my Aunt Chen Mengxi's legs, his fluffy tail wagging vigorously, trying to get their attention. Nainai heard Nailong's barking, and finally noticed her little friend who had been neglected. She lifted her head from my arms, looked at Nailong, and said, "Daddy, does Nailong want to be carried too?" I looked at my daughter and couldn't help but laugh out loud. I tilted my head to look at Chen Mengxi, and saw that she was also looking at me, a faint smile playing on her lips. Her eyes reflected the streetlights, warm and gentle. The coldness and distance from a moment ago, caused by the mention of her family, seemed to have quietly dissolved in this moment. I smiled, gently patting the little head snuggling against me, and said, "Let's go home." Although Nainai was a bit reluctant, she still obediently nodded. Okay. Chen Mengxi also took the opportunity to lift her head from my shoulder and gently stroke Nainai's head, saying, "Let's go home. Mommy will give you a bath and tell you a story." Yay! Nainai immediately cheered up. Then I carefully put Nainai down. The little girl immediately took Nailong's leash again. Chen Mengxi naturally took Nainai's other hand. The family of three, with Nailong in tow, walked towards home. Back home. The entryway light turned on. After I changed my shoes, Chen Mengxi led Nainai long into the living room one step ahead. "Nainai, let's go take a bath." Chen Mengxi's voice echoed from the living room. "Okay," Nainai replied, dropping Nailong's leash, and pattered after Chen Mengxi into the bathroom. After I tidied up the things at the door, I could faintly hear the sound of rushing water, and Nainai's occasional laughter coming from the bathroom. I went to the living room and saw Nailong lying on the rug, wagging his tail listlessly. Not long after, the bathroom door opened. Chen Mengxi had wrapped a large bath towel around a fragrant, freshly bathed Nainai and stepped out. She carried Nainai and placed her on the large bed in the master bedroom, carefully drying the water droplets on the little girl's body, then changed her into a clean, soft set of pajamas. Nainai lay on the soft, large bed, hugging Chen Mengxi's arm. Her small face nuzzled dependently as she whined, "Mommy, Nainai wants to sleep with Mommy." I had just walked into the room. Hearing my daughter's words, I unconsciously started to persuade her. "Nainai, be good. Mommy has to go to work tomorrow. She'll be very tired." "No." Before I could finish my sentence, Chen Mengxi had already looked down at the little girl in her arms and replied gently, "Okay." Nainai immediately broke into a happy smile. Her arms around Chen Mengxi's neck tightened. "Yeah, Mommy is the best." After speaking, she stuck her tongue out at me with a triumphant expression. I watched this scene, slightly stunned. I looked at the doting and gentle expression on Chen Mengxi's face towards our daughter. Something in my heart seemed to be gently stirred. Then, the corners of my lips unconsciously tilted up. However, before I could think too much, Chen Mengxi had already looked up, her calm gaze meeting mine. Her tone carried a hint of amusement as she said, "Then I'll have to trouble you to sleep on the sofa tonight." The smile on my lips immediately froze. I moved my lips, wanting to say something but couldn't, and could only nod helplessly. "All right, then." I turned to the wardrobe and opened the door. I found a clean, thin blanket inside, hugged it, and reluctantly left the room. Chen Mengxi watched me holding the thin blanket, my back looking somewhat lonely as I walked out of the room. The corners of her lips couldn't help but curve into a mischievous smile. She withdrew her gaze, looking at Nainai, who was already a bit drowsy on the bed, and gently patted the little girl's bottom, saying, "Good girl. Nainai, Mommy is going to take a quick shower. I'll be right back with you." "Okay. Hurry back." "Mommy." Nainai rubbed her eyes and replied obediently. Chen Mengxi got up and walked out of the master bedroom. She saw me preparing to spread the blanket on the living room sofa. She paused for a moment and asked, "Do you have any pajamas?" My action of spreading the blanket froze. I turned my head to look at her. "Huh? Pajamas? Where would a guy like me get pajamas?" I scratched my head, as if trying hard to think. "Oh, that's right. I seem to remember something." I put down the blanket in my hands and waved at Chen Mengxi. "Follow me." Chen Mengxi followed me back to the master bedroom. I walked to the wardrobe and opened the door. I took out a brand new face towel from inside, then found a neatly folded white shirt and a pair of what looked like sports shorts. I handed them to Chen Mengxi, saying, "This shirt and shorts, I've only worn them once. They've been washed and put away. No one else has worn them. The towel is new and unused. See if these will do. I looked at her, a little uncertain, afraid she would find them unsuitable. Chen Mengxi's gaze fell on the neatly folded shirt and shorts. Then she looked at my slightly tense expression and took them. Her tone was calm. Okay. After speaking, she took the clothes and towel, turned, and went into the private bathroom in the master bedroom. I watched the bathroom door close and let out a sigh of relief. I walked to the bedside, looking at Nine Eye, who was about to fall asleep, and gently tucked her in. I could faintly hear the sound of rushing water from the bathroom. For some reason, my heart started beating a little faster. In my mind, I couldn't control the image of the soft feeling from when Chen Mengzi leaned on my shoulder earlier, and the pure fragrance of her hair. I shook my head, trying to dispel these distracting thoughts, but my face felt a little hot. About 10 minutes later, the bathroom door clicked open. I unconsciously looked towards the sound, only to see Chen Mengzi step out. She was wearing my slightly oversized white shirt, which only reached her mid-thigh, revealing a pair of jade-like legs that were straight, slender, fair, and well-proportioned. Her long, wet hair clung to her cheeks and neck, accentuating her already fair skin. She had just finished bathing. Her face had a natural blush, and her eyes were sparkling and clear, like a freshly bloomed hibiscus. Within her elegance, there was an unconscious charm. I stared blankly, my eyes fixed on her, forgetting to look away. Chen Mengzi noticed my unconcealed gaze. She looked up at me, just in time to meet my somewhat dazed eyes. Not only did she not feel offended, but on the contrary, an indescribable joy rose in her heart. The corners of her lips tilted up slightly, carrying a hint of teasing. She asked softly, "Am I beautiful?" "Beautiful." I almost blurted out. As soon as the word left my mouth, I snapped to my senses, realizing what I'd just said. My cheeks immediately flushed red, like a thief caught in the act. I quickly averted my gaze, my eyes darting away, not daring to look at her anymore, and stammered, that is, no. It's getting late. You two should get some rest. I'll head out first." After saying that, I practically fled, quickly out of the master bedroom. Even my back looked somewhat pathetic. Chen Mengzi watched my fleeing figure, and couldn't help but let out a soft chuckle. She walked to the bed and sat down. She reached out and gently pinched Naina's chubby cheek. Nine Eye was slightly tickled by her mother's touch. She sleepily opened her eyes and looked towards Chen Mengzi. Her childish voice asked, "Mommy, Nine Eye is sleepy." She stroked Nai's little head, then lay down beside her, holding Nai tightly in her arms. Nai smelled the familiar scent and quickly fell asleep. As for me, in the living room, I wasn't sleepy at all. I lay on my back on the sofa, staring at the ceiling. Whenever I closed my eyes, the image of Chen Mengzi wearing my shirt would appear vividly in my mind, her slightly damp hair, her fair, slender, jade-like legs. I could almost feel my cheeks heating up again. I frustratedly ruffled my hair and changed positions. My mind was in chaos. One moment, it was the soft feeling when Chen Mengzi leaned on my shoulder. The next, it was her elegant yet somewhat seductive appearance from earlier. I tossed and turned restlessly until the sky outside began to brighten, and sleepiness finally overcame me. The morning sun streamed through the window, illuminating the living room. I was woken by the dazzling sunlight. I rubbed my eyes, sat up, glanced at my phone. It was past 7 o'clock, and threw off the blanket. I grabbed my wallet and keys, stealthily opened the door, and went out, planning to buy some breakfast. Not long after I left, in the bedroom, Chen Mengzi was woken by a heavy pressure. She groggily opened her eyes. It felt like a small rock was pressing on her stomach. She looked down, only to see that Nai had somehow rolled on top of her. Her little head was resting on her stomach, sleeping very soundly, drool about to spill. Chen Mengzi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She reached out and patted her daughter's little bottom. "Little lazy pig," she said with a soft laugh. She carefully lifted her daughter and placed her on the pillow next to her. Then she stretched her arms wide. This sleep had been incredibly comfortable. The fatigue in her body had completely vanished. She felt light all over, refreshed and invigorated. She picked up her phone to check the time. It was already 7:30. Chen Mengzi was slightly taken aback. Her biological clock had always been very precise. She would definitely wake up at 6 a.m. every morning. This habit had been formed since she was very young, and had never changed. Moreover, she was a very light sleeper in new beds. Changing sleeping places would usually cause insomnia or restless sleep. But last night, in this unfamiliar room, she had actually slept straight through until now, and slept very well at that. She pushed aside the thoughts in her head, gently threw back the thin blanket, and got out of bed. After a simple wash-up, Chen Mengzi changed back into her own clothes. She put my shirt and shorts into the washing machine basket, then she walked out of the master bedroom. The living room was empty. My figure was not on the sofa. Only a messy blanket remained. Where did he go? A flicker of doubt crossed Chen Mengzi's mind. As she was thinking, the door lock made a soft click. Immediately after, the door was pushed open, and I rushed in like a gust of wind, carrying several plastic bags in my hand. Inside were steamed buns and hot soy milk. But my expression was clearly panicked. "What's wrong?" Chen Mengzi looked at my state. Her heart tightened, and she asked unconsciously, I threw the breakfast onto the dining table, almost spilling the soy milk, ran a few steps to stand in front of Chen Mengzi, and lowered my voice. My tone was urgent. My mom's here. She's almost here. Teacher is here. Chen Mengzi's eyes widened instantly. Panic quickly rose in her heart. What do we do now? Chen Mengzi's voice also carried a faint tension. Her appearance right now, and being here with Nainai. How could she explain this to teacher? There was clearly no time to think it through. My brain was also working at full capacity. I glanced towards the bedroom, then back at Chen Mengzi, and made an instant decision. You hide first. Without waiting for Chen Mengzi to react, I grabbed Chen Mengzi's wrist and headed towards the master bedroom. Quick, get inside. Mommy? Just then, Nainai called out, rubbing her sleepy eyes, with a nasal, just woken up voice. My steps faltered. I suddenly slapped my forehead. Only then did I remember there was another child. I let go of Chen Mengzi and picked up the just sat up Nainai with one arm, who was rubbing her eyes. The little girl was still not fully awake. She groggily hugged her dad's neck. I carried Nainai and quickly walked over to Chen Mengzi's side, and without a word, stuffed Nainai into her arms. You hold Nainai and hide inside first. Hide where? Chen Mengzi, holding her warm and soft daughter, was a bit bewildered. The wardrobe. Hurry, I said, glancing at the large wardrobe beside us. Knock, knock, knock. Just then, a knock came from outside, making both me and Chen Mengzi jump. Get in, quick. I hurriedly pushed Chen Mengzi into the wardrobe. Oh, right. Absolutely do not make a sound, not even a peep. My mom's hearing is very sharp. If she finds out I am hiding a beauty in the house, she'll definitely break my legs. At this point, Chen Mengzi didn't have time to worry about such things. She held the still drowsy Nainai and quickly got into the wardrobe. She also hadn't figured out at all how she should face her former teacher, especially in this situation. I carefully closed the wardrobe door, leaving only a small crack for air. I took a deep breath, wiped non-existent sweat from my forehead, and then adjusted my clothes, trying to make myself look a little calmer. Then I quickly walked to the door, took another deep breath, and opened the door. Outside the door, Fu Yanji was holding an insulated container. She asked with a slightly displeased expression, "Why did it take you so long to open the door?" I scratched my head and explained with a sheepish grin, "I was just changing my clothes. Don't you have a class at 10? Oh, right. So early in the morning, why did you suddenly come over?" Fu Yanji walked into the apartment, handed me the container, and said, "Yesterday, your uncle brought over a fish. Your dad just finished cooking it this morning. He thought you would definitely like it. So I brought some over for you." I took the container, feeling a wave of emotion welling up inside me, and said with a smile, "Mom, you're so good to me." Fu Yanji shot me a look, her expression showing a hint of disdain. She didn't continue but asked, "By the way, son, why has this door been changed?" I almost thought I went to the wrong door. I opened the container and sniffed it. I swallowed my saliva uselessly and explained, "The old door had some problems, so I found someone to replace it." Fu Yanji nodded without asking further. She bent down to change her shoes. Just then, her eyes caught sight of something in the entryway. A pair of exquisite high heels. I also saw the high heels on the floor. My heart immediately leaped into my throat. I silently cursed myself for being so careless and forgetting to put away the shoes. Before Fu Yanji could ask, I quickly spoke up. "Geez, my sister is so messy, always leaving things everywhere." With that said, I pretended to be annoyed and used my foot to kick the high heels aside, my movement a bit rough, trying to hide my panic. Fu Yanji gave me a suspicious glance, but didn't pursue it. She knew her daughter's habits well. She changed into a pair of slippers and walked straight into the apartment. I followed behind, my heartbeat still not completely steady. From the corner of my eye, I saw the high heels I had kicked into the corner, and silently rejoiced at getting away with it. Fu Yanji went to the living room, and immediately saw the messy blanket on the sofa. Her brows furrowed slightly. She turned to look at me and asked, "Did you stay up late playing games with Yang Wei again last night?" I glanced at the blanket on the sofa, and quickly nodded with a forced smile. "Ah, yes, we played a little late. How many times have I told you? Don't stay up so late, it's not good for your health." Fu Yanji shot me an annoyed look, her tone carrying both reproach and concern. I know. I nodded perfunctorily, while praying inwardly that my mom wouldn't find any loopholes. Fu Yanji walked to the sofa and bent down to start folding the blanket. Her movements were skilled. As she folded, she asked casually, "By the way, what exactly happened yesterday, huh?" I froze, my heart leaping again. I asked guiltily, "What happened?" Fu Yanji's folding movements paused. She snorted coldly and glanced up at me. Her tone unconsciously grew a few degrees more serious, still playing dumb with me. She finished folding the blanket and placed it in a corner of the sofa. She straightened up. Her gaze fell on my face as she said, "You think about it carefully yourself. Tell me after you've thought it through." As soon as she said this, a cold sweat immediately broke out on my back. Could it be that mom knows? Impossible. Besides me and Chen Mengzi, absolutely no third person knows. My brain was working at high speed. All possibilities flashed through my mind. My heart was pounding. but I had to maintain a calm expression on my face, just as I was breaking out in a cold sweat and wondering how to deal with the situation. Fu Yanji looked at his changing expression and asked, "Are you in a relationship?" I suddenly looked up. I couldn't quite react in time. A relationship? I was stunned for a moment, then I immediately understood. It must be Professor XU. Yesterday, Professor XU came to talk to me. He asked for Mom's phone number. That old man must have tattled to my mom. I immediately started complaining silently in my heart. That rotten old man can't keep his word. He said he was magnanimous, but he stabbed me in the back as soon as he turned around. But knowing that my mom was asking about this, I secretly let out a sigh of relief. At least it wasn't about Chen Mengxi being exposed. Fu Yanji glanced at me, knowing exactly what I was thinking. She raised her hand and lightly smacked my head. This kid can't tell good from bad. Her voice carried a hint of helplessness. Professor Xu was only doing it out of respect for your grandfather. That's why he cared to say a few words. If it were someone else, he wouldn't even bother with your trivial matters. Fu Yanji let out a sigh, her tone softening. You're an adult now. Falling in love. Having a girlfriend. I won't forbid it. That's your own business. She hesitated for a moment, her gaze turning serious. She stared intently at me. But there's one thing I have to make clear to you beforehand. You must use protection. She looked her son up and down and warned. If you dare make me a grandmother right now, I'll beat you so bad you'll become my grandson instead. Even if your maternal grandparents came, they wouldn't be able to protect you. That's what Mom said. The corner of my mouth couldn't help but twitch. I hurriedly raised my hand to reassure her. Mom, don't worry. I am not even in a relationship yet. And even if I were, I wouldn't have the guts to do that. Hearing this, Fu Yanjie nodded in satisfaction. Right after, she folded the blanket on the sofa in a few movements and carried it towards the bedroom. Hey, Mom, let me. Seeing that, my heart skipped a beat again. I quickly took the blanket from Fu Yanjie's hands. Fu Yanjie didn't fight me for it and handed it over smoothly. Then, naturally, she lifted her foot. Get ready to go into the master bedroom. Just put it in the bedroom. I didn't dare to refuse and responded with an okay. Then I walked towards the bedroom. At the same time, inside the bedroom closet, the light was dim. It was also a bit stuffy. Nei's small body, pressed close, nestled in Chen Meng X's arms. Her warm breath tickled the nape of her neck. The little girl looked up, her big, round eyes like black grapes, looking at her mother in the darkness. Her voice was very low, like a little kitten. Mommy, why do we have to hide in the closet? Chen Mengxi's heart tightened. She quickly placed her index finger to her lips, making a shushing gesture to her daughter. She leaned close to Nai's ear and explained in a whisper. Shh, we're playing hide and seek with Daddy. We can't let Daddy find us. If he finds us, we lose. Children are always full of interest in games. Nai understood immediately. She nodded vigorously, her small hand obediently covering her mouth. Her eyes sparkled brightly. Just then, the bedroom door was pushed open. I quickly walked to the closet, not looking closely at all. I reached out and pulled the door open a crack. I quickly stuffed the blanket in my hands inside. Then I quickly closed the closet door again. Almost at the same time, Fu Yanji's voice came from the bedroom doorway. If you're in a relationship, you don't need to hide it. Just tell me directly. If you don't have enough money, just say so. Don't let someone else's daughter suffer. Everyone is their parents' treasure. You hear me? I had my back to the door. A wave of warmth suddenly rose in my heart. Mom still cares about me. But on second thought, Chen Mengxi is the CEO of the Chen Group. Suffer? Would she ever suffer? Before I could answer, Nai suddenly moved inside the closet. She had heard clearly just now. That voice was all too familiar to her. She lowered the small hand covering her mouth, leaning close to Chen Mengx's ear. She whispered, Mommy, that's Grandma. Chen Mengxi reacted extremely quickly. Almost as soon as Nai opened her mouth, she reached out her hand again. She covered her daughter's mouth, using just the right amount of force, just enough to stop her from saying any more. Her eyes revealed an unprecedented tension. She shook her head firmly at her daughter and made the shushing gesture once more. Nai was startled by her mother's serious expression. Her big eyes blinked. Although she didn't understand why she couldn't call her grandma, she still obediently kept her mouth shut and made no more sounds. However, this tiny sound did not escape Fu Yanji's ears. She was about to say something more when she suddenly stopped walking. Her eyebrows furrowed slightly. She cocked her ear, listening for any movement in the bedroom. She spoke with suspicion. Mom, what's wrong? My heart was pounding, but my voice showed no hint of panic as I asked. She paused for a moment, then said with some uncertainty, I think I just heard a child talking. Immediately appeared on my face, a flash of unconcealable panic. I felt my heart skip a beat. A thin layer of sweat almost instantly broke out on my back. I forced myself to calm down. I managed to force a somewhat exaggerated smile onto my face. I tried to cover it up with a teasing tone. Mom, could it be that you're eager to be a grandma already? If you want to, then don't count on me. You can count on that old sister of mine. Hearing this, Fu Yanji looked speechless and said in frustration, don't mention her to me. She made 3 matchmakers quit in a week. I don't have a daughter like that. I awkwardly retracted my smile, but in my mind, I was quickly calculating how to change the subject. Oh, right, Mom. Today is Friday. Don't you have to go to school? To teach? Fu Yenji waved her hand, saying she had no classes today. As soon as she finished speaking, she seemed to suddenly remember something. She slapped her forehead. Oh my, I almost forgot. I made an appointment with your aunt to go for a checkup today. I have to hurry. With that, she opened the door and walked out. I let out a heavy sigh of relief. I felt my entire back was soaked in cold sweat. I touched my forehead. Only then did I realize my palms were also covered in sweat. I didn't dare to delay. I quickly turned around and rushed back into the bedroom. I went to the closet and pulled the door open. The closet door opened, revealing Chen Meng's slightly pale face. Seeing me, her tense nerves finally relaxed. Guessing that the teacher had left, she also breathed a sigh of relief. She carried Nei Nei out of the closet. Only then did I notice Nei Nei's small hands. They were still tightly covering her eyes. I looked at Chen Meng's eye. I asked with some confusion, "What's wrong with Nei Nei?" A look appeared on Chen Meng's face, an expression that was both helpless and amused. She explained in a low voice, "Just now, to keep her from making a sound, I told her that we were playing hide and seek with you." Hearing that, I laughed and reached out to gently tickle Nei Nei's armpits. The little girl had been holding it in for so long, she finally couldn't hold it in anymore and giggled. She removed her small hands from her eyes, revealing her large, watery eyes. Seeing her dad, she immediately reached out her hands. Her childish voice called out, "Daddy, Carrie, Carrie." I smiled and picked my daughter up in my arms. I kissed her soft little face. I bounced the little one in my arms and said gently, "Let's go. Daddy will take you to wash your face and brush your teeth." I walked to the dining table in the living room. I took out a brand new toothbrush and toothpaste set. I turned and went into the bedroom, handing the items to Chen Meng's. I explained, "I bought them this morning when I was getting breakfast. They're all new." Chen Meng's looked at the things in my hand. She was slightly stunned. Immediately after, a warmth spread through her heart. She reached out to take them and said softly, "Thank you." I smiled. I carried Nei Nei towards the bathroom. Seeing this, Chen Mengji also followed them to the bathroom. The bathroom wasn't big. The three of them squeezed inside. I held Nei Nei with one hand and held a small toothbrush in the other. I patiently helped my daughter squeeze the toothpaste. Chen Mengsai stood beside us, holding the newly unwrapped toothbrush. She looked at the father and daughter in the mirror. The corners of her mouth unconsciously tilted up slightly. The bathroom space was a bit cramped. Their arms would occasionally brush against each other, bringing an imperceptible warmth. After washing up, I used a towel to wipe Nei Nei's little face clean. Her skin was soft, like a peeled egg. I carried Nei Nei out of the bathroom, with Chen Mengsai following behind. I placed the insulated food container on the table and gently opened the lid. Instantly, a rich, fresh aroma filled the air. It carried the distinct fragrance of being stewed with medicinal herbs and ingredients. Wow, it smells so good. Nei Nei's little nose sniffed hard. Her sparkling eyes stared intently at the container. She was practically drooling. Chen Mengshi smelled the rich, enticing aroma. She couldn't help but swallow. I smiled. I turned and went into the kitchen to get 3 clean bowls and spoons. I carefully ladled out 3 bowls of soup. The broth was rich in color. The ingredients inside looked very tenderly stewed. I placed 1 bowl in front of Chen Mengxi first. Then I pushed a bowl to where Nei Nei could reach it. Finally, I set down my own bowl. "Be careful. It's hot," I reminded them, my gaze sweeping over the mother and daughter's faces. Chen Mengxi picked up her spoon and gently blew on it. She took a small spoonful and put it in her mouth. As soon as the soup entered her mouth, a rich, savory flavor spread and warmth slid down her throat. I watched her expression, asking with a bit of anticipation, "How is it? Is it good?" Chen Mengxi looked up. Our eyes met. She nodded sincerely. "Machim, it's delicious." On the other side, Nei Nei was already eagerly holding her small bowl. She mimicked her mother, blowing on it, then carefully took a small sip. "It's yummy." Her eyes curved into crescents. She lowered her head and took another sip. A greasy ring formed around her little mouth. After finishing, she smacked her lips in satisfaction. Her little face was filled with happiness. I looked at my daughter's satisfied expression. An indescribable sense of pride swelled in my heart. It was as if I had cooked this soup myself. Chen Mengji put down her spoon and looked at me with a hint of curiosity. "I didn't expect your cooking skills to be this good." I nodded. I said with a proud expression, "He loves to study food." My cooking skills were basically all taught by him. Chen Meng, she nodded slightly and didn't ask much. Back when she was a student, she had heard her teacher mention that her uncle was a great cook, but she never expected it to be this good. Not long after, the 3 of them had eaten and drunk their fill. After I cleared the dishes from the table, I went and sat down on the living room sofa. I casually took out my phone. My fingertips swiped idly across the screen as I scrolled through my phone. My gaze unintentionally swept over the quiet figure of Chen Mengxi sitting at the dining table. I remembered that I didn't seem to have her contact information yet. I looked up at Chen Mengzai in a rather natural tone. I spoke up. Hey, let's exchange contact information. It'll be convenient for contacting each other later. As I spoke, I unlocked my phone. I held the screen up. Chen Mengxi was slightly taken aback. She then nodded and reached out to take the phone. Her fingertips were a bit cold as they touched the edge of the phone. She typed smoothly on the keyboard, entering a string of numbers. Pausing for a moment, she opened WeChat and searched for her own number. She added herself as a friend. After doing all this, she handed the phone back to me. I took the phone. My fingertips unconsciously swiped the screen open. I saw the new contact was Chen Meng Xi. I also saw the new name in my contact list. Chen Meng X's WeChat profile picture was a clear blue sky. As if possessed, I tapped on her Moments. Her Moments feed was completely empty. There wasn't a single post. I stared at that blank space. My curiosity about Chen Mengxi deepened even more. I recalled last evening, when I accidentally mentioned her parents, her mood instantly plummeted. My finger twitched slightly. I opened the chat interface with Yang Wei. I quickly typed a line. Ask your sister if she knows about the situation at Chen Mengxi's home, especially about her parents. The message was replied to almost instantly. Yang Wei's message appeared on the screen. It was just an annoying sticker with 2 words on it. Call me dad. A vein throbbed on my forehead. I was speechless for a moment. This kid really would tear the roof off if he wasn't beaten for 3 days. I took a deep breath. My finger already on the input box. I was about to type out a curse when the cool voice of Chen Mengxi suddenly sounded, carrying a questioning tone. Mu Xie, Nai Nai is already 4 years old. Do you think we should send her to kindergarten? I heard Chen Mengxi's words. I looked up from my phone screen and thought for a moment. I felt she had a point. After all, I had to go to school. Chen Mengxi also had to go to work. We couldn't always have our daughter with us. Besides, at Nai's age, she really needed to interact with peers, to build her own little social circle. I nodded, expressing my agreement. You're right, Nai should go to kindergarten. It's good for her to get to know more kids. As soon as I finished, I seemed to remember an important issue. My eyebrows furrowed slightly. But I looked at Chen Mengxi. My tone carried a hint of uncertainty. With Nai's current situation, can she go to school without a household registration? Hearing this, Chen Mengxi remained very calm, as if she had already considered this issue. You don't need to worry about this, she said softly. The Chen group has invested in a few pretty good kindergartens. I can arrange for Nai's direct enrollment. I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, I also had a clearer understanding of Chen Mengxi's capabilities. I nodded. That's great. Then, I turned my head to look at the little girl who was curiously watching them. A gentle smile appeared on my face. Nai, do you want to go to kindergarten to play with other kids? Nai's big eyes immediately lit up. Her little face was filled with anticipation and excitement. Nai wants to go to kindergarten. As she spoke, she even clapped her hands happily. Seeing my daughter's joyful appearance, my mood also became more cheerful. I unconsciously glanced at the time on my phone screen. It was already past 9 o'clock. I stood up. I have to go to school now. I have class this morning. Chen Mengxi, almost unconsciously, stood up as well, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. Her voice became a few shades softer as she said, "Let me take you." I picked up my backpack from the sofa and shook my head. No need to bother. I can get there quickly on my own bike. I stood up straight and reminded Chen Mengxi, there's fruit in the fridge. If you get hungry, have some first. Wait for me to come back at noon to cook for you too. Chen Mengxi's gaze flickered, and the corners of her mouth tilted up slightly, but a faint, imperceptible trace of disappointment flashed through her heart. It vanished quickly. She nodded gently and replied, "Okay, be careful on your way." I responded, slinging my backpack over my shoulder. I waved to them, turned towards the door, opened it, and walked out. Chen Mengxi stood where she was, watching the tightly closed door. An indescribable feeling welled up in her heart. Half an hour later, my figure appeared in the multimedia classroom of University A. Quite a few students were already seated in the classroom. The sound of whispers and flipping pages mingled together, creating the characteristic atmosphere before class. I scanned the room. I found an empty seat at the back and walked over. I placed my backpack on the chair next to me. Just as I settled in, "You're here so early," a familiar voice sounded beside me. Yang Wei had appeared next to me at some point. He plopped down and casually threw his bag onto the desk. I tilted my head to look at him and asked in a low voice, "Well, how's that thing I asked you to check on?" Yang Wei twisted open a bottle of mineral water and took a big gulp. Then he slowly opened his mouth and said, "My sister said that Chen Mengxi's parents are a famously loving couple in their social circle. They haven't even blushed at each other in decades, and there have never been any rumors of affairs." He hesitated for a moment, shrugged, and said, "As for more specific details, like their private situation, she doesn't know." I frowned slightly after hearing Yang Wei's words. I unconsciously shook my head. Impossible. Yang Wei was about to take another sip of water. Hearing that, he paused and looked at me curiously. Why impossible? Why would my sister lie to me? I lowered my voice to explain. Last night, Chen Mengxi and I were walking in the neighborhood. and I accidentally mentioned her parents. Her reaction was very calm. You could even say it was a bit cold. It wasn't the kind of expression one should have when talking about close parents. Yang Wei rubbed his chin. He said thoughtfully, "This is getting a little interesting." His eyes darted around, and he lowered his voice to guess. "Hey, Muke, do you think it's like in the novels? A couple in name only, actually a business marriage, with no feelings involved?" Hearing that, my heart stirred. That possibility wasn't out of the question. After all, who can really say what goes on in wealthy families? I shook my head again. If it's really as you say, Chen Mengxi would definitely be a Yander, but she seems very normal, and interacting with her doesn't show any signs of being a Yander, so she probably didn't grow up in that kind of environment. I can't figure it out. I decided to stop worrying about it. Then I turned to Yang Wei and changed the subject. "What about you? When are you going back to the Yang family home?" Yang Wei tightened the bottle cap. He blurted out, "Probably tomorrow." He then seemed to remember something. His eyes lit up, and he took out his phone. He opened a car brand's website and held it in front of me. "Come on, take a look." "Which model do you like?" Confused, I looked at the phone's screen, which displayed images of various cool sports cars. "Why are we looking at this?" "It's a gift for you." "Of course." Yang Wei said it as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. I said, "I'd take care of you for life." "So I'll take care of you for life." Hearing that, my heart trembled, and my eyes reddened for a moment. A wave of warmth surged through my heart. I looked at Yang Wei's expression and knew he wasn't joking. I was even more moved. That's what a good brother is for. Just as I was immersed in the touching brotherly sentiment, the back door of the multimedia classroom was gently pushed open by someone. Two beautiful figures walked in, one after the other, immediately drawing the attention of almost everyone in the class. The one in front was a female student in a white dress with shoulder-length hair and a gentle demeanor. Following her was a female student in a black JK uniform with a high ponytail, looking very lively and cute. Holy crap, Yang Wei's eyes widened, and he nudged me hard with his elbow. He lowered his voice, his tone full of astonishment. "The campus belle of the arts department. Xia Ning, and why are they here in our Chinese department class?" I followed his gaze. They were indeed two very eye-catching girls, but I paid them no mind, just giving them a casual glance. I then looked away. My tone was calm. "Don't know them." Just as I finished speaking, I was about to look back down at my phone when I noticed the two girls walking straight towards us. The gazes of the surrounding students also followed their footsteps. The sound of whispers and chatter rose incessantly. Who are they looking for? It seems like they're heading for that top student. Under everyone's watchful eyes, Chu Yu Wu in the white dress actually stopped at the empty seat next to me. Then she leisurely sat down. Xia Ning sat next to Chu Yu Wu. I myself was clueless and frowned slightly. The Yang Wei next to me was so shocked, his jaw nearly hit the floor. His mouth formed an O as he looked at Chu Yu Wu, then back at my bewildered self. His eyes were filled with disbelief. What is this situation? Could it be that the campus belle really likes him? Chu Yu Wu seemed to ignore the reactions around her. She leaned over to look at me, a perfectly sweet smile on her face, her voice gentle. "Hello, classmate." I nodded politely. "Hello, my name is Chu Yu Wu, from the arts department." Chu Yu Wu introduced herself simply, and then as if everyone pricked up their ears, waiting for my answer. Yang Wei was so nervous he clenched his fists, even more anxious than when someone asked for his own number. But I just calmly glanced at her and shook my head directly. "Sorry, I don't have a chat app." Hearing that, the smile on Chu Yu Wu's face clearly stiffened. A flash of astonishment and disbelief appeared in her eyes. She clearly didn't expect to be rejected so bluntly. Countless people wanted her contact information. This was the first time she had ever taken the initiative to ask for someone's number, and yet she was rejected. Still, Chu Yu Wu was worldly. She quickly adjusted her emotions. She realized she had perhaps been too direct. She took a deep breath. An apologetic smile reappeared on her face as she explained sincerely, "Please don't misunderstand. I don't have any other intentions." She paused for a moment, organizing her words. Then she continued, "It's like this. My younger brother is about to take his college entrance exams. His grades aren't very good, especially in Chinese literature. I heard you're the top student in the Chinese department, so I wanted to ask for your help to tutor him in Chinese literature." She looked at me, her gaze sincere. "Of course, in terms of payment, I absolutely won't let you be at a disadvantage." "Tutor?" I was slightly stunned, but quickly guessed her intention. I am not stupid, after all. I shook my head again. My tone was still calm, even a little distant. "Sorry. My grades are actually very average. I probably can't tutor your brother." After a pause, I added, "Besides, I am not short on money recently." A double rejection, clean and decisive. The smile on Chu Yu Wu's face completely froze. Her beautiful eyes were filled with disbelief. The words she had carefully prepared, the offer she thought was perfectly reasonable, had been unceremoniously rejected by the other party. She was Chu Yu Wu, the campus belle of University's arts department, from a superior family background, with outstanding looks. She had always been the center of attention since she was young. When had she ever been treated so coldly? The male students around erupted even more. Although their voices were lowered, the glares shot in my direction looked like they could spit fire. Seeing the atmosphere become increasingly awkward, Xia Xining, next to Chu Yuwu, reacted quickly. She suddenly let out a cry, clutching her stomach, her face showing a pained expression. Yuwu, my stomach suddenly hurts. Can you go to the restroom with me? Chu Yuwu, as if grasping a lifeline, immediately stood up. She helped Xia Xining, a look of appropriate concern on her face. What's wrong with you? Are you okay? Come on. I'll go with you. She didn't even spare me a glance. She helped Xia Xining and hurriedly left the classroom, leaving behind a trail of whispers and complicated stares. The two quickly walked out of the classroom. Leaving the lecture building, Xia Xining immediately let go of her hand. She stood up straight, the pained expression gone from her face. Phew. That was so awkward just now. Chu Yuwu, however, was still immersed in the feeling of being rejected. She bit her lower lip, her delicate eyebrows slightly furrowed. She looked at Xia Xining with some disappointment. Xining, do you think I am not attractive? Why isn't he interested in me at all? How could that be? Xia Xining immediately retorted. She held her hand to comfort her. Yuwu, you're the campus belle of our arts department. The guys chasing you could line up from here to the school gate. It's because he has no taste. Hearing her best friend's comforting words, Chu Yuwu felt a little better. But that feeling of unwillingness grew even stronger. Why can Chen Mengzi make him so infatuated, but I can't? I am younger than her, more vibrant than her. Thinking of this, Chu Yuwu took a deep breath, her eyes becoming determined again. The man that Chen Mengzi can have, why can't I? Chu Yuwu, have him? She silently encouraged herself. A confident smile reappeared on her face. Just you wait. Mu Ke, I won't give up so easily. On the other side of the classroom, Yang Wei finally recovered from his shock. He suddenly leaned close to me. Mu.ca, confess honestly, why did the campus belle take the initiative to talk to you? When did you get to know her, you brat? I frowned slightly. I looked at him helplessly. I already told you I don't know her. My voice was indifferent. I also don't know why she came here. Yang Wei looked at me suspiciously from head to toe and asked, really don't know her? Really don't know her? I answered firmly. Seeing that I didn't seem to be lying, Yang Wei reluctantly believed me. He retracted his scrutinizing gaze, and his expression turned serious. He put an arm around my shoulder and warned me earnestly. You're a man with a wife and child now. Although I know the campus belle is very beautiful, you can't be fooling around outside. The child he mentioned, of course, referred to Nai Nai. Although the situation was complicated, in Yang Wei's simple perception, I was already a family man with a child. Without waiting for me to object, Yang Wei quickly took out his phone and shoved it into my hand with a pained expression. This is my chat app. From now on, if she looks for you again, just give her my number. I am willing to bear this pain for my brother, he said, patting his chest. With a righteous and awe-inspiring expression, I looked at the phone in my hand. Then I looked at Yang Wei's righteous face. I couldn't decide whether to laugh or cry. Halfway through the class, I couldn't help but yawn. Physiological tears welled up in the corners of my eyes. Hey, Yang Wei, next to me, lowered his voice and nudged me lightly with his elbow. What's wrong with you? Feeling sleepy right after class started. I rubbed my eyes and replied drowsily. I didn't sleep well last night. Yang Wei immediately showed an I get it expression. His voice dropped even lower with a hint of teasing. I get it. I get it. Young people are full of energy, but you also have to restrain yourself a bit, brother. The corner of my mouth twitched, knowing he had misunderstood. I shot him an annoyed glare. It's not what you think. I opened my mouth, almost blurting out that I was kicked out to sleep on the sofa, but the words died on my lips. I swallowed them back down. If I let this kid know my true status at home, wouldn't he laugh at me for the rest of my life? No, I can't. He can't know about this, so I resolutely remained silent. When Yang Wei saw that I didn't explain, he instead gave a sly smile as if he understood everything and patted my shoulder. It's okay. Your brother here is a second-generation rich kid. He'll find you an old herbalist to get you some supplements. I don't know how much time had passed when I suddenly woke with a start. I opened my eyes to an empty view. There wasn't a single person in the multimedia classroom, only the sunlight slanted in from the window. Class is over. Everyone's gone. I subconsciously turned my head to look beside me. Yang Wei was sleeping soundly with his head tilted. He was even drooling from the corner of his mouth. I was instantly speechless. He's so unreliable. Just then, the phone in my pocket vibrated once. I took it out and saw a message from Chen Mengzi on the screen. Are you out of class yet? Mom and I are waiting for you at the school gate. Seeing this message, my heart skipped a beat. An indescribable joy immediately dispelled all my sleepiness and helplessness. I quickly replied, coming right out. Then I neatly stuffed the things on the desk, textbooks and notebooks into my bag. Without even glancing at the soundly sleeping Yang Wei beside me, I rushed out of the classroom without looking back. I practically ran the whole way, bursting out of the gates of University A. My eyes quickly scanned the street, and soon I located a parked car, a red Beetle, on the side of the road. The car window was halfway down, and a small figure was leaning on the windowsill. Her little head kept turning, looking around. Just then, that small figure spotted me. Her eyes immediately lit up, and her clear, childish voice, filled with undisguised joy, called out loudly, "Dad." My heart skipped a beat. My steps unconsciously paused for a moment, and I looked around almost as a conditioned reflex. Fortunately, the school gate wasn't crowded at this time. The few scattered students weren't paying attention to us. I opened the car door and quickly got into the passenger seat. As soon as I sat down, Nai in the back seat eagerly poked her little head over. She leaned close to my ear and said in a slightly coquettish tone, "Dad, Mom and I have been waiting for you for a long time." Hearing my daughter's sweet voice, I remembered that I had dozed off in class. An embarrassed look couldn't help but appear on my face as I explained, "Something came up just now, so I was a bit delayed." Chen Mengxi in the driver's seat tilted her head to look at me. Her gaze rested on my face, where there seemed to be a faint indentation, as if something had been pressed against it. She was slightly stunned. Then, as if she thought of something, the corners of her mouth curved into a very faint smile. But her eyes quickly flashed with a hard-to-detect trace of guilt. "Was it because you didn't sleep well on the sofa last night?" I keenly noticed her gaze, especially when she saw my cheek, and the slight change in her expression at the indentation. I immediately felt a little guilty, as if my predicament had been seen through. I quickly turned my face away and looked ahead, pretending to ask casually, "Why did you two come here?" Chen Mengxi averted her gaze and started the car, explaining in a calm tone. "This morning, I took Nai to check out a nearby kindergarten. It seemed pretty good. On the way back, it was convenient, so I thought I'd come pick you up." I nodded to show I understood. Dad. Nai in the back seat immediately chimed in excitedly, her small face filled with joy. "The kindergarten is so much fun. It has a slide, and lots of other kids." Seeing my daughter's joyful and exuberant appearance, and listening to her chattering about what she saw at the kindergarten, my earlier embarrassment from falling asleep and being caught by Chen Mengxi vanished into thin air. I turned my head to look at the excited little girl in the back seat. A genuine smile appeared on my face, and warmth filled my eyes. The car drove steadily on the road, with Nai still excitedly sharing interesting things that happened at the kindergarten. Her little mouth didn't stop talking, her tender, childish voice full of life. Listening to her daughter's innocent words, the corners of Chen Mengxi's mouth also turned up slightly. The gentleness in her eyes deepened. When we arrived at the apartment, I skillfully entered the kitchen and started preparing lunch. Chen Mengxi took Nai to the living room to play. Before long, the sound of ingredients clashing and the clatter of pots and pans came from the kitchen, along with the aroma of food. A warm atmosphere spread through the small apartment. After settling Nai down, Chen Mengxi walked to the kitchen doorway. Leaning against the doorframe, she watched me busy at the stove and asked softly, "Mu Xie, tomorrow night is the Yang family's dinner party. Do you want to go together?" I didn't turn around. My hands didn't stop moving. While chopping vegetables, I replied with a firm tone, "Of course, I have to go. It's my brother Yang Wei's first day back in the wealthy circle. How could I possibly be absent? I have to be there to support him." Hearing this, Chen Mengxi's lips curved up slightly. Before she could speak, Nai, who had been playing with her toys, also ran to the kitchen doorway. She looked curiously at her parents. Tilting her little face up, she asked in a tender voice, "Mom, Dad, what are you two talking about? Is it about delicious food?" Nai wants to go too. When Chen Mengxi and I heard this, we turned to look at Nai at the same time. Nai blinked her big eyes, looking at them expectantly. Her little face clearly showed the desire. "I want to go too." Chen Mengxi looked at Nai, then at me, as if asking for my opinion. "Her identity is special. If we bring the child, it might cause unnecessary attention." Chen Mengxi hesitated for a moment, then spoke up. "How about I don't go then?" I stopped what I was doing. My brows furrowed slightly as thoughts raced through my mind. Suddenly, an idea popped up. The corner of my mouth involuntarily curved into a smile. Then, I looked at Chen Mengxi and said relaxedly, "Don't worry, we can all go. As for Nai, tomorrow, someone will naturally help us look after her." Hearing this, Chen Mengxi looked at me with some doubt. She asked uncertainly, "Someone will help us look after her? Who is it?" For a moment, she couldn't think of anyone. Besides them, who else would offer to help take care of Nai? But I just smiled mysteriously and said, "Don't you worry. I guarantee there won't be any problems. Entrusting Nai to that person will absolutely make you 100% at ease." Chen Mengxi looked at my confident appearance. Although she still had some doubts in her heart, seeing how decisive I was, she immediately thought of someone. The worry in her heart instantly vanished. Nai, seeing her parents not answering her, tugged at Chen Mengxi's hem and said coquettishly, "Mommy, Nai wants to go too. Can I?" Chen Mengxi looked down at her daughter's pitiful little face. Her heart immediately softened. She squatted down and gently stroked Nai's head. She smiled and agreed. Okay, our Nai will go too." Yeah, As soon as Nai Nai heard her mother agree, she immediately jumped for joy. A radiant smile reappeared on her small face. The earlier disappointment vanished instantly. I watched the lovely interaction between mother and daughter. A happy smile also appeared on my face. Before long, the aroma of food wafted out. I took off my apron and called out loudly towards the living room. Time to eat. Chen Meng Xi put down the tablet in her hand. She helped Nai Nai, who was playing with her toys, to her feet. Let's go, Nai Nai. Time to eat. Okay, Nai Nai answered crisply. She followed her mother to the dining room. The three of them sat around the dining table, looking at the colorful, fragrant, and delicious home-cooked dishes on the table. A warm atmosphere quietly spread. I picked up my chopsticks. Just as I was about to pick up some food, my movement suddenly stopped. My eyebrows furrowed slightly. Wait a minute. I feel like I've forgotten something. Chen Meng Xi beside me noticed my unusual behavior. She asked softly, "What's wrong?" I shook my head and said vaguely, "Nothing. I just feel like I've forgotten something." As soon as I finished speaking, the phone I had placed on the table suddenly started vibrating like crazy. The screen kept lighting up, making a buzzing sound, like a life-claiming talisman. I picked up the phone and unlocked the screen. Immediately, a flood of unread messages appeared. Almost all of them were from the same person. Yang Wei. Where are you? WTF. Mucie. Where the hell are you? I woke up in an empty classroom. You scared the crap out of me. Did you forget about me? Answer me. Looking at the messages full of resentment and a frantic tone, I suddenly realized, oh crap. I was in such a hurry when I left that I forgot to wake up that kid Yang Wei. The corner of my mouth twitched. I silently set Yang Wei's messages to do not disturb. I casually put the phone down, picked up my chopsticks, and started eating, as if the phone bombardment just now had never happened. Chen Mengxi saw my small actions but didn't ask much. Only a faint, ambiguous smile played on her lips. After lunch, the family of three returned to the living room. The energetic Nai Nai played with her toys. Chen, Mengxi, and I each took a corner of the sofa. I took out the professional textbook I hadn't finished reading that afternoon. Occasionally, I would look up to watch my daughter playing. Meanwhile, Chen Meng Xi was on her tablet, handling some company emails and documents. Sunlight streamed in through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting long shadows on the floor. The two of them didn't deliberately talk, but it didn't feel awkward at all. Chen Meng X's gaze would occasionally leave the screen and inadvertently sweep over me as I read intently. Her eyes would rest on my side profile for a moment. It was like a normal married couple, enjoying a quiet afternoon. After playing for a long while, Nai Nai was a bit tired. She yawned, rubbed her eyes, and climbed onto the sofa. She snuggled into my arms and soon fell fast asleep. In the blink of an eye, it was evening. The little girl in my arms stirred. Her long eyelashes trembled as she slowly opened her eyes. Nai Nai was still a bit drowsy after waking up. Seeing that I was holding her, she immediately reached out to hug my neck, cooing softly, "Daddy, hold me." I put my book down and gently patted her back. I coaxed her in a soft voice, "Nai Nai's awake. Did you sleep well?" Although I had only coaxed Nai Nai a few times, I was quite skilled at it. This was a point that even I hadn't realized. Nai Nai nuzzled her head into the crook of my neck, her voice full of reliance. Chen Mengxi sat beside us, silently watching this scene. Watching her daughter rely on me without any reservation, and seeing the natural gentleness and patience on my face, an indescribable emotion suddenly welled up in her heart. It was a very strange feeling. She actually felt a bit of admiration, and even a little envy. She wanted to be like Nai Nai, to be held and coaxed by me so gently. The moment this thought appeared, Chen Mengxi herself was startled. Her cheeks immediately felt a little hot. What am I thinking? Am I actually jealous of my own daughter? She unnaturally averted her gaze, her ears slightly flushed. After a while, Nai Nai fully woke up in my arms. She wiggled a little and looked up. Her big, black grape-like eyes sparkled as she looked at me. Her voice was soft, as if she had just woken up. "Daddy, Nai Nai wants to eat crawfish." Hearing this, I looked down at the little greedy cat snuggling in my arms. Then I turned to look at Chen Mengxi at the other end of the sofa and suggested with a smile, "Then let's eat out tonight." Chen Mengxi put down the tablet in her hands. Her gaze fell on her daughter's small, expectant face. She nodded, her voice gentle. "Okay. Soon." We arrived at a well-known seafood restaurant near the apartment. The restaurant was bustling with noise, filled with a down-to-earth atmosphere. I found a seat near the window. I sat down and skillfully ordered, "Boss, 3 pounds of spicy crawfish, and some skewers, grilled eggplant, grilled chicken wings." Chen Mengxi listened quietly, her eyes casually scanning the restaurant. She wasn't disgusted at all. On the contrary, she found it a bit novel to be in this kind of place. This was her first time eating at such a restaurant. Very quickly, a basin of steaming, bright red crawfish was brought to the table. The spicy and delicious aroma immediately spread. It made the three of us gulp. "Wow, so many crawfish." Nai Nai clapped her hands excitedly, her eyes practically glued to the basin of crawfish. I was also drooling. I smiled and picked up the disposable gloves. When Chen Meng's eyes saw the basin of bright red crawfish, her gaze paused slightly, as if she remembered something from long ago. A flash of complex emotion passed through her eyes. Her interest immediately waned a bit. But seeing Nai Nai's excited little face and my eager expression, she still curved her lips into a faint smile. But she didn't reach for the crawfish. Instead, she picked up a grilled chicken wing that had just been served beside her and ate it in small bites. My attention was completely on the crawfish, so I didn't pay much attention to Chen Meng Xa's unusual behavior. I picked up a crawfish to peel it. Just as I picked one up, I saw Nai Nai beside me imitating me, struggling to put on her small disposable gloves. That serious little expression was so adorable. After putting on her gloves, Nai Nai also placed it on the small plate in front of her, and imitating her father's posture, began to peel. Heh, this little girl even learned my exclusive skill. I found it quite novel to watch. A sense of warmth and pride welled up in my heart. Seeing my daughter happily being self-sufficient, I smiled and deftly peeled a crawfish. The plump, intact tail meat glowed appealingly. I very naturally placed it into Chen Meng X's bowl beside me. Chen Mengzai was eating her skewers bite by bite. Suddenly, in her bowl, there appeared a piece of pearly white crawfish meat. She was slightly stunned. She looked up at me. I was looking down, continuing to peel the next crawfish, as if it were just an unconscious action. Chen Meng, she looked at the crawfish meat in her bowl, then at me. That strange feeling welled up in her heart again. It was like a stone thrown into a calm lake, creating ripples. However, before she could fully savor this feeling, a small hand wearing a transparent glove also clumsily placed a piece of crawfish, not very perfectly peeled but full of heart, into her bowl. Mommy, eat. Nai Nai looked up, giving Chen Meng Xi a brilliant smile. Her big eyes were full of expectation. Hurry up and praise me. Chen Meng's gaze immediately left me and fell on her daughter's innocent little face. She looked down again at the two pieces of crawfish meat, one big and one small, in her bowl. An indescribable warmth suddenly flooded her heart. The bridge of her nose tingled, and her eyes uncontrollably welled up with a thin layer of moisture. All her life, this was the first time. The first time someone had peeled crawfish for her. She had always thought she was independent enough, strong enough, that she didn't need these things. But now, looking at the crawfish meat in her bowl, feeling her daughter's pure heart and the casual care of the man beside her, she finally discovered that deep down, she also yearned for affection. I finished peeling the crawfish in my hand and looked up, just in time to see Chen Meng X's slightly red eyes. I paused. Then I saw the piece of crawfish meat in her bowl that Nai Nai had put in. I understood and smiled. I thought to myself, looks like she was moved by her daughter's filial piety. Chen Mengxi sniffled, trying to suppress the sudden surge of emotion. She picked up the small piece of crawfish meat, Nai Nai's heartfelt gift, from the bowl, and gently brought it to her daughter's mouth. Nai Nai is so good. You eat this. Nai Nai. But Nai Nai shook her head vigorously, her little face serious. Mommy, you eat. Daddy said that delicious things should be given to mommy first. When Chen Meng Xi heard this, she subconsciously looked up at me across the table. Of course, she knew that these words couldn't have been taught by the present me. It could only have been the future him. I was stunned by my daughter's, Daddy said. Then I immediately reacted. This was taught by my future self. I forced a slightly awkward smile, but in my heart, I was cursing wildly. What is this situation? Is my future self a simp to even teach these kinds of words? My gaze involuntarily shifted towards Chen Mengxi, whose face had become even more gentle with emotion. Then I thought of the black card in my pocket. It seems it's not entirely unacceptable. Ahem. I coughed lightly and quickly gathered my thoughts. I deftly peeled another crawfish. This time, I placed it directly into Nai Nai's small bowl, changing the subject. All right. Daddy peeled one for Nai Nai too. Hurry up and eat. The crawfish won't be good if it gets cold. After speaking, I didn't look at Chen Mengxi anymore. I lowered my head and continued my battle with the crawfish. My movements were extremely fast. As my fingers flew, piece after piece of intact crawfish meat was neatly peeled. They piled up on the plate. This speed was thanks to being tormented by my sister since I was young. If I didn't peel crawfish for her, what awaited me was a beating. Over time, this crawfish peeling skill of mine. Very quickly, a small pile of crawfish meat was on the plate. With her dad peeling crawfish for her, Nai Nai immediately beamed with joy. Her small hands stuffed the meat into her mouth, eating until her little mouth was shiny with oil. Her cheeks puffed out, happiness practically overflowing. Chen Mengxi watched her daughter's happy expression, and a gentle smile also appeared on her lips. She herself didn't eat much. This spicy crawfish was still too spicy for her. Her tongue was a bit numb. Her gaze rested on me as I was peeling crawfish with my head down, looking at my serious side profile and the growing pile of crawfish meat on the plate. Her heart suddenly stirred. Almost reflexively, Chen Mengxi reached out with her chopsticks and picked up a freshly peeled piece. The crawfish meat was still warm as she, as if possessed, brought it to my mouth. The air seemed to freeze for a moment. My crawfish peeling motion suddenly stopped. I looked up, slightly surprised to see the piece of crawfish meat right in front of my face, and Chen Mengxi, whose eyes held a faint, hard-to-detect trace of panic. After offering the meat, I was stunned for 2 seconds. Then, as if a play button was pressed, I subconsciously opened my mouth and ate that piece of crawfish meat. The meat was fresh and delicious, with a spicy flavor, and there was also an indescribable, strange feeling. Chen Mengxi's hand was still hovering in midair. It wasn't until I finished eating the crawfish meat that she abruptly retracted it as if burned. Her cheeks uncontrollably grew hot, and even her ears were tinged with a faint pink. Her gaze drifted, not daring to look at me anymore. Meanwhile, Nai Nai, sitting beside us, had witnessed the entire scene. She blinked her big, black grape-like eyes, looking at her mother's shy side profile. Then she looked at her father's slightly dazed expression. Then she looked at her mom, opened her mouth, and pointed a small finger at her own mouth. Chen Mengxi saw her daughter open her mouth, her adorable appearance waiting to be fed. The awkwardness she felt because of me just now dissipated quite a bit. She reached out a finger and gently poked the small, smooth forehead of Nai Nai. Her tone carried a hint of a smile. "You greedy little kitten." Still, Chen Mengxi picked up her chopsticks again and picked up an intact piece of crawfish meat. She carefully fed it to her daughter. Nai Nai chewed with satisfaction, her big eyes narrowing with happiness. Seeing that she liked it, Chen Mengxi fed her a few more pieces until Nai Nai shook her head, signaling she was full. Only then did she put down her chopsticks and take out a napkin to gently wipe her daughter's oily little mouth. "All right, your mouth is clean now." But before Chen Mengxi could pull her hand back, Nai Nai turned around again. She picked up the small disposable gloves from the table again and seriously put them on her hands. I found it strange and couldn't help but ask, "Nai Nai, do you want to eat more?" Nai Nai shook her head. After putting on the gloves, she picked up another crawfish, placed it on her small plate, and lowered her head to peel it attentively. After peeling, she carefully picked up the piece of not-so-intact crawfish meat and put it in my bowl beside her. "Daddy, eat." Nai Nai looked up, her big, black, grape-like eyes sparkling at me. Her tone was a little proud. I looked at the small piece of crawfish meat in my bowl, then at my daughter's expectant eyes. A sudden warmth filled my heart. An indescribable feeling of being moved and joyful welled up. "Thank you, Nai Nai. You're such a good girl. You even know how to peel crawfish for Daddy now." I picked up the piece of crawfish meat and put it in my mouth. I chewed solemnly, as if savoring a rare delicacy. The crawfish Nai Nai peeled is the most delicious I've ever eaten. Praised by her father, Nai Nai was so happy her eyes curved into crescents. She sat there giggling. This crawfish meal, because of this unexpectedly warm interaction, was particularly delicious. The 3 of us ate and drank to our heart's content. After I paid the bill, the family of 3 left the seafood restaurant. We strolled slowly back to the apartment. Upon returning, the 3 of us each found a comfortable spot to sit. Nai Nai had played all day and had just eaten a belly full of crawfish. Now, sleepiness was hitting her. Her little head leaned against Chen Mengxi, nodding bit by bit, like a little chick dozing off. I picked up the remote, wondering what to watch to relax. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door outside. Knock, knock, knock. What time is it? Who would come at this hour? I muttered to myself, got up, walked to the entryway, and opened the door. Assistant Chen was standing at the door. Next to her was a silver suitcase. I looked at her, then at the sizable suitcase. My mind couldn't process it for a moment. I was a bit dazed. What is this situation? A delivery? Hello, sir. May I ask if CEO Chen is here? Assistant Chen bowed slightly, a professional smile on her face. Before I could answer, Chen Mengxi heard the noise and walked over. She glanced at her assistant and the suitcase at the door. Her expression was calm and unfazed. She naturally reached out and took the suitcase handle. "Thank you for your hard work, Assistant Chen." She paused for a moment and then added, "Oh, right. Postpone all of tomorrow's schedule." Assistant Chen immediately nodded. "Yes, CEO Chen, then I'll be leaving now." Assistant Chen turned and left. I was still standing at the door, watching Chen Mengxi pull the suitcase past me and head straight for the master bedroom. Wait a minute, this isn't how the script should go. Is she planning to stay here? Although she's the future mistress of this place, isn't the progress a bit too fast? No, that's not it. Why am I getting worked up over this? The key point is, if she stays in the master bedroom, doesn't that mean I have to sleep in the living room again? Just thinking about a future where I might befriend the sofa every night, I immediately felt my vision go dark. My whole being felt unwell. But what could I do? I can't possibly kick my future wife out. I looked at the sofa in the living room, which didn't look comfortable at all. I couldn't help but sigh. What a tribulation. Nai Nai's hearing was sharp. She heard her father's sigh. She lifted her drowsy little face and asked curiously, "Daddy, why are you sighing?" I leaned down and stroked my daughter's soft hair. I forced a smile that was uglier than crying. "It's nothing. Daddy is thinking about the important matters of life. Nai is still little, so you wouldn't understand even if I told you." Nai nodded as if she understood, but not really. She yawned and didn't ask any more questions. Just then, Chen Mengxi came out of the master bedroom. As soon as she came out, her gaze fell on the man on the sofa with a look of indignation. The corners of her mouth curved up imperceptibly. Of course, she knew what I was upset about, but she didn't say anything. Nai. It's getting late. It's time to take a bath and go to bed. Chen Mengxi looked at Nai, her voice gentle. Do you want mommy to carry you? Nai immediately raised her two small arms towards Chen Mengxi, cooing in a tender voice. Chen Mengxi smiled, bent down, and picked up her daughter, turned and walked towards the room to shower in the master bedroom. Very quickly, the sound of running water came from the bathroom. Faintly, there was also the sound of the mother and daughter's soft laughter and conversation. I sat alone and lonely on the sofa, listening to the sounds from over there. My heart was a jumble of emotions. I couldn't quite describe the feeling. There was a bit of loss, and yet, there was a strange feeling of warmth. A moment later, the bathroom door opened, and Chen Mengxi came out carrying Nai, who was wrapped in a large bath towel, smelling of baby bath soap. She came out smelling fragrant and placed the little girl on the bed. Daddy, tell me a story. Nai said, lying in the soft blanket. Only her little head was showing, her big round eyes like sparkling black grapes, looking at me as she whined coaxingly. Okay, Daddy's coming to tell you a story. I'll be right there. I had no resistance to my daughter's coaxing and immediately stood up. This girl's skill at acting cute, I don't know who she inherited it from. In any case, it couldn't be from our family's ice-cold CEO. I had just walked to the edge of the bed and sat down. My seat not even warm yet when the bathroom door opened again. Chen Mengxi had also finished her shower and came out. She had changed into a purple silk nightgown. The style looked simple, but the soft, smooth material clung to her skin, making her already fair skin look even more lustrous, like jade. Her long, soft, wet hair was draped over her shoulders, carrying steam and a faint, fragrant scent from her shower. Under the lights, the nightgown casually outlined her graceful curves. There was a lazy charm in her allure. My eyes unconsciously fell upon her. My Adam's apple couldn't help but bob up and down. I suddenly felt my mouth go dry. Chen Mengxi sensed my overly direct gaze, but she only tilted her head slightly, avoiding my eyes. Her expression seemed unchanged. She walked to the bedside. She picked up the hairdryer, preparing to dry Nai's hair. You go take a shower first. I'll tell Nai's story later. Hearing this, I quickly averted my gaze. My face felt a little hot. I nodded awkwardly. Okay. I grabbed my change of clothes. I practically fled into the bathroom. Chen Mengxi sat at the head of the bed, gently drying Nai's hair. The warm air blew, and the little girl squinted her eyes comfortably. After her hair was dry, Chen Mengxi picked up a fairy tale book and began telling Nai a story in a low voice. The story was only half told when the water in the guest bathroom stopped. Not long after, I came out, drying my hair. I had changed into a clean t-shirt and shorts. With very practiced movements, I walked to the wardrobe, opened it, and took out a folded thin blanket from inside, along with a pillow. Then I headed towards the living room. The days of relying on the sofa begin tonight. Just as I was holding the blanket and pillow, about to leave the bedroom, Chen Mengxi's voice suddenly sounded behind me. There seemed to be a hint of imperceptible hesitation in her voice. My footsteps stopped abruptly. Holding the blanket, I turned around. I looked at her with a puzzled expression. What does she mean? She's already stolen my bed. What else does she want? My resentment was thicker than a ghost's at that moment, but I didn't dare say it out loud. Chen Mengxi stood by the bed. The gentle light outlined her back. Her fingertips unconsciously curled slightly. Her face seemed to be tinged with a faint blush. Even the tips of her ears were a little hot. Her gaze flickered slightly, avoiding my direct line of sight. Her voice was a few degrees softer than before. The bed is quite big. Why don't you sleep on the bed? Buzz. I felt my brain go numb instantly. Holding the blanket, I stood there dumbfounded, wondering if my brain got waterlogged in the shower, causing me to have auditory hallucinations. I looked at the slightly flushed face, and those eyes of Chen Mengxi. Her eyes clearly didn't know where to look. My heart skipped a beat without warning, and then began to pound uncontrollably. She. What does she mean? No. Calm down. This is definitely a test. A blatant test. Using this to test a cadre. What cadre could withstand a test like this? However, the next second, I forcefully stuffed the thin blanket in my hands back into the wardrobe, holding only the pillow. I quickly walked to the bedside and lay down next to Nai. The movements were seamless. I was afraid that if I were even a second late, Chen Mengxi would change her mind. Chen Mengxi looked at my anxious appearance, and the corners of her mouth couldn't help but lift slightly, into a barely noticeable smile. But her own heartbeat involuntarily sped up a little. After all, this was the first time she had ever shared a bed with a man, even with Nai in between. She took a deep breath, suppressing the inexplicable nervousness in her heart. She walked around to the other side of the bed, and also gently lay down, protecting Nai in the middle. I reached out and turned off the bedside lamp. The bedroom instantly plunged into darkness. Only the faint moonlight from outside the window remained. The darkness amplified the senses. I could clearly smell the scent, wafting from Chen Mengzi's direction, her natural, faint, gentle fragrance. That scent was like a feather, gently scratching at my nerves, making me feel restless. I tilted my head slightly. I could vaguely see two blurry figures beside me, one large and one small. Their breathing was steady. I lay rigidly, even my breathing becoming lighter, afraid of disturbing this strange tranquility. Chen Mengzi wasn't asleep either. She could feel my presence beside her. That warmth, transmitted through their daughter's small body, made her feel a little unnatural. She even started to regret why she had, as if possessed, said that sentence earlier, putting herself in this awkward situation. In the darkness, the two of them were each lost in their own thoughts, but they shared a strange silence together. I don't know how long it had been. Perhaps physical exhaustion had won over mental tension. The two of them fell into a deep sleep at almost the same time. The next morning, the first ray of sunlight pierced through the gap in the curtains, casting a small column of light into the room. My eyelids twitched. I slowly opened my eyes, my consciousness still a bit hazy. I just felt as if I were holding something warm in my arms. I subconsciously looked down. The next second, I was wide awake. Chen Mengzi had, at some point, rolled over to my side, snuggled close in my arms, her head resting on my arm. She looked peaceful and serene in her sleep. Her long eyelashes trembled slightly with her breathing. The gentle sunlight shone on her face, casting a warm halo over her. Looking at her quiet, docile appearance, my heart softened for some reason. I suddenly had an urge to make her cry, to see the corners of her eyes turn red, her expression on the verge of tears. This thought was too dangerous. I shook my head vigorously, forcing myself to extinguish it. However, my gaze quickly was drawn to another place, unable to move away. Perhaps due to her sleeping position, the purple silk nightgown on her body had rolled up, gathered almost entirely at her chest, revealing a large area of smooth skin. My gaze moved downwards. I could clearly see her slender waist, which I couldn't wrap one hand around, and below the hem of the nightgown, her long, slender, fair thighs. Her skin was dazzlingly white under the morning sun. Gulp. I felt my throat tighten. I couldn't control myself and swallowed a mouthful of saliva. My eyes were fixed, as if frozen. Chen Mengzi's eyelashes fluttered, and she slowly opened her eyes. The first thing she saw was my face, just inches away. Her consciousness was still a bit hazy, but almost instinctively, she followed my gaze downwards. The next second, she was suddenly wide awake. She saw that her purple silk nightgown had, at some point, rolled up under her chest, exposing a large area of skin and her long, fair legs. Ah! Chen Mengzi let out a small cry, her cheeks instantly flushing red. She fumbled to pull down, covering herself completely. Her small cry seemed to jolt me awake too. As if electrocuted, I suddenly averted my gaze, whipping my head to the side, not daring to look again. I just felt a heat in my nasal cavity. Immediately after, a warm stream of liquid flowed down uncontrollably. Chen Mengzi had just finished adjusting her clothes and calmed her wildly beating heart a little when she caught sight of my profile from the corner of her eye and the glaring red streak under my nose. She froze for a moment, then she realized what it was. The blush that had just faded from her face rushed back, but seeing my awkward appearance, not daring to look at her, the corners of her mouth couldn't help but lift slightly, forming a barely noticeable smile. She quickly reached for a few tissues from the bedside table and held them out to me. Her voice carried the slight hoarseness of someone who just woke up and a hint of suppressed laughter. Hurry up and wipe it. Only then did I feel the nose bleed. It was extremely embarrassing. I hurriedly took the tissues and quickly plugged my nose. My cheeks were burning. My eyes were evasive. My voice came out muffled from behind the tissues. I didn't mean to. Chen Mengzi saw my ears burning red, and the bit of embarrassment and annoyance in her heart dissipated quite a bit. Only a strange feeling remained, spreading. She hummed softly, lowered her eyes, and said quietly, I know. I secretly raised my head and glanced at her quickly. I saw she had her head down, so I couldn't see her expression clearly. I only saw that the tips of her ears were slightly red. The awkward atmosphere silently spread between the two of them. In the bedroom, only, the sound of their slightly disordered breathing remained. Just then, the two of them seemed to suddenly remember something. They subconsciously glanced at each other. It was this glance that made them both realize something was wrong. The space between them was empty. Where's Nay? Nay? The two of them asked, almost in unison, a hint of panic in their voices. They immediately searched the bed. Finally, on my pillow, they found Nai Nai curled up. She was hugging the small pillow, a smile on her lips, sleeping very comfortably. Seeing this scene, both of them breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. Then, they exchanged a knowing glance, feeling a bit awkward again. I cleared my throat and said, I'll go wash up first. As soon as the words left my mouth, I scrambled off the bed and dashed into the bathroom. In the bathroom, the sound of running water echoed. I stood under the shower head, letting the cold water pour over my burning skin. I closed my eyes, trying to erase the images that kept replaying in my mind. That dazzlingly white, smooth skin. That slender waist I couldn't wrap one hand around. And those long, slender, straight legs. But I still couldn't get rid of them. I abruptly opened my eyes. I shook my head vigorously, sending cold droplets flying. Chen Mengzi's face, with its just woken up look, hazy and then instantly blushing, was as clear as if it were right in front of me. I touched my nose. Although the bleeding had stopped, the burning sensation seemed to still linger in my nasal cavity, making my cheeks hot as well. After a long splash of cold water, that heat was finally reluctantly suppressed. I turned off the water, hastily dried myself, and put on clean clothes. I hesitated for a long time before taking a deep breath and opening the bathroom door. In the bedroom, Chen Mengxi was already dressed and sitting on the edge of the bed, gently helping the newly awakened Nai Nai, who was still a bit drowsy, adjust her little dress. Hearing the door open, Chen Mengxi subconsciously looked up. Our eyes met for a fleeting moment. Then, as if burned, we quickly looked away, our gazes averted. We looked elsewhere. I cleared my throat, my voice a bit dry. Go downstairs to buy some breakfast. Chen Mengxi looked at my back, which was almost like I was fleeing for my life, and the corners of her mouth couldn't help but curve into a very faint smile. She replied softly, then she lowered her head and continued, helping Nai Nai with the last button, her voice gentle. Nai Nai, are you awake? Sweetie, let's go wash up and brush our teeth. Nai Nai rubbed her eyes and replied in her childish voice, okay, mommy, carry me. Chen Mengxi smiled lightly. She bent down, picked up her daughter, and walked towards the bathroom. After the mother and daughter finished washing up and changing, they came out of the bathroom. I had just returned with breakfast: soy milk, fried dough sticks, xiao long bao, and a slice of strawberry cream cake, specially bought for Nai Nai. The aroma immediately filled the small space. The three of them sat around the small dining table for breakfast. The atmosphere had eased quite a bit compared to earlier. Nai Nai ate small bites of the cream cake. Her little face was smeared with some cream, looking like a cute little calico cat. She suddenly looked up at me, her eyes sparkling. Daddy, when are we going out to play? My action of drinking soy milk paused. I suddenly remembered this matter and immediately put down my cup, saying, let's go now. Chen Mengxi was stunned when she heard that. She said with some surprise, now? So soon? She thought we would at least wait until the afternoon. I picked up a bun and explained, whenever my sister has a day off, she disappears. If we don't go now, she'll probably run off to play by herself later. We won't be able to find her then. My voice was firm, clearly showing that I understood my sister well. Chen Mengxi nodded and didn't ask any more questions. After breakfast, after a quick cleanup, the three of them left the house. Chen Mengxi drove, with me and Nai Nai as passengers, heading towards a high-end apartment complex in the city center. The car stopped steadily under a building where Mu Yulu lived. It was a high-rise apartment with a wide view. I led Chen Mengxi and Nai into the building's entrance. We took the elevator upstairs. The elevator was a confined space. The numbers slowly increased. I suddenly squatted down, looking at Nai with an expectant expression, a gentle smile on my face. Nai, Daddy needs to tell you something. Nai blinked her big eyes. What is it, Daddy? Mommy and Daddy have to get a shot later, I said, deliberately lowering my voice. Hearing this, Nai's little face immediately fell. Her small mouth pouted. She was clearly very afraid of shots. Seeing this, I quickly said, afraid she would burst into tears the next second. If Nai doesn't want to go, how about you stay with your aunt today? Auntie will take you to eat delicious food and also take you out to play. I slowly coaxed her. Nai's attention was immediately diverted. Her eyes lit up again. She nodded vigorously. Her voice was clear. Nai wants to play with Auntie. I patted her head in satisfaction. Good girl. Chen Mengxi leaned close to me and asked in a low voice, you're tricking a child like this. Isn't that a bit bad? I waved my hand. I said nonchalantly, I am doing this so Nai can learn about the dangers of the future ahead of time. Besides, a little white lie doesn't count as lying. The corner of Chen Mengxi's mouth twitched. She was utterly speechless, but she didn't say anything. Not long after, with a ding, the elevator reached the 15th floor. The elevator doors slowly opened. I took Nai's hand. Chen Mengxi followed behind. We walked to a door at the end of the hallway. I raised my hand and frantically rang the doorbell. Almost at the exact moment the doorbell stopped ringing, I suddenly let go of Nai's hand. With one hand, I pulled Chen Mengxi, who was still dazed and confused beside me. I turned and hurried towards the elevator. Let's go. My movements were very fast, completely giving Chen Mengxi no time to react. I pulled Chen Mengxi so hard she stumbled. By the time she reacted, she was already in the elevator, leaving Nai alone. Wearing a pretty little dress and a small backpack, she stood before the closed door, without a trace of fear on her face. It was as if this had happened many times before. The elevator doors slowly closed. Chen Mengxi finally reacted. She looked at me, her eyes filled with worry. Nai is alone. What if your sister isn't home? I let go of her hand. My body relaxed a bit. I leaned against the elevator wall. My tone was much more relaxed. Don't worry. She's definitely home. I know my sister's schedule all too well. At this hour, she's definitely still at home sleeping. There's no way she's out. Chen Mengxi was still not very reassured. After all, we were leaving a child alone at someone's door. But just as she was about to say something more, my phone suddenly vibrated. I picked it up to look. I turned the phone screen for Chen Mengxi to see. The screen clearly displayed the two words older sister. See? She must have taken Nai Nai in, I said with a smile. Then I very naturally hung up. Chen Mengxi saw the incoming call. She breathed a sigh of relief, then asked, "Aren't you going to answer?" I shook my head and said, "Answer what? Well, talk tonight." Meanwhile, on the 15th floor, Mu Yulu was sound asleep. She was awakened by a series of urgent doorbells. She turned over in annoyance, pulling the blanket over her head, trying to ignore the sound. The doorbell rang persistently, each ring more urgent than the last. Damn it! Who is it? Early in the morning, Mu Yulu couldn't stand it anymore. She scratched her messy hair, mumbling curses as she crawled out of bed. She walked barefoot on the floor, opened her bedroom door, crossed the living room to the entrance, muttering as she went, "This had better be important. Otherwise, it'll knock your front teeth out." Reaching the door, she yanked it open. Just as she was about to start yelling, she saw that the doorway was empty. There was no one there. While she was wondering, she looked down. A tiny figure was wearing a pretty little pink dress. She wore a small cartoon backpack and was standing there obediently. Nai Nai looked up, her big round eyes looking at her. Mu Yulu was instantly stunned. Her mind went blank for a moment. "Auntie, carry me." Nai Nai held out her small hands, her voice soft. She came back to her senses. With a look of disbelief, "Nai Nai?" She squatted down. She picked Nai Nai up with one arm and went inside. She closed the door behind her and placed Nai Nai on the soft sofa in the living room. She then squatted down in front of Nai Nai. The two stared at each other, big eyes to small. Nai Nai sat there obediently, swinging her little legs, blinking her eyes. She took out from the bag in her hand a small bun and offered it to Mu Yulu, saying in a milky voice, "Auntie, you eat." Mu Yulu took the still slightly warm, small bun and quickly guessed that, because I was going on a date with Chen Mengxi, I had dumped Nai Nai on her. Thinking of this, a burst of anger surged up. But looking at Nai Nai, she still took a deep breath, trying to suppress the urge to rush downstairs and drag me back to give me a beating. She forced a smile that wasn't too ugly. She stuffed the TV remote into Nai Nai's hands and said, "Auntie is going to wash up for a bit. Can Nai Nai watch TV obediently for a little while?" Nai Nai took the remote and then nodded vigorously. She obediently replied, "Okay." Mu Yula's heart melted. She couldn't help but reach out and rub Nai Nai's soft little head. Don't even mention it. It felt so good. Then, she stood up and went into the bedroom. She grabbed her phone from the cluttered bedside table, found my number, and called. The phone rang for a long time. The other party hung up directly. Mu Yulu held the phone, stunned on the spot. He actually dared to hang up on me? All right, Mu Xie, you've got guts. Let's see how I deal with you tonight. Immediately after, she sighed in resignation and threw the phone back onto the bed. She turned and went into the bathroom. At the same time, on the street by the residential area, Chen Mengxi and I had just gotten into the car. Just as Chen Mengxi was about to start the car, a black Volkswagen steadily stopped in front of their car. I saw the car. I subconsciously frowned, leaned forward slightly, and whispered, "Why does this car look so familiar?" I whispered, a hint of suspicion in my eyes. Before I finished speaking, the driver and passenger doors of the black Mercedes opened simultaneously. A middle-aged man and a middle-aged woman got out of the car one after another. Seeing those two figures, my pupils suddenly contracted. I hurriedly took off my jacket and forcefully pulled it over my head. Crap. Beside me, Chen Mengxi saw my strange action. Her delicate eyebrows furrowed slightly as she asked, "What's wrong?" Through the gap in my jacket, I pointed at the two people walking outside the car window. My voice was so tense it cracked. My parents. Chen Mengxi's heart skipped a beat. Her body instantly stiffened. Her hands on the steering wheel tightened unconsciously, her knuckles turning white. Her gaze was fixed straight ahead. Even her breathing became much lighter, afraid they would turn around. The two of them held their breath, concentrating, until they saw their figures disappear through the building entrance. Only then did I pull the jacket off my head and let out a long sigh. My whole body went limp in the seat. Chen Mengxi also relaxed, her hands that were gripping the steering wheel. She felt her palms were a little damp. Immediately after, she seemed to remember something, and her expression changed again. Nai is still at your sister's place. I, on the other hand, appeared very calm. I waved my hand. My tone was relaxed. "It's fine, don't worry. My sister is very tight-lipped. She definitely won't sell me out." Chen Mengxi thought about it. It seemed there was no need to worry. After all, Nai was their biological granddaughter, even if she came from the future. She calmed down, restarted the car, and drove away from the residential area. On the other hand, Murong Hao and Fu Yanji took the elevator to the 15th floor. Standing at the door, they reached out and rang the doorbell. Mu Yulu was taking a shower in the bedroom and didn't hear the doorbell. However, Nai Nai, who was watching cartoons in the living room, heard it very clearly. She thought it was her parents coming back to pick her up. She slid off the sofa with a patter. She ran to the door on her short legs and stood on her tiptoes. With great difficulty, she reached the doorknob and turned it with all her might. With a click, the door was pulled open a crack. Outside the door, Mirong Hao and Fu Yanji were waiting for their daughter to open the door. The moment the door opened, they didn't see their daughter. Instead, they saw a lovely, jade-like little girl. She was wearing a beautiful white princess dress, with her hair tied in two cute pigtails. She was tilting her little head up, using her jet black, big, round eyes to look at them curiously. Mirong Hao and Fu Yanji were instantly stunned. The expressions on their faces froze, and their minds went blank. Wait, where did this child come from? Just as they were dumbfounded, Nai Nai got a clear look at the two people outside the door. Her eyes suddenly lit up, and a radiant smile bloomed on her face. She threw out her little arms and rushed forward, her voice sweet and soft. Grandpa, Grandma. This address was like a bolt from the blue, blasting Mirong Hao and Fu Yanji until their souls nearly left their bodies. The two of them subconsciously took a small step back. Their faces were filled with shock and confusion. They glanced at each other, seeing the same question in the other's eyes. Who am I? Where am I? Mirong Hao calmed himself, looked at the apartment number, then at the floor number, and whispered, "This is it. Floor 15, apartment 1502. This is our daughter's place." So this child. Nai Nai saw her grandparents step back. She tilted her little head, a bit confused. Then she hugged the leg of Fu Yanji, who was closer. Clearly, she looked up. Once again, she whined in a milky voice, "Grandma, carry me." Her soft, sweet voice instantly struck a chord in Fu Yanji's heart. She had always dreamed of having a sweet, soft daughter who would act cute and spoiled with her. However, although she had a daughter, this daughter's personality was strong. She was more stubborn than a mule. She had nothing to do with being sweet and soft. All doubt and shock were melted away by this "Grandma, carry me." Fu Yanji's heart instantly softened. She almost instinctively squatted down. A gentle smile appeared on her face unconsciously. She reached out and gently stroked Nai Nai's head. "Oh my, whose little darling is this? So pretty," she asked gently, her tone full of affection. Nai Nai happily hugged Fu Yanji's neck, just about to open her mouth to answer. "Mom, Dad." A surprised voice came from inside the house. Mu Yulu heard the unusual noise and quickly walked out of the bedroom. She immediately saw the scene at the door. Her parents were standing stunned at the door, and Nai Nai, who was supposed to be watching TV in the living room, she was clinging to her mother. She also asked in astonishment, "Why did you two arrive so suddenly?" Fu Yanji hugged the small, fragrant, and soft little dough ball in her arms. She temporarily suppressed her doubts and looked up at her daughter. She gestured with her eyes towards the little girl in her arms and asked, "Don't rush to ask us. Explain to me first. What's with this little pudding?" Mu Yula's heart sank. She thought to herself, "Oh no, I am done for." But on the outside, she still tried to appear calm. She quickly stepped aside to let them in. "Come in, and we'll talk." "What are you doing standing outside?" she said, while taking Nai Nai from Fu Yanji's arms. She closed the door behind them. Mu Yulu placed Nai Nai on the sofa. She cleared her throat and said, "Nai Nai is the daughter of a friend of mine. They had an urgent matter to attend to today, so they left her here for me to look after for a day." Mirong Hao and Fu Yanji still trusted their daughter. Hearing this, they didn't doubt her. "Oh, so that's how it is." Fu Yanji breathed a sigh of relief. Then she was captivated by the well-behaved Nai Nai. The adorable girl on the sofa captured all of her attention. She walked over and rummaged through the bag she was carrying. She took out a few pieces of fruit candy and gave them to Nai Nai. "Here, little treasure. Have some candy." Nai Nai reached out her small hand to take them. She sweetly thanked her. "Thank you, Grandma. Such a good girl." Being called Grandma made Fu Yanji's heart bloom with joy. She couldn't help but pinch Nai Nai's chubby cheeks again. Mirong Hao also came over, unable to hide the smile on his face. But why did he find her features? Nai Nai's features a little familiar, as if he had seen them somewhere before. While teasing Nai Nai, Fu Yanji couldn't help but sigh with admiration. "Oh my, this child is so adorable. You can tell she's smart just by looking at her. It would be great if I also had a granddaughter like this." Mirong Hao next to her also nodded in agreement. "That's right. Or having a maternal granddaughter like this would be good too." Hearing her parents' conversation, Mu Yulu stood to the side with her arms crossed. The corner of her mouth twitched uncontrollably. "If I told them right now that this is their future biological granddaughter, would they faint on the spot from joy? Or would my brother's 3 legs be broken by Dad first? The latter is more likely." Mirong Hao and Fu Yanji were teasing the little girl on the sofa. The more they looked at her, the more they liked her. Nai Nai was a little shy from the praise, but her heart felt sweet. She looked up, her big, black grape-like eyes looking at Mirong Hao. In a soft voice, "Grandpa, Nai Nai wants to eat pork knuckles for lunch today." As soon as Mirong Hao heard that, he immediately lit up. With a wave of his hand, He was full of heroic spirit. No problem. You want to eat pork knuckles, right? I guarantee it'll feed you until your mouth is greasy with satisfaction. He puffed out his chest, acting like a master chef. Hearing this, Mu Yulu, who was beside them, her temple twitched. She quickly interrupted. Dad, there are no vegetables in the house, let alone pork knuckles. When Fu Yanjie heard that, she shot her daughter an angry glare. If there aren't any, then go buy them. What's the big deal? She turned her head to look at Nai Nai. Her tone immediately softened by 8 degrees. Nai wants to eat. Grandma will go buy it right now. Nai wants to go too. The little girl, upon hearing they were going to buy food, immediately slid excitedly off the sofa. She pattered over to Murong Hao's side. She took his big hand with her small one. I'll go with Grandpa and Grandma. Okay. Grandpa will take you. Murong Hao was infected by Nai Nai's enthusiasm. He couldn't stop smiling, holding her little hand. At this moment, he felt like he was looking after his grandchild after retirement, but this feeling was quite nice. The key point was having a granddaughter as adorable as this. Mu Yulu stood frozen. Seeing this scene, alarm bells rang in her heart. This is bad. What if Mom and Dad ask about Nai Nai's parents and Nai Nai lets it slip? Then it's all over. She quickly followed them and said, Wait, I am going too. I wanted to buy a few things anyway. They arrived at the wet market near the residential area. It was the morning rush hour for grocery shopping. The market was noisy and bustling. All sorts of hawking and bargaining voices filled the air. Fresh fruits and vegetables were neatly arranged. Nai Nai found everything new and interesting. Her little head turned from side to side. Her big, sparkling black eyes were full of curiosity. Murong Hao held Nai Nai's hand with one hand and shielded her with the other. Afraid she would be pushed by the crowd, he looked down at her small face, her excited little face, and his heart melted. The smile on his face never faded. After walking for a while, he suddenly stopped. He tilted his head to look at Fu Yanjie beside him and lowered his voice a little. Honey, do you notice? He gestured with his eyes towards Nai Nai, whose hand he was holding. This little girl's features look a bit familiar. Hearing this, Fu Yanjie also observed Nai Nai carefully. The little girl was on her tiptoes, curiously, looking at the flopping fish at the nearby stall. The sunlight shone on her small, rosy face. Her long eyelashes were like two small fans, blinking. Now that you mention it, it does seem a little. Fu Yanjie frowned and thought, especially these features. Why do I feel she looks a bit like... She suddenly stopped. Another tender face appeared in her mind. Her tone was somewhat uncertain. She looks like our son when he was little. Murong Hao's eyes lit up. He slapped his thigh hard. His voice cracked a little with excitement. Yes, she really looks like that little rascal. No, she looks like our son when he was little. No wonder I felt such an affection for her. Those eyebrows, those eyes, that spirit. I'd believe it if you told me she was his daughter. Mu Yulu, walking behind them, heard this exchange. Her heart almost jumped out of her throat. Good heavens, they could actually see the resemblance? Is the power of genetics really that strong? She was so scared, she jumped, quickly, taking a few steps to get closer. She forced a calm laugh. Mom, Dad, what are you talking about? How old is my brother? He just became an adult. How could a 3-year-old daughter just pop out of nowhere? You must be mistaken. Hearing this, Murong Hao and Fu Yanjie turned to look at her at the same time. Their gazes held a hint of speechlessness. Fu Yanjie sighed. She reached out and poked her daughter's forehead. Of course, we know it's impossible. Do you take us for fools? Murong Hao also nodded. That's right. We just felt there was a resemblance. It was just a slip of the tongue, although they said that, in their eyes. As they looked at Nai Nai, there was an added sense of scrutiny and a feeling of indescribable familiarity. On the other side, Chen Mengsai drove around, finally stopping in front of a very expensive-looking men's suit shop. I got out of the car after her and looked up at the store's name. Then, I looked at Chen Mengzi beside me, my brows furrowing slightly. My face was filled with confusion. What are we doing here? I asked. My tone carried obvious doubt. Chen Mengshi tilted her head and glanced at me. Her gaze paused for a moment on the jacket, the casual sportswear I was wearing, before she slowly spoke. Buying clothes for you. Buying clothes? I was stunned for a moment, then I waved my hand. There's no need. I have clothes to wear. Chen Mengsai looked as if she had heard something funny. The corner of her mouth curved into a faint smile. She took 2 steps forward, standing in front of me. She reached out to adjust the collar of my windbreaker, then asked again, Are you planning to wear this to the party tonight? I looked at Chen Meng Xi right in front of me. I couldn't help but swallow. Hearing her words, I quickly averted my gaze. Following her gaze, I looked down at my own outfit. It really wasn't suitable for an evening party at all. I opened my mouth, wanting to refute something, but found I had nothing to say. In the end, I could only shut my mouth in silence. Seeing me like this, a hint of amusement flashed in Chen Meng X's eyes. She smiled and said, And let's go. I didn't refuse anymore. I stepped past Chen Meng Xi and pushed open the heavy glass door first. A well-dressed employee immediately came forward to greet us, smiling. Welcome. How may I help you too? Chen Meng Xi however, appeared very composed. She glanced at the store's decor, then said to the employee, "First, take my husband's measurements." I heard her words, and the corner of my mouth twitched slightly. "Husband? Am I living off a woman now?" The employee's voice was gentle and polite. Her eyes scanned the two of us, finally resting on the person, Chen Mengzi, who had a more poised demeanor. "Yes, ma'am." "This way, sir." I stood in front of the mirror, watching the employee use a tape measure on me. I felt completely uncomfortable. I was used to loose sportswear, the kind of clothes that require you to stand up straight. This formal suit made me feel a bit restricted. Chen Mengzi, meanwhile, was sitting on the sofa nearby, elegantly flipping through a photo album. Occasionally, she would look up at me, her gaze calm. The employee finished taking the final measurement and respectfully stepped back. "The gentleman's body proportions are excellent. A perfect clothes hanger." "Indeed." Chen Mengshi closed the photo album. She stood up. "We want a ready-made one. We need to pick it up this afternoon." The smile on the employee's face stiffened slightly. A somewhat troubled expression appeared. "Ma'am, I'm very sorry. High-end bespoke suits involve complex craftsmanship and usually require." Chen Mengshi interrupted him, her tone unchanging. "I know the rules." She took a card from her bag, a black card, which she handed over. "Extra charge. Use the best fabric. Find the fastest tailor. We'll be back at 4 p.m. to pick it up." Chen Mengsi nodded slightly, saying no more. She turned to leave. "Let's go." I glanced at the card that the employee was holding carefully. Then I looked at Chen Meng X's back and quietly followed. "This soft rice seems to be getting more and more fragrant." The two of them got back in the car. The car was quiet, with only the soft whoosh of the air conditioner. Chen Mengshi held the steering wheel, looking straight ahead. She suddenly spoke, "Regarding your parents, when do you plan to tell them about Nai Nai's existence?" My body stiffened slightly. I was silent for a few seconds, not answering. Seeing my silence, Chen Mengshi continued, "This can't be hidden. It will be discovered sooner or later. You can't hide it for long." I let out a breath. I naturally knew Chen Mengshi was right. We can't let her hide forever. Even her grandparents can't. Meet her openly. I rubbed my forehead and said, "I know. It's just that this is too sudden. I am afraid it will scare them. Besides, explaining Nai Nai's origins is also a problem." I paused for a moment, then said tentatively, "How about we let them interact with her more first? Wait until they're used to Nai Nai, then find a suitable time to tell them gradually." Chen Mengshi thought for a moment. She felt this was a reasonable approach. After all, suddenly having a 3-year-old granddaughter, she was also afraid of scaring my parents. She nodded slightly and replied, "Okay." After that, the car fell silent again. Not long after, the car slowly stopped at the apartment complex gate. The two of them got out. I looked towards Chen Mengsai. My gaze carried a hint of subtle tension as I asked, "We're out of food at home. I need to go to the market to buy some groceries. Do you want to come with me?" The corner of Chen Meng X's lips lifted slightly. She didn't refuse at all. She nodded. "Okay." For some reason, I breathed a sigh of relief in my heart. The corner of my mouth unconsciously curved into a smile. The two of them walked side by side towards the nearby market. My gaze kept unintentionally darting towards Chen Meng's Sai. I hesitated for a bit, but still couldn't help but ask, "Your relationship with Yang Ziyue, is it very bad?" Hearing this, Chen Meng's eye didn't stop walking. She thought for a moment, then nodded. Then she shook her head and said, "Or rather, I don't know why it's not good either. She's never given me a pleasant look since we were children." I was a little surprised. "You two have known each other since childhood?" Chen Mengsai nodded slightly, her tone light as she said, The Shen family's villa and the Yang families are very close. From elementary school to university, we always went to the same school. That's strange. Logically speaking, you could be considered childhood friends, right? Even if you weren't friends, it shouldn't be so tense between you." Thinking about this, I became even more confused and asked again, "So, did you two ever have any particularly big conflicts?" Chen Mengshi shook her head, her clear eyes looking a bit dim. They held a subtle trace of loneliness. "No, she's not my friend. I don't have any friends." Her voice was very soft, carrying an indescribable emotion. I suddenly stopped walking and turned to look at her. I clearly saw the loneliness that flashed in her eyes. In that moment, my heart felt like it was pricked by something. It stung a little. I never expected someone so proud, like her, to have no friends. This made me even more curious about Chen Meng X's past. Sensing the change in atmosphere, or perhaps realizing the emotion she had just revealed, Chen Mengzi quickly composed herself. I quickly looked away and whispered, "If your relationship is that bad, then why is she Naine's godmother in the future?" This question was also troubling Chen Meng Xi. She also really wanted to know why. Neither of them delved further into this issue. After all, who can say for sure what the future holds? The two walked in silence for a while. Then they stood at the crosswalk, waiting for the traffic light. I tilted my head to look at Chen Meng Xi beside me. The lines of her side profile were very soft. The sunlight shone on the tips of her hair, coating it in a layer of pale gold. As if possessed, I reached out my hand and tentatively took her slightly cold hand. Chen Mengsi was startled, but didn't immediately pull away. Instead, She tilted her head and looked up at me. Her gaze held a questioning look. My cheeks felt a little hot. I didn't dare to look her in the eye, my gaze shifting elsewhere. I coughed dryly, trying to hide my awkwardness. I blurted out, the market is very crowded. I'm afraid you'll get lost. Chen Mengxi didn't answer. Instead, she looked towards the market entrance ahead. It was around 9 o'clock. The morning rush hour had passed. There were only a few elderly people in the market, leisurely choosing their vegetables. A few stall owners were bored, leaning against their counters, scrolling on their phones. How could this be called crowded? It could even be described as deserted. She withdrew her gaze and looked back at me. The corners of her lips lifted into a half smile as she asked back, "Are you sure?" I followed her gaze. The entrance was empty. A few scattered figures, idle vendors. The temperature of my face immediately skyrocketed, as if it could boil an egg. The embarrassment seemed to spread from the soles of my feet to the top of my head, making me want to find a hole to crawl into. I opened my mouth, trying to think of a less embarrassing reason. My mind spun, searching for any excuse that sounded a little more reasonable. Chen Mengxi looked at my flustered state. The amusement in her eyes could no longer be hidden and spilled out. She laughed out loud, a clear and pleasant sound, like wind chimes tinkling in the morning breeze. She tightened her grip on my big hand, feeling the warmth transfer from my palm. Her eyes filled with amusement. Just then, the light turned green. She took the initiative to pull me into the market. "Let's go." She pulled me forward, my steps a bit clumsy. For a moment, I was a bit dazed. I looked down at our tightly clasped hands. Her hand was still in mine. She hadn't pulled away at all. My heart thumped. An indescribable joy instantly surged within me. I unconsciously tightened my fingers. Her small, soft, slightly cold hand was completely enveloped in my palm. The soft sensation from her fingertips felt both clear and a bit unreal, like a beautiful dream that had suddenly arrived. "What vegetables do you want to buy?" Chen Mengxi's voice sounded by my ear, but it was as if I didn't hear it. Still immersed in my own world, she tilted her head, looking at the tall man beside her. What met her eyes was the irrepressible smile on my face, revealing a somewhat silly grin. Seeing this, she couldn't help but curve her lips. "I can't believe this guy is so innocent," as if sensing her gaze. I suddenly came to my senses, looking up just in time to meet Chen Mengxi's eyes, which were filled with amusement. The moment our eyes met, the heat on my cheeks rose again. My gaze shifted away slightly. "What is it?" My voice carried a subtle tension. Chen Mengxi raised an eyebrow, her tone slightly teasing. "Aren't we here to buy vegetables?" Only then did I react. I nodded hastily. Right, buying vegetables." I cleared my throat, trying to hide my recent gaffe. My gaze swept over the surrounding stalls as I asked, "What do you want to eat?" Chen Mengxi thought for a moment and answered decisively, "Anything is fine." To her, it didn't matter what she ate, as long as it wasn't fatal. "Okay," I replied, tightening my grip on her hand again. It was much more natural this time. I led her to browse at each stall, as if on purpose. We spent a long time choosing at each stall. This little trick of mine, Chen Mengxi naturally saw through it immediately, but she said nothing, letting me lead her around. She even seemed to be enjoying it a little. The two arrived in front of a stall. The auntie looked at them with a displeased expression. She said, "Hey, I am telling you, are you two here to show off your affection or to buy vegetables? I've seen you two holding hands for ages. You haven't even bought a single spring onion." My little trick was exposed. I was a bit embarrassed. I quickly grabbed some vegetables for the auntie to bag. I didn't dare say much during that time, and I especially didn't dare look at Chen Mengxi beside me. But in my heart, I had already greeted all 18 generations of the auntie's ancestors. She really has no tact at all. My lifelong reputation is ruined. Seeing this, Chen Mengxi beside me didn't say much, but the curve of her lips quietly deepened. An unprecedented feeling quietly spread in her heart. After this incident, I didn't dare pull any more tricks. I obediently bought some vegetables and returned to the apartment. Not long after, the two of them returned to the apartment together. Standing in the entryway, I looked at our still clasped hands. A trace of reluctance showed on my face, but I still slowly let go of Chen Mengxi's hand and said, "I am going to start cooking now." With that, I picked up the groceries and quickly turned to go into the kitchen. Chen Mengxi watched my retreating back. She suddenly had the urge to hug me and act cute like Nai Nai. This thought popped into her head unconsciously. When she realized it, her beautiful face was already tinged with a blush. Luckily, I didn't see it, and she breathed a sigh of relief. She took a deep breath. She walked to the sofa in the living room and sat down, but her eyes unconsciously glanced towards the kitchen. Then she looked down at her empty palm. A subtle sense of loss quietly spread. This feeling reminded her of some unpleasant childhood memories. But since middle school, she had never felt this way again. This made her feel a bit unsettled. Just then, Chen Mengxi's phone suddenly rang, pulling her back from her chaotic thoughts. She looked at the caller ID on the screen. It was Assistant Chen. Her fingertips swiped across the screen, and she answered the call. Her voice returned to its usual cold, decisive tone. "CEO Shen, does the evening gown for the party need to be sent to the gentleman's apartment now?" Assistant Chen's voice was respectful, Chen Mengxi thought for a moment and said, "No need. I'll go to the store myself this afternoon. Send a driver to pick me up at this apartment at 4 p.m. Understood. Assistant Chen immediately agreed. The call was ended. The living room returned to silence. Only the faint sounds from the kitchen could be heard. Chen Mengxi put her phone aside. She opened the tablet on the table and started handling her work. From the kitchen came the soft clatter of pots and pans, and the sizzling sound of ingredients being added to the pan. The faint aroma of food began to waft out in waves, lingering at the tip of the nose. Not long after, I brought the last bowl of soup out from the kitchen. Anne called towards the living room, "Time to eat." Chen Mengxi responded and closed her laptop. She stood up and walked towards the dining table. 3 dishes and 1 soup were already set on the table, a home-cooked meal. The colors were appetizing. The two of them sat opposite each other, eating in silence. There wasn't much conversation, but it didn't feel awkward at all. On the contrary, there was a strange harmony. Occasionally, their eyes would meet, and they would quickly look away, carrying a subtle warmth. After finishing the meal, the two returned to the living room sofa. This time, they didn't sit too close to each other. A throw pillow separated them. Chen Mengxi didn't seem to notice and opened her laptop again, continuing to handle her unfinished work, while I sat beside her, scrolling through my phone. But my mind wasn't on my phone at all. I didn't even notice when Chu Ziheng sent me a message. Time quietly slipped through their fingers. In a flash, it was 3:50 p.m. Chen Mengxi gently closed her laptop. The screen went dark. The living room was very quiet. Only the sound of soft breathing could be heard beside her. She tilted her head, her gaze falling on the sofa next to her, only to see that at some point, I had leaned against the sofa and fallen asleep. My head was tilted, my cheek resting on the soft backrest of the sofa. Sound asleep. She stood up softly and walked around the coffee table. Coming to the side of the sofa, she slowly squatted down, looking at my sleeping side profile from up close. My eyelashes were very long, casting a small shadow under my eyelids. It had to be said that I looked a bit cute when I slept. This made Chen Mengxi unconsciously recall the scene of me hugging her that morning. She couldn't forget that feeling of security. Her gaze moved downwards, resting on my slightly pursed, thin lips. It must be wonderful to kiss them. This thought popped into Chen Mengxi's head without any warning. When she realized it, her heart skipped a beat. Her cheeks also felt a little hot. Immediately after, she felt that doing this wasn't very good. It was a bit like taking advantage of someone's vulnerability. But on second thought, he is my future husband. It's perfectly justifiable. Stealing a kiss probably isn't too much to ask, right? After all, I've already given him a daughter. What's the big deal about a kiss? At this moment, it was as if there were two little people fiercely arguing inside her. One represented restraint, the other represented impulse. In the end, impulse gained the upper hand. Anyway, I'll just give him one kiss. Just a light one will do. He won't find out. Thinking of this, she held her breath. She swallowed and carefully moved closer to me as the distance closed. The tip of her nose almost touched my cheek. At this moment, she could clearly feel my warm breath, carrying my own faint scent. Her heart pounded wildly in her chest. A sense of tension immediately enveloped her. Her limbs also felt a little weak. Just a second before her lips were about to touch mine. Ring, ring, ring. The jarring ringtone, without any warning, echoed through the quiet living room, shattering the peace and ambiguity of the moment. Chen Mengxi was startled, her body instantly freezing, as if the pause button had been pressed. Almost at the same time, she saw my eyelashes tremble slightly, my brows furrowing a little. He seemed to be waking up. Chen Mengxi practically shot straight up. Her heart was still pounding erratically. She quickly took 2 steps back, putting distance between herself and the sofa. But the blush on her face hadn't faded yet. She took a deep breath, forcing herself to calm down. She reached out and picked up the phone that was ringing incessantly on the coffee table. The caller was none other than Assistant Chen. The corner of Chen Mengxi's mouth twitched slightly. What great timing. She suppressed the displeasure in her heart. Her fingertips swiped the screen to answer. What is it? Her voice had returned to its usual cold, decisive tone. It even carried a hint of anger. Assistant Chen, on the other end of the line, heard her voice. Her heart sank. She sensitively realized that her boss tone seemed off. It seemed like she was angry. She had been with CEO Shen for nearly 4 years. This was the first time she had heard CEO Shen use this tone of voice with her. This made her a little scared. Could it be that I interrupted something good between CEO Shen and the gentleman? She didn't overthink it and quickly reined in her thoughts. Respectfully said, President Shen, the driver is downstairs. Got it, Chen Mengxi replied briefly, then hung up. What's wrong? Just then, I rubbed my eyes and sat up. My voice was hoarse from just waking up. Chen Mengxi turned around. When she faced me, the coldness on her face immediately vanished, quickly replaced by a naturally gentle expression. It's nothing. Assistant Chen called to say the driver has arrived, reminding us that we have to leave soon to get ready for the evening party. I looked at the wall clock. The clock hands pointed exactly 4 o'clock. I looked at Chen Mengxi with some doubt. My gaze carried a questioning look. Doesn't the party start at 7? It's only 4 o'clock now. Chen Mengxi nodded and explained. There might be traffic on the way. Besides, we still have to change into formal wear and get our hair done, so we have to leave earlier. Hearing that, I nodded. I didn't ask any more questions, raising a hand to pat my cheeks. Then I stood up and walked to the dining table. I picked up the glass of water I hadn't finished earlier. I tilted my head back and took a big gulp. All right, let's go then. After that, the two of us arrived at a shop that didn't have any eye-catching signs. The storefront was made of dark frosted glass. It exuded a sense of mystery and luxury. The two of us got out of the car. Chen Mengxi walked straight towards the shop with an elegant gait. I paused for a moment before catching up to her. Pushing open the heavy glass door, a faint fragrance wafted towards me. A middle-aged woman in a well-tailored outfit, with an elegant demeanor, stepped forward to greet us. She saw Chen Mengxi. Her eyes immediately lit up with a familiar smile. President Chen Mengxi nodded. Her gaze shifted to me beside her as she gave instructions. Do his hair. The middle-aged woman looked in my direction, following Chen Mengxi's gaze, and nodded in reply. Yes. President Chen Mengxi said nothing more. She followed the middle-aged woman towards the changing room. I stood on the spot. Before I could even process it, two people immediately approached from the side, a young man and woman in uniform. They politely gestured for me to follow. Then, I was led to a private styling room on the other side. About half an hour later, I looked at the person in the mirror. Feeling a bit unfamiliar, my previously somewhat casual hair had been neatly and refreshingly trimmed. It highlighted just right my firm yet gentle facial features. My whole appearance seemed to have shed the immaturity of a student, adding a sense of bright, clean maturity. To use internet slang, it was probably the kind of effect of a primary school student transforming into a pure university student. My aura was elevated by more than just one level. Just then, the crisp sound of high heels came from outside. I subconsciously turned my head, only to see Chen Mengxi coming from the fitting room, slowly walking out. At this moment, she had changed into a black evening gown. The style of the gown was simple and elegant, but it highlighted her figure. Her slender, captivating figure perfectly. As she moved, the hem of her dress swayed gently. Her hair was styled in an exquisite updo, revealing her long, slender, fair neck. A few strands of hair fell beside her ears, adding a touch of softness and charm. Her face was adorned with delicate, light makeup, further enhancing her beautiful, heart-stirring features, so beautiful it was impossible to look away. I subconsciously swallowed. My eyes fixed on her, my pupils dilated slightly. My heart skipped a beat in that moment. Chen Mengxi looked at my slightly dazed expression. A sense of smug satisfaction rose within her. Her red lips curved slightly upward. She deliberately took elegant steps, slowly walking towards me. The hem of her evening gown fluttered gently with her every movement, carrying a faint, fragrant breeze. It wrapped around the tip of my nose. And my beautiful, her enchanting voice carried a barely perceptible hint of a smile. It gently grazed my eardrums, as if waking me up. Suddenly snapping back to my senses, I subconsciously nodded in reply. Very beautiful. The moment the words left my mouth, I realized my voice was a little dry. My cheeks grew imperceptibly warm. My gaze was a bit evasive. I didn't dare look directly at her, but my eyes felt as if they were being pulled back by an invisible thread. Compelled to look at her, Chen Mengxi clearly caught the fleeting embarrassment and amazement in my eyes. The curve of her lips couldn't help but deepen. Just then, Assistant Chen came over, holding a neatly pressed suit in a dust bag. President Chen, here are the gentleman's clothes. Chen Mengxi's gaze left me and shifted to the suit. Then she looked back at me and said, go change into this. I almost fled as I took the suit. I quickly walked back towards the styling room from before. Sitting on the chair, I took deep gulps of air. Damn it, she's way too captivating. Good thing I have good self-control. Otherwise, I almost couldn't hold my fire. About 5 minutes later, the styling room door was pushed open again. I walked out. The custom-tailored black suit fit my figure perfectly. It accentuated my straight shoulders and graceful waistline. It's just that I seemed a bit stiff. My hands didn't know where to go. I would occasionally tug at the hem of my jacket or adjust my collar, exuding an air of awkwardness. Compared to the refreshing, clean image from before, I now had an added touch of composure, but also a hint of asceticism. Chen Mengxi's gaze rested on me, but it lit up for a moment. She couldn't help but admit it. This suit made me look even taller and more handsome, from a university student in casual clothes, with a bit of a student-like aura, to the young man in a suit and leather shoes now. His refined temperament was beginning to show. This visual contrast was undeniably great. An inexplicable sense of pride quietly swelled in her heart. It was as if her son had grown up. She reined in her chaotic thoughts. Stepping forward, she naturally reached out her hand to straighten my slightly crooked tie. Her fingertips unintentionally brushed against the skin of my neck. A fragrance, clearer and more distinct than before, instantly filled my nostrils. It was her unique body scent. My breath caught in my throat. My gaze uncontrollably drifted downwards. The close proximity allowed me to see clearly the magnificent curves of the two hemispheres outlined by the gown, and that smooth, fair skin, I couldn't help but recall the amorous scene from this morning. My Adam's apple bobbed uncontrollably. I hastily averted my gaze, my earlobes quietly turning red. My heartbeat became a little unruly again. Chen Mengxi's fingers paused. She could clearly feel the pulse beating in my neck. She also noticed my rapidly moving Adam's apple. The corners of her mouth imperceptibly curved into a very faint smile as she praised. Very handsome. When I heard this, my heart felt like it had been lightly struck by something. An indescribable joy spread quickly. I felt a bit strange. It wasn't that I hadn't been called handsome by girls before, but most of the time, I didn't feel anything special. But when those same words came from Chen Mengxi's mouth, I couldn't help but feel delighted. Even my heart seemed to skip a beat. I tried to suppress the corners of my mouth from turning. Maintaining a calm exterior, I said, "You're very beautiful too." Chen Mengxi raised her exquisite eyebrows. Her gaze rested on my slightly flushed face. She retorted, "If I'm so beautiful, then why don't you dare to look at me?" I blinked, glanced at her as if it had been burned. I quickly retracted my gaze, letting it fall elsewhere. My throat tightened. For a moment, I didn't know what to say in response. Looking at my naive appearance, the amusement in Chen Mengxi's eyes deepened. She let out a soft laugh. The sound clear and pleasant. She didn't press me further. Taking a step forward, she naturally extended her fair arm and gently linked it with mine. "All right, it's almost time. We should get to the party." A soft, warm sensation passed through the thin fabric of my suit, clearly imprinting on my arm. My whole body immediately became a little stiff. The tip of my nose was enveloped in her unique scent, elegant and with a hint of sweetness. It was clearer than when she was adjusting my tie just now. More invasive. My heart suddenly started racing, like a drum beating rapidly in my chest, vibrating so much that my eardrums were ringing. My brain seemed to stop functioning at this moment, completely occupied by the strange sensation coming from my arm. What Chen Mengxi had said, I didn't hear it at all. I just subconsciously nodded. Okay, then. The two of us walked out of the shop side by side. Chen Mengxi got in first. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my somewhat chaotic heartbeat, and got in the back seat as well. The car door closed. The car started and merged into the traffic. It was very quiet in the car. I could clearly feel the presence of Chen Mengxi beside me. Her body heat. Her scent. Everything about her was constantly seducing me. I stared straight ahead, trying to make myself look calm, but my slightly tense jawline still betrayed my inner turmoil. About half an hour later, the car stopped in front of the gate of a manor. After the guard confirmed the car's information, the automatic gate slowly opened. Assistant Chen got out of the car first and opened the back door. Chen Mengxi elegantly stepped out, and I followed. The night breeze carried a slight chill. It blew on my face, slightly cooling the heat on my cheeks. Chen Mengxi tilted her head to look at me. She naturally took my arm, and we walked towards the villa's entrance. At the same time, Yang Wei was squatting by a flower bed. He saw the two of them immediately. When he saw my transformation, his eyes widened. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Holy cow, since when did this kid get so handsome? At this point, I also saw Yang Wei squatting by the flower bed. I saw that he was wearing a well-tailored silver-gray suit. His hair was also neatly styled. He looked much more spirited, quite dapper indeed, but I have to say, this kid is quite handsome too. Chen Mengxi also saw Yang Wei. She glanced around but didn't see Yang Ziyu anywhere, so she withdrew her gaze and turned her head to look at me beside her. After a moment of thought, she said, "No need to be so stiff. Just be natural. As long as I'm here, no one can bully you." Hearing these words, a warm current flowed through my heart. I felt my back at this moment, unconsciously straighten a little. I nodded in reply. Okay. After speaking, I released the arm that Chen Mengxi was holding and walked towards Yang Wei. Chen Mengxi watched my retreating back, a smile playing on her lips. Then she turned and walked into the villa with an elegant posture. I walked up to Yang Wei. My face held a few hints of unconcealable pride. Yang Wei saw my gloating expression and was speechless. He stood up and put a hand on my shoulder. He gave it a light punch and said with annoyance, "Hey, you got yourself all dressed up this handsome? Who's the one here to meet their father? Anyway, people who don't know would think the main character tonight is you. You're gonna steal all the spotlight later?" He made me laugh. I couldn't help but chuckle as I explained, "I can't embarrass my wife. Can I?" When Yang Wei heard the words "my wife," he scoffed. His tone was full of sarcasm. "Yo, can't embarrass your wife? Disgusting." I ignored his sarcasm and changed the subject. "What are you squatting here for? Why don't you go inside?" Yang Wei pouted. The playful look on his face faded a little, replaced by an indescribable emotion. "My sister told me to wait for her here. She said she'd take me to meet that old man first, meet my father, and then we'll see." I nodded slightly. "So that's how it is." I was about to say something else, when a clear female voice sounded from behind. "Yang Wei." Both of us turned our heads at the same time, only to see Yang Ziyu striding towards us. She was wearing a suit dress, a well-tailored, off-white Chanel-style one. Her long hair was carefully styled in an updo, revealing her slender, graceful neck. She wore a proper smile on her face, her gait poised, an elegant demeanor. With the slightly boisterous Yang Wei squatting by the flower bed, it formed a sharp contrast. Yang Wei responded, and stood up straight. Yang Ziyu walked up to the two of them. Her gaze first rested on her younger brother for a moment, then it shifted to me. A flicker of barely perceptible surprise flashed in her eyes, but it quickly returned to normal. She nodded as a form of greeting, then said to Yang Wei, "Let's go. It'll take you to see Dad first." I looked at the two siblings, thinking I didn't know anyone here anyway. I decided to follow, then the two of us, with Yang Ziyu, bypassed the main hall and went straight to a small living room on the second floor. On the way, Yang Ziyu tilted her head to look at me and blurted out a question. "Where's Nainai? You didn't bring her today." I explained without thinking. "My sister took her." Yang Ziyu nodded, a little disappointed, but she didn't ask any more questions. This disappointment was something that even she herself didn't notice. The three of them quickly reached the second floor of the villa. Yang Ziyu led them to a stop in the corner of a small living room. She stopped,